Chapter 1283 Illusion. Between the walls of an empty valley stood a bamboo pavilion. The waterfall next to it rumbled as it fell in a clear pool, completing the mesmerizing scenery. A youth in white of around 20 sat in the pavilion, playing the zither. His finger gracefully traced the strings, sending a soothing melody throughout the valley. Birds and butterflies gathered around, drawn to his music. Ugh! A groan came from a bed hidden by a curtain. The young master never stopped his performance. Awake? Where am I? Chu Qingqing parted the veil and looked about. She was pale, squinting at the scenery with alertness. Who are you? The youth smiled. Miss, you're safe here. I mean you no harm. You have exhausted yourself in the sixth sacred mountain, affecting your soul. You're still weakened and need rest. You didn't answer my question. Chu Qingqing was on guard. The youth paused. Miss is so cautious. I can't understand how you could let that He Haodong fool you so easily into wasting your yuan qi. Haha, it's good that you didn't care too much about him, or you'd have lost more than just your yuan qi, the thing someone granted you. But this proves how kind you are. I can understand why he'd give it to you. What are you talking about? Nothing, I'm just recalling some old matters. The youth continued playing. Allow me to introduce myself. Everyone calls me Sir Shui Jing and Miss can call me the same. This is my home, Mirror Moon Cottage. Miss, you can stay here safely and no one will disturb you. Chu Qingqing gave him a long look. You're keeping me here? No, I'm only inviting Miss to be my guest. You won't stop me from leaving? Of course not. I'm a man of my word. Shui Jing focused on playing the zither. Chu Qingqing nodded and smiled. You're a dog if you break it. Not just a dog but a she-dog. I want to find Zhuo Fan. Don't stop me. Chu Qingqing flew out of the pavilion and into the sky. Shui Jing kept playing the zither. Chu Qingqing raised an eyebrow. I don't care who you are but you can't keep me here. I am looking for Zhuo Fan to see what he has to say about you. If you're nice I'll come back and thank you. But you're too strange to be nice. Chu Qingqing flew further away. An hour later, Chu Qingqing crossed 10 mountains and saw no one on her way, not even a trace of civilization. She was perplexed. Where am I? There's no one here. She wanted to find someone and ask for directions to the Luo clan. 6 hours later, Chu Qingqing was still feeling weak. She was getting tired from flying and the blazing sun overhead. She then noticed a creek in a valley and landed. But then she heard a zither being played and perked up. Where there's a zither, there's people. Chu Qingqing skipped over to the source, brushing the veil away to enter the pavilion. Excuse me, is... Chu Qingqing froze in her tracks. It was Shui Jing who kept playing. Shui Jing smiled. Miss Chu, you're back? You need to rest in your condition. Why is it you? Chu Qingqing looked around dumbstruck. Why am I back here? I clearly left. Shui Jing shook his head, smiling. Chu Qingqing cupped her hands in anger. Goodbye? Chu Qingqing rushed out again with Shui Jing still playing. Another 12 hours passed and Chu Qingqing looked determined but tired. She paused in the air in shock. The familiar zither was heard once more. Maybe... No, he can't still be here? Chu Qingqing shook her head and landed in the familiar valley, seeing Shui Jing with his zither. Shui Jing smiled. Miss Chu, you need to rest after being gone for so long or you're only going to get worse. What did you do? Chu Qingqing clenched her hands in anger. You said you won't keep me but you're not honest. The zither stopped and Shui Jing smiled. Miss Chu, have I done something to you? You must have put up an illusory array to keep me returning here every time. You're holding me prisoner. Shui Jing shook his head. Miss Chu, I vow on my Tao heart that there's no array around. Why can't I go out? This is Mirror Moon Cottage where everything is an illusion. Fame and fortune, love and hate, these are what trap mortals from seeing the way out. What keeps you here is no array but your own heart. Shui Jing smiled and vanished, his voice sounding through the valley. Miss Chu, just rest here. I will come back every few days. Take care. Wait. Let me go. Chu Qingqing shouted at the air. She took a deep breath and shot out with determination in another direction. But she still ended up here. Panting from exhaustion, Chu Qingqing tried again and again with the same result. All she had done was waste time and energy. After trying for 8 times, Chu Qingqing was too spent and blacked out in the air. She fell but the stones below warped and turned into the bed in the pavilion. The next morning, Chu Qingqing woke up to find herself back in the bed and saw the same waterfall outside and birds chirping. Her heart was in a panic, unable to escape. Shui Jing looked down from a tall peak with a sneer. Everything is an illusion here, with riches and fame ephemeral. The ignorant can't escape their own hearts. Chu Qingqing is a rare good person, yet not even she can, let alone others. The world is hopeless, isn't it, Sword Heart? No matter whether they appear hopeless, fate is not for ants to decide. It's the will of the heavens. A middle-aged man next to him had a sharp gaze. His empty left sleeve floated in the wind. Shui Jing held a confident smile, like he was in control, leaving. Sword Heart watched him go with a hard gaze. The last act of Heaven's Will was about to start. Chapter 1284, Confrontation. Tap tap. A finger struck the table, betraying Zhuo Fan's pensive mind. Li Jingtian rushed into the room and Zhuo Fan quickly asked, "What's the news?" "Steward Zhuo, there's no clue about Miss Chu." "I couldn't find," Li Jingtian sighed with a hung head. Zhuo Fan looked down as well, pacing in thought. There aren't many that can breach the sacred mountains and take someone away, and even fewer are those capable of doing it without leaving a trail. I just can't figure out who could be behind this. Did anyone in the sacred domain have such a power? Li Jingtian was worried. He was new to the sacred domain, but even he had heard many rumors about most powers in these lands. To him, the sacred mountains were the peak of the sacred domain. Who then could steal someone from under their nose? They can't be a nobody, that's for sure. Steward Zhuo, does the sacred domain have any hidden experts? Li Jingtian mentioned. Zhuo Fan shook his head. For them to be hidden means not many are aware of them. I do know of a few rogue saints, but they aren't as strong as the sacred mountains, let alone taking someone from them. Unless, what? Elderly who are above saints? Li Jingtian lit up. Sovereign? Zhuo Fan was grave. He'd seen his fair share of sovereigns and feared the one that never showed himself. He had been consoling himself thinking they were all gone, or that they were too weak to show up. But after meeting them he woke up to reality. It's not that they can't be found, but they don't want to be found. While them finding you can't be easier. Was taking Chu Qingqing a clear strike on me though? Was the culprit the one he feared the most? Zhuo Fan was sunk in thought. He didn't fear death, but involving innocence. He was no longer alone. Is the Luo clan's steward, Zhuo Fan, here? I am 7th Sacred Mountain Lord, He Yunshan, here to request a meeting. Star Reader, not related to 6th Mountain Lord. Different surname. The sound of thunder struck from the sky and shook the Luo clan. Zhuo Fan heard and winced. The 7th Mountain Lord? Here so soon? Steward Zhuo, the dragons are still silent. What do we do? Li Jingtian was tense. Zhuo Fan thought for a moment. Relax, for them to seek us and not fight us proves they are afraid. The dragon breath pill might have gotten to them. We just have to be cool about it and they won't do anything. Let's go meet them. Yes, Steward Zhuo. Zhuo Fan led the way with Li Jingtian behind. The two flew for the city gates. The Luo clan's gates were surrounded by hundreds of people surging with incredible strength that struck fear in all. Saints. In the lead were 6 people, the mountain lords. The elder with a long beard squinted and analyzed everyone. His eyes flickered with doubt. The others were just as baffled. That's strange. All of the Luo clan is filled with nobodies. There are some at the emperor stage with impressive strength, but nothing sacred mountains can't handle. Would the sacred mountains bother with a clan lacking even a saint? Absolutely not. So how come this nobody clan ended up flattening a sacred mountain? The 6 elders whispered among each other. What do you think? Completely average and not anything like Sir Shui Jing. A great master should have great disciples. It makes no sense for Shui Jing to not have saints. The problem lay with Steward Zhuo Fan. They say he alone went to level old He's peak. Is it only him under Shui Jing? We'll test it out, and if they're related to Sir Shui Jing we'll just gloss over it. At worst he'll lead the 8 emperors' lands. It was old he who messed with the Luo clan. It has nothing to do with us. The elders nodded, looking like obscene sycophants with those bobbing heads and flattering looks. But, the elder with a white long beard looked hard. But if Sir Shui Jing has nothing to do with Zhuo Fan or the Luo clan, that they're only acting, then we can't have this clan breathe a second more, regardless of who leveled the 6th sacred mountain. Our dignity shall not be stepped on by some bugs. No one will fear us otherwise. They all agreed. Yep, hard on the weak and cowards against the strong, classic thugs. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian arrived and the elders looked startled. Zhuo Fan was in the foundation establishment stage, worse than a cripple. But since he could fly in, that meant he was far stronger. The elders looked grave. Caution is advised against him. The elder with a long beard began with a cough. I am 7th Sacred Mountain Lord, He Yunshan. Are you perhaps the Grand Steward by the name of Zhuo Fan? It is I. Zhuo Fan smiled. To what do we owe the visit? Why? Steward Zhuo doesn't know? He Yunshan raised an eyebrow in anger, his eyes cold. Didn't you hear how everyone says that Steward Zhuo leveled the sixth sacred mountain? Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile. There's no need to hear, for I did do it. Fast talker. He Yunshan cursed at Zhuo Fan's blunt reply while he was looking calm on the outside, even praising him with a thumbs up. The others were dark. Zhuo Fan's carefree reply let them know he wasn't scared of the hundreds of saints around. He never gave a hoot about the sacred mountains, for he had a stronger backer. Should we step down then? Old He's peak got wasted. It's not our problem anyway. We're not even close. There's no need to fight with some mystery expert. The elders withdrew on the spot. He Yunshan paused and shouted, since Steward Zhuo admits, then I'll be frank as well. What has the sixth sacred mountain done to earn Steward Zhuo's ire? As he was of the seven sacred mountains like us, we would like to know the reason. Shit, did we not come to find their limit to see if they can bleed or not? Why nitpick? If he was under Shui Jing, then the latter might just come out to ruin them. You can kill your mountain for all we care, just don't drag us into this. Everyone sighed, with the elder with long beard pulling He Yunshan's sleeve, hinting to back off before it was too late. He Yunshan pulled away in anger with a righteous look. Humph, an explanation? Zhuo Fan barked. The Luo clan helped the Sacred Mountain's disciples handle the 8 emperors' lands and bring peace, only to have Mountain Lord he come take our clan head to torture and imprison our people. You think I could take that lying down? He Haodong faked surprise. He Haodong did that? Even the saints were stumped. Come on, what is that supposed to mean? Don't act like you don't know him. Aren't we on the same side? What's with the exaggerated shock? Steward Zhuo, please accept my humble apologies. He Haodong gave a curt bow. We just didn't know and ask for your forgiveness. I'd have cut ties with him if I knew he was so despicable and ungrateful. Farewell, Steward Zhuo. He Yunshan turned around and left, looking holy. Zhuo Fan gave him a long look, returning a stiff gesture. This guy has no damn shame. Chapter 1285 Dragon Emperor. The crowd watched the old fool running his mouth with all kinds of tricks, then just walked off like it was nothing. Oh right, since they are fleeing from Zhuo Fan, doesn't that mean that the sacred mountains are afraid? What about our dignity? What about ruling the sacred domain? Since He Haodong was dead and he started lashing out at him, that was just to keep appearances for the people that the sacred mountains were still honorable. The sacred mountains are just, we are not here to pick on the weak and steal. We just didn't know, or we'd have long put a stop to this. That ought to buy people's opinion. The real issue was Zhuo Fan. If he was related to Sir Shui Jing, the sacred mountains dumped everything on He Haodong to save them the trouble. So they sold out He Haodong to escape Sir Shui Jing's issue. 3 birds with 1 stone. He Yunshan looked to be talkative, but in fact he was saving his skin. Geezer, you still have tricks, I see. Impressive. The old guy sighed at He Yunshan's prideful exit. They were the peak of the sacred domain, holding the best resources and sought Tao for the sovereign stage, while not messing with the trifles of those below. The insights gained from the negotiations millions of years ago seemed forgotten. As they got stronger, they were rather straightforward, not willing to waste time with anything. It was a surprise to see Mountain Lord He so sharp at his age, using his noggin to maneuver out of this pickle, ha. While the sacred mountains were scared of Zhuo Fan and withdrew, a sudden shout came from above all. What are you bastards doing at the Luo clan? They are under my protection. A draconic roar. A golden tail 500 meters long hacked at the saints. The deadly power made some of the weaker saints gasp. What kind of power is this? Dragon Sovereign. The 6 mountain lords gasped. They shuddered and 6 golden sacred bodies emerged. They used all their power to block the tail. Bam. The sudden clash rent the space, with the entire sky soon turning pitch black like the sky just shattered. The 6 mountain lords staggered 5 steps, looking grave. Boom. The huge dragon turned into a tough man, standing tall in the sky. The sudden stomping he made created 2 black holes. He grinned with fire in his eyes. Ha, geezers, I see you're missing someone. You're not facing me with the usual 7-star sacred sword array? Dragon Sovereign, what are you doing here? He Yunshan squinted. Did you forget our deal? Dragons will never set foot on human lands, or the war between the 7 sacred mountains and dragons will start anew. And? Humph? He Yunshan mocked. I guess the pain faded with time. What about all those dragons that died last time? We're missing 1 sacred mountain, but 6 are more than enough to handle you dragons. Scurry back to your dragon lands if you don't want a repeat of the massacre. Haha, big words. Dragon Sovereign laughed. We had so many casualties last time because of your little tricks, baiting us to fight within the 8 emperors' lands. Fighting in an unfamiliar place, we were butchered. You're not stronger than us, but you had a race to waste our strength. That's why we died, because you whittled us down. It'll be the same now as well. These are our lands and you will die. Wrong. This time the 8 emperors' lands aren't the 7 sacred mountains' turf, but our backyard. The dragon sovereign grinned. We no longer need to chase you around the 8 emperors' lands, and only need to attack your mountains. We never fear an open confrontation, but you will suffer. He Yunshan sneered. Backyard? As if. The 8 emperors' lands are for human cultivators. You have now entered a swamp with enemies on all sides. They may be weak like bugs, but these bugs can bite you to death. You're delusional if you think they have your back. It's already done. The dragon sovereign grinned in disdain, going to Zhuo Fan to shock everyone with his salute. Steward Zhuo, I heard you have all of the 8 emperors' lands at your beck and call. I am astonished. Now I have a clear line of sight for the sacred mountains. I only ask for your forgiveness for being stalled by minor difficulties. Dragon Sovereign is too kind. I've been looking forward to having you with us and helping us. Now I'm thrilled to have you. Zhuo Fan bowed back. He Yunshan and the elders were dumbstruck. Zhuo Fan, Steward Zhuo, the Dragon Sovereign gave them a taunting look. Based on your words last time, we have come with all our forces to deal with the sacred mountains. A 1 million strong army including 3,000 dragon saints, 12,000 dragon emperors and hundreds of thousands of dragon kings and below are marching through the 8 emperors' lands without obstruction. They will be here with you shortly. I've never had such an easy trek in ages, and it's all thanks to Steward Zhuo Ha. He Yunshan's face twitched, roaring, Zhuo Fan, you betrayed your kin and let dragons invade? And you call yourself a man? Of course, since I never harmed my kin. Zhuo Fan sneered, while you, standing aloft in your sacred mountains, have stolen everything from the sacred domain, its cultivation arts and resources, crushing the cultivators like bugs. Do you call yourself a man? Your win against the dragons was because the sacred domain had your back, but after the war, you still tyrannized the 8 emperors' lands, not even appreciating their help and sacrifice. You're not fit to rule the sacred domain. Zhuo Fan cursed them with a smile. I grew up in the 8 emperors' lands, having grown stronger only by stealing from others until I finally became the demonic emperor. I had no gratitude for anyone, nor did I treat anyone as my equal, for I got everything with my own 2 hands. While I had no love, I hated all of you from the sacred mountains. Why do you get to have the best resources and lord over us without doing anything? The sacred mountains people, even those inferior in talent, are just given strength, but others have to work for it? The 8 emperors had to give more than half of the land's resources to you before they could share anything with their people. But what about those that toiled to gather these resources your sacred mountains so easily obtained? They got only scraps. Those rogue cultivators are even worse off, like me. And power is everything in the sacred domain. The weak are not fit to have anything. Strive to take it if you can. Yunshan barked. Zhuo Fan nodded and clapped. You're right, I understood this only after becoming an emperor. All that strive below are nothing but ants, no matter how happy or miserable. They are nothing for the ones above. To change your fate, you shouldn't rob each other, but instead the highest peak. So I'm now robbing just like you wished, ha. Ugh. Yunshan blinked, his heart racing in anger. They were always working to stop those ants from doing that. Now a damn power actually showed up that could do it. Glancing at the sneering dragon sovereign, Yunshan gritted his teeth. Damn Zhuo Fan, humanity's traitor, letting dragons in like the little bastard he is. So stop trying to use humans and dragons to differentiate us. To me there's only enemy and ally. Zhuo Fan sneered, you always use a few meager resources to lure cultivators of the 8 emperors' lands to fight against each other. When the dragons attacked, you used them again as expendables, under the guise of a human alliance. Now I have all the 8 emperors' lands and the dragons in a human-dragon alliance. And our enemy is only you, the sacred mountains. Bullshit. You think everyone's like you, greedy and willing to help the dragons crush the pinnacle of humanity? Yeah, many refused at first, but then I declared my war on the sacred mountains and that all of your resources and high cultivation methods are ours. The people jumped at the offer. What? All of the sacred mountains experts shouted, feeling a chill down their spine. Chapter 1286, Bloody War. At their dark faces, Zhuo Fan shrugged with a smile. Why act that way if I knew? As humans, none of us would willingly recruit another race to fight other humans. If this does occur, then the perpetrator should ask themselves what they did to make it happen. You just had to share your resources and high cultivation methods with the people of the 8 emperors' lands, giving them hope of rising to the top, and they would never resort to this. Where then is the virtue, the honor, in fighting for someone that won't even feed them? You made it this way with your own actions. No, the sacred mountains must live forever, and for that to happen, no outsiders are allowed to invade. We are in the right. He Yunshan spoke with conviction. Zhuofan, I admit that you're a rare talent, but you're not one of us. The more amazing you are, the more you need to die so that we can remove all threats to the sacred mountains. This shall never change. And thus you dug your own grave. When the water is stagnant, it will need to flow again. You've been at the top for too long. Your disciples have everything and lost everything. Without experience, without hardship, there's no progress. This is the root cause for not having a single sovereign despite all your saints, not even a half sovereign. You're nothing but thugs hoarding resources with a bit more yuan qi than the rest. You are strangling the prospects of future generations. You all are the real criminals of humanity. He Yunshan's face twitched. The sacred mountains train in the strongest cultivation methods, and we don't move around as long as we have resources so that we ease our understanding of Tao. This is the fastest way to the sovereign stage. Instead of sharing resources thinly across everyone, we centralize the resources on the best talents. None of the resources will be wasted. Of course, these cultivators must support the sacred mountains as well. We must keep it in the family. Haha, excuses. Zhuofan sighed and shouted, Shangguan Feixiong with me? Whoosh. Shangguan Feixiong flashed before him and Zhuofan patted his shoulder. He's of average talent, yet can fight most of your saints as just an emperor. Care to try? As if that's possible. He Yunshan sneered, the difference in those stages is insurmountable. Not even the 8 emperors could harm a saint. We shall see. He pushed Shangguan Feixiong forward and the latter moved forward. He Yunshan looked at a disciple and that disciple stepped out, immediately summoning his sacred body. He's the worst saint of ours. I'll be easy on you so, boom. A shocking explosion cut off his smug declaration. A scarlet glow ran through the disciple's sacred body, punching a large hole in it. The disciple coughed blood and slumped to the ground while his sacred body vanished. What? Everyone gaped, watching the red sword image return to Shangguan Feixiong's body. Soaring sword mark. Much obliged. Shangguan Feixiong returned to Zhuofan, bowing. The elders were dumbstruck. How did an emperor do that? The dragon sovereign laughed. Steward Zhua has amazing people. My elder said your men are incredible, far beyond average and can contend with our dragons if not overcome them. Now that I see it, I'm convinced, haha. Thank you, dragon sovereign. Zhuofan smiled, turning to the dumbstruck elders. He's my weakest as well, but through his experiences he came to make his own sword art. Tao and martial arts are a combination beyond anyone's imagination. Cooped up in your precious mountains, hoarding resources is actually an utter waste. If you had any bit of wisdom, you'd have shared them instead of stealing them from normal cultivators. He Yunshan glared at Zhuofan and left. Zhuofan, dragon sovereign, see you on the battlefield. He won't give up until it's too late. Stuck with his own idea despite having no argument. Then let them witness our alliance's might until he cries, hee. The dragon sovereign said, Steward Zhua, besides us, many spiritual beasts have answered the call of the sacred beasts coming over. We're going to erase the sacred mountains from this world. Zhuofan nodded. Humans are such hypocrites. They want an eternal win but hate all that's evil, making up some grand excuse in the end. When all facades are stripped away, they play the devil. Ah, I'm ashamed to call myself human. Would you like to be a part of us then? You inherited dragon ancestors' refined body and Qilin's arm. You're no longer a human. Even so, I still want to be humane. Why? Dragon Sovereign asked, didn't you just mock humanity's character? Yeah, but there are some. Zhuofan smiled and looked at all the people in the city. I am no longer alone, haha. The sacred mountains returned to prepare for war. The elders were dark, with the elder with long beard saying to He Yunshan, Old fellow, are we really going to war? Does Zhuofan have anything to do with Sir Shui Jing? Most likely not. He must have got the help of the dragons to ruin the 6th sacred mountain. There's no connection with Sir Shui Jing. Why so certain? He Yunshan paused in his flight. They say Sir Shui Jing is like a ghost, incredible and elusive. He alone can wipe out our 7 sacred mountains, so why go to dragons for help? Dragon Sovereign's appearance proved that Zhuofan has the dragon's support and not Sir Shui Jing's. That makes sense. The elder with a long beard sighed, but the dragons aren't much better either. We've lost the 8 emperors' lands, our best front lines, and we now have no choice but to fight in the open. We'll suffer greatly. We still have to go to war. He Yunshan clenched his fist, his eyes firm. We'd have hopes of salvaging this if it were mere revenge or about the Sacred Mountain's dignity, but you heard Zhuofan's plan. The punk wants to share everything that makes the Sacred Mountains dominant in the Sacred Domain. Losing this war means losing our hold on the Sacred Domain. We can never allow this to happen. They all nodded. You want our riches? In your dreams? The 6 mountain lords rushed back to their mountains to prepare. With the 8 emperors' lands no longer theirs to block the dragon's advance, the Sacred Mountains would become the main battlefield. Shortly thereafter, the war began. With so many people fighting in such a small area, the war could only be a bloody one. This was the first ever Sacred Domain war. With all beings now fighting, the 8 emperors' lands, dragons, sacred mountains, and spiritual beasts. With each deafening quake, along with terrifying shockwaves, the weaker cultivators and dragons fell to their deaths, the first victims of the disaster. The 7 sacred mountains placed a guardian formation and formed their defenses while Zhuofan and the dragon sovereign commanded a raging charge. The 7 sacred mountains had plenty of experts though, with only the dragons having the power to handle 3 of the mountains. But as they were defended, the dragons were at a disadvantage, suffering grave losses. Zhuofan didn't mind, slowly chipping them away as they fought. He waited for the spiritual beast army to arrive and showcase their true power. With the 9 Serenity's secret records in his hand, he knew all arrays. In just half a month, Zhuofan stripped the 6 sacred mountains' defensive arrays. The savage beasts ran amok across their mountains, killing anything on sight along with the dragons. The sacred mountains' army crumbled. Zhuofan's side held supremacy with their unstoppable power. The lofty sacred mountains that had stood above in the sacred domain for millions of years were about to fall. In the clamor of the battlefield, 9 shadows appeared above, each holding piercing eyes and thick aura, beyond what any saint on the sacred mountains could achieve. Chapter 1287, Half-Sovereign. Boom! The string of explosions drowned the bitter cries of demise and endless fighting on the battlefield. Both sides couldn't even hear their own voices. A million dragons, from big to small, blotted the sky. Their savage claws turned enemies into ribbons. 100,000 giants faced them on the battlefield like gods of war, stopping their onslaught. As wails and cries echoed about, the giants vanished one by one, with some dragons riddled with holes tumbling to the ground. The earth was soaked in blood, covered in corpses, yet no one cared, each too busy butchering the other side. The sheer brutality of this war drove all its fighters into a frenzy. Whoosh! 2 black sword waves flashed and 2 giants fell. Zhuofan held his demonic sword as he marched in his sacred body. The sacred mountains experts were nothing to him. Dan Qingxin's group had nobody who could summon a sacred body, but their special imperial marks were enough to bridge the gap and contend with early saints. As for the Luo clan, they were pinned against the weaker forces of the sacred mountains. The sacred mountains were filled with experts and the Luo clan was too weak to really stand out. The rest of the 8 emperors' lands forces that came for a peace now could hardly find someone to fight. Shit, the Luo clan has so many experts in their pockets. Watching the endless blood flowing, a spirit king sighed, looking tense the next second. What are we even doing here? We can't do anything. Looking at his team, thinking to join the war only to find out it was so brutal, any errant shockwave could blast them apart. They were just too weak for this stage. They were cannon fodder to begin with. Another man looked around for any opening but shook his head. Let it go, brothers. Even the weakest of the sacred mountains aren't for us. Let's wait for the end and scour the battlefield. Think about all the good stuff they must have on them. They're easy picking. What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to lend a hand? A shout shook the group, lowering their heads. Young Miss Luo, we have little strength to be of any help. Who said anything about fighting? Help with logistics. Do you have any idea how many healing pills we need? How many wounded need looking after? We need all the help we can get, so don't just sit there and watch. Logistics? The guy's face twitched. Young Miss Luo, we're still spirit kings. I'm not called North Forest Ravager for nothing. Putting us to work, isn't it a little? We came to fight sacred mountains, not? Then by all means, fight. Luo Yunchang nodded, gesturing at the cruel and bloody scene. How about taking on the enemy to leave your mark? I'll even give you a sacred mountain for your efforts. Well, glancing at the space riddled in black cracks and holes, with limbs flying all over the place, he gulped hard. Leave the wounded to us and the logistics. The front lines have sunk into madness. The group left at once with lowered heads. They were all heroes and wanted to use this historic event to make their names known throughout the lands, but they were just too weak. Schwanger sighed as they went. Sister Yunchang, they just wanted some credit to spur their careers. Your harsh tone cut them deep. Humph, they're too cocky to be able to do anything. He's just some local boss, yet he calls himself the North Forest Ravager. He came here to bite something and I saved him and his group from a meaningless and ignorant death. Luo Yunchang sneered, glancing at Zhuo Fan. He's not like Zhuo Fan, knowing his worth, laying low or taunting accordingly. A leader must be flexible, it is how the Luo clan conducts itself. Amaze the world in one fell swoop if you have what it takes. Schwanger nodded. Big Brother Zhuo is nearing the peak and he will make his appearance. Bam! With the lashing of a huge golden tail, the 6 mountain lords fell back 5 steps. The huge golden dragon roared in mockery, "Ha, old fools, the sacred mountains are done for and so are you. You have nothing." He Yunshan looked around at the battlefield dominated by dragons and spiritual beasts, while his forces were thinning out faster and faster. Zhuo Fan and the Luo clan were fierce as well, giving him a chill. They had it bad enough against spiritual beasts and dragons, united in an unprecedented alliance, but Zhuo Fan's force made it even worse, dooming his sacred mountains. He just didn't understand why these beasts would join up. They never had any contact. Old he flee? The elder with the long beard said. He Yunshan looked back to see the others nodding. Where there's life there's hope. The long-bearded elder grabbed his shoulder. We lost the sacred mountains but it won't matter. We need to stay alive and kindle the hope of our disciples to make a comeback. Old man, we have lost, so let's go. What's done is done. Yunshan's lip shook, clenching his fists. He gave a firm nod and shouted, "Sacred mountains, retreat." The 6 were the first to flee. The disciples had long since lost their will to fight and fled as well. Leave none alive after them. Zhuo Fan was not about to give them any chance of hiding. He roared and took the lead in going after them. The rest followed in a mad race. The dragon sovereign whipped his tail to launch himself behind the 6 elders and claw at them. "Haha, you think it's that easy? Dragon sovereign, don't be cruel." He Yunshan gnashed his teeth, roaring to hide his fear. The dragon sovereign was the mightiest of the dragons, a peak 12th level spiritual beast, a half-sovereign. The 7 sacred mountains worked together in the last war to squeeze a win with their arrays and strength. This time they had lost much strength and couldn't fight back. They had no chance against the half-sovereign. The dragon sovereign cackled at his empty threat. "Cruel? You call me cruel when there's not a shred of friendship between us? Did you forget how you slaughtered my people by scores? Now you just want to flee?" Boom. The dragon sovereign flicked his tail and the sky cracked apart. The 6 faced the harsh blow and tried to block it. This time they had nowhere to go. They would soon be surrounded and would either die from dragon sovereign or from the mob. What a cruel irony, die from the same tactic they used on them. The 6 lamented their doom in despair. Bam! A huge sword wave crashed into the huge tail, deflecting it. The dragon sovereign tumbled many times before he adjusted. He saw blood on his tail. What? There are still half-sovereigns among humans? Chapter 1288, Ultimate Freaks. Whoosh, an old man came out of nowhere with a short and red mustache. He was surrounded by a red glow, his eyes so sharp that even Dragon Sovereign felt pierced by his gaze. Dragon Sovereign's eyes shook. He's not a pushover but an ancient power. Boom, more explosions resounded everywhere and powerful waves swept the battlefield. Zhuo Fan's group got blocked by one of them and its radiance, unable to advance. Once the dust settled, he saw 7 figures of different ages holding incredible power. They looked plain, but they were ready to unleash devastation the moment they struck. Half-sovereigns. Zhuo Fan was grave, his legs going numb. He didn't know that the sacred mountains had 7 half-sovereigns. They were at the level of Dragon Sovereign, peak saints, yes, but worlds apart. For these people's understanding of Tao reached the peak, unlike average peak saints. Their power was tremendous. Didn't Dragon Sovereign say there's no one like that in the 7 sacred mountains? He had gone to 6th sacred mountain and saw no one similar either. That was why he threw the dragon breath pill. Why then would the 7 half-sovereigns come out only now? Zhuo Fan stood there, unmoving. The 7 were too strong and the dragons and spiritual beasts sensed that. They no longer advanced. Just as they were about to finish off the sacred mountains, these 7 interfered to stop the mad chase. The disciples looked behind and gaped. Did we have such experts? How come I didn't know that? They were too dumbstruck to even think of fleeing. Dad, they feel familiar. Sword Child neared him and whispered. Zhuo Fan squinted and nodded. Yes, it's like the aura of the 5 divine swords. Danqing Shin, Murong Lai and the others were grave. We have trained on our insights on the divine swords and are most familiar with this energy. Vaulting, soaring, sealing heaven, sundering, decimating, they are all here. Only they are far deeper than our energies. They must be a level above us. It's not cultivation but sword insight. Sword Child nodded. Yes, as I am a unity of the five, I can sense the sword path they wield almost physically. That's why they're half-sovereigns. My apocalyptic sword path has the cultivation of half-sovereign and I can fight, but this isn't the right time. Dad, should we fall back? It's not for us to decide. Zhuo Fan squinted at the seven. The others nodded and sighed. The war stopped only if the strong wanted to stop. They had the power to run amok the battlefield, but now that the seven half-sovereigns appeared, they lost all dominance. But were they on Sacred Mountain's side? What did they want? To help the Sacred Mountains, or were they a third party? Everyone was tense. Boom. A sudden explosion shook the skies as a large body crushed the ground. Everyone gasped at the wounded Dragon Sovereign, their strongest attacker. He was wounded and barely got to his feet. Zhuo Fan recognized what made those wounds. Whoosh. The red-mustached elder floated down. Zhuo Fan turned grave. Curses, another half-sovereign. The 6 mountain lords came back looking smug. They could tell these experts were here to help them. Who knew what karma they sowed to deserve such boon in this late hour? We got 8 unstoppable experts to help us now, haha. Dragon Sovereign roared and glared at the red-haired elder. Who are you? Why are you helping those fools? The red-haired elder stood like the other 7, silent. Zhuo Fan saw the disregard and looked around for a way out. They didn't come to kill them, that was certain, just to stop Sacred Mountains from being utterly destroyed. They might get to withdraw at least. None here wanted to fight them anyway. Dragon Sovereign, I think we should. I don't care who you are, the grudge with the Sacred Mountains ends today. Those 6 must die. Dragon Sovereign roared over Zhuo Fan's advice, going at the 8 for an attack. Dragons, tear them apart. Don't. Zhuo Fan shouted, but it was too late. The red-haired elder gave him a glance. Then they moved. Huge sacred bodies appeared, each holding a sword, be it in flames, be it of frost. The red-haired elder held a red blade shaking the heavens with its aura. Dragon Sovereign found himself surrounded by the 8 of them as they slashed. The huge Dragon Sovereign's eyes shook, his eyes burning, but then blood spilled everywhere as the 8 strikes landed. Dragon Sovereign was split apart, unleashing a torrent of blood. Some of the flesh froze, another was void of blood, and others were charred. The audience gasped in disbelief. This can't be happening. Dragon Sovereign, the strongest dragon, was dead in an instant. Zhuo Fan knew this was coming and his heart sank, for the 8 outnumbered Dragon Sovereign. Fighting 8 at the same level was suicide. Dragon Sovereign wanted to win with numbers, but he misjudged the 8. They weren't just half-sovereigns but had deep insights into the 5 sacred swords. Like the Sacred Mountain's disciples, they were the Sword Sovereign's men. It was obvious Dragon Sovereign would die so easily. Now that he was no more, the dragons were no longer a threat. Whoosh, the 8 returned before the crowd, withdrawing their sacred bodies, and waited. Danqing Shin nodded. The 5 sword paths. Yeah, their pinnacle. Zhuo Fan sighed. The invincible sword would have reached it as well if he came here. Curses, having 8 invincible swords blocking me is insufferable. The others nodded. In the mortal domain, 1 invincible sword was bad enough, but now there were 8. They were certain that even if they were half-sovereigns themselves, they still couldn't do anything to these freaks. They were geniuses, but these 8 were ultimate freaks like the invincible sword, 1 in a billion. They could see that despite the same sword path, they were leagues beyond their level. Danqing Shin's group clenched their fists. The 8 were the peak of sword arts they wanted to surpass. Chapter 1289 Master. The silence was deafening. The sudden event overwhelmed everyone. The mighty Dragon Sovereign died just like that, his tough body unable to block the 8 swords at all. The dragons were filled with rage and vengeance, only clenching their fists. While He Yunshan beamed with joy at the turnaround. Experts came from above to save them. Heaven's mercy and ancestors' blessings are upon us. The elders rushed over with respect. Senior, may we know your great name? We are ever grateful to you for saving Sacred Mountains. Wretched thing, you killed our Dragon Sovereign. We won't let you get away with this. Kill them. A roar came from below and the crowd howled in rage. The dragons turned into their main form and charged at the 8, all million of them. The 8 didn't care, looking over with a flat expression. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, shouting, Stop this instant. This isn't right. The dragons had gone mad at the loss of Dragon Sovereign and couldn't hear him. Boom. A sword wave came crashing down and the dragon army was reduced to slag, raining down as blood and gore. The huge dragons were cut down to an inch-sized chunks, those same tough bodies. Zhuo Fan's face shook from shock. Everyone paled and shuddered. Even the Sacred Mountains people gaped. 1,000,000 dragons dead just like that. They all looked stiffly at a middle-aged man missing a left hand. The 8 half-sovereigns bowed at once. Another half-sovereign. Zhuo Fan gulped, looking grave, even scarier than the 8, an entire level above. Dan Qingxin gazed at the one-armed man with a heavy heart. The 8 were like invincible sword, yet this man was actually stronger than the freaks. Unlike the 8, he had a sword that was related to the 8's but different. This left Dan Qingxin and the others contemplating. Sword Child stared hard. Father, I find his aura even more familiar. I feel the same, but why? Zhuo Fan muttered, they inherited the 5 sword paths, but he doesn't look like it. He feels independent, yet not. Zhuo Fan winced just then, regaining his calm the next moment. No way. Did I just meet him? I must be overreacting. Everyone looked at the newcomer with shock, joy, fear. No one noticed that his eyes were cold. Stop fighting. Both sides are at peace. Both parties eased a breath. Yunshan rejoiced. Someone had helped stop their sacred mountains from being destroyed. Zhuo Fan sighed, but at least they weren't on the sacred mountain's side, or his side would have been finished. The 8 invincible sword-like people were already a pain, but now this guy showed up. It was better not to fight. A shame for dragon sovereigns' wasted death. We'll think about avenging him later. Alas, not all were as sensible as him, with some on his side oblivious and ready to bring disaster on all. Who are you? We almost had sacred mountains and you just want us to stop? A shout came from the Human-Dragon Alliance. Zhuo Fan turned to look at an emperor from the Emperor lands talking big. He saw there were only 9 enemies while they had millions, so he felt superior. He wanted the sacred mountain stuff, and to do that he needed them dead. Zhuo Fan got his meaning but wanted to wring his neck. What? Because of power. We can't do anything with them here. Can't you just leave it well enough alone? Go die alone for all we care and not drag us into this. Fighting the sacred mountains had nothing to do with you either. You're so weak you're not even in the front lines. Someone get him out of my sight. I don't want to see him ever again. Zhuo Fan shouted and a Luo clansman dragged him like a dog. But the guy kept shouting, Steward Zhuo Fan, what did I do? Why are you doing this to me? Even more reason for you to die for your ignorance. Make sure to burn him to ashes. Yes. The Luo clansman obeyed and dragged the poor devil to his doom. What did I do? The lone-armed man smirked. I am Sword Heart, Sir Xuejing's close aide. Any objections? Sir Xuejing? Sacred Mountain's elders and Zhuo Fan cried out. The rest were stumped at who that was. Who is that? I never heard of him. Is he strong? Everyone whispered, pointing at the 9. They didn't know Xuejing, but from their strength, they were sure he had to be incredible. He Yunshan came to Sword Heart and cupped their hands. We thank Sir Xuejing for his assistance. The 6 sacred mountains won't ever forget this. Sword Heart didn't even look at him. Steward Zhuo, do you know Xuejing? Dan Qingxin saw Zhuo Fan's gaze and the crowd's oblivious looks and asked, no senior of sacred domain seems to know this man. Zhuo Fan nodded, squinting, yeah, Sir Xuejing's great name has been forgotten by the sacred domain, for he does not seek fame and fortune. How do you know him? How can I not? Zhuo Fan continued with a sigh, since he is sort of my master. What? Dan Qingxin gasped, Steward Zhuo's master? Yunshan gasped when he heard that, about to have a meltdown. Sir Xuejing is his master? Then are these experts here to help us or them? What do we do if they will help the brat? Yunshan and the elders looked between Sword Heart and Zhuo Fan, unable to come up with an answer. Sword Heart smiled. This only confused the 6 elders. Sir Xuejing, you're still on that million-years-old issue? You first give us hope only to plunge us in despair? Chapter 1290 Invitation. Dan Qingxin looked at them cluelessly, asking, Steward Zhuo, what's going on? Isn't Sir Xuejing on our side as your master? Not necessarily. Zhuo Fan muttered, I only call him master because of how I see him, not due to both of us accepting it as such. That was also just a chat I had, not truly an imparting of teaching. It's why I said he was sort of my master. Dan Qingxin grew tense. What does that mean? Steward Zhuo, speak clearly. Xuejing's people are too strong for us to handle. We need to know how to treat them. We're no different than strangers. It's best you keep your distance. Zhuo Fan nodded. This is an old story. When I was in the Radiant Stage, an ant in the Sacred Domain, I was cocky as a kid and pissed off a lot of people. I ended up severely wounded when I had the misfortune to find Mirror Moon Cottage where Sir Shui Jing saved me and healed me for 2 weeks. In this time Sir Shui Jing played the zither and chess with me, talking about demonic path. I had little understanding of the demonic path and was finally catching a glimpse of its meaning, that it was not just about fighting and stealing. If not for those 2 weeks I wouldn't be here, instead ending up erratic like 4 scheming demons. Dan Qingxin nodded. Sir Shui Jing has been kind and taught you so. Steward Zhua sees him as a kind of master. No, I was just some brat then and had no right to call Sir Shui Jing a friend. I just listened to his lectures. It's more right to say I was close to Elder Yuan, since we exchanged our thoughts and experiences on the demonic path. While with Sir Shui Jing, I had no path to begin with and could only listen. Zhuo Fan looked at them. I'm calling him master because in those weeks he taught me the way of the world, how to read the big picture. He said random demons are cannon fodder and never rise above. If I wanted to become a true demon, I needed to know the devil in humanity and control it so one could walk free. It was then I walked the demonic path and I considered him my mentor, though he doesn't think much of the demonic path, which is why he's sort of a master as he walks another path. Dan Qingxin nodded, and then? I healed and left there. When I became the head of the 8 emperors I wanted to give my thanks to him, but couldn't find him. Zhuo Fan felt at a loss. Many times I think back and feel it was a dream, that there's no Mirror Moon Cottage or Sir Shui Jing. But now I see that it's all real. It's not me who sought him, but him coming for me. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone, looking at Sword Heart. Sword Heart stared at him with a smile. Zhuo Fan, Sir Shui Jing wishes to see you. The usual place. I know. He gave a hard nod, turning to the rest. I'm going to see my mentor. If I don't come back you are to take the Luo clan and retreat. Don't mess with anything in the sacred domain. Dan Qingxin gasped. You think you're in danger? Who knows? I'll need to meet him first. Zhuo Fan sighed and flew towards the place in his memories. Sword Child wanted to follow, but a huge figure barred his way. Sword Heart. Sword Child stepped back in fear. It wasn't due to power but instinct, something he couldn't control. Sword Heart smiled. There's no point for you to go. Sir Shui Jing will always see the one he wants and those that want to see him won't ever get the chance. I'm Dad's sword. I'm not leaving his side. Sword Child spoke hard. Sword Heart nodded. Same here. I am Sir Shui Jing's sword, but I don't protect Sir because there's no need. I just want to kill enemies. Sword Child clenched his fists, feeling familiarity and danger from him. Since we're free, let our swords have a chat. Sword Heart showed a smile at the child's cautious gaze. Sir Shui Jing might be interested in you and could let you return to Zhuo Fan. Sword Heart flew away. Sword Child went after him. The 2 sides and the 8 experts were left behind looking at each other with cold eyes. He Yunshan put on a thin smile. I wonder what Sir Shui Jing wishes to talk about with Zhuo Fan. Ah, Sword Heart took the child as well. Could you, sirs, assemble in Sacred Mountains Hall? The red-haired elder shouted and the 7 experts urged the Sacred Mountains side to go there. He Yunshan didn't ask and followed their bidding since none could beat them. Dan Qingxin paused, then gathered the Luo clan's forces to go home and wait. They were restless, worried for Zhuo Fan's sake. From what Zhuo Fan said, he expected the worst from Shui Jing's invitation. This only made them more worried. Zhuo Fan had always faced someone who he could strike at and handle with a preemptive strike. But this time he was passive in this invitation. I hope Steward Zhua is overreacting and Sir Shui Jing will be amiable. Dan Qingxin shook his head with a sigh. The others looked grave. Crossing mountain ranges, Zhuo Fan relied on his memories to reach the familiar valley with the pavilion. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan nodded. I finally found it just like before. But why did I come here then but couldn't find it again? Whoosh. Zhuo Fan parted the veil and entered the pavilion with cupped hands. Sir Shui Jing, I come at your invitation. Zhuo Fan? Zhuo Fan blinked, crying at the familiar voice. Qingqing? Chu Qingqing skipped over in a rush, throwing herself in his arms from joy. Did you come to find me? How did you know I was here? I didn't. I came to see Sir Shui Jing. Zhuo Fan hugged her, happy, but then he calmed down. I see it was Sir Shui Jing who rescued you. Chu Qingqing frowned, shaking her head. I don't know, since I fell unconscious in the 6th sacred mountain then I woke up here. That means Sir Shui Jing did it. Only he has such incredible skill to do it. But why did he bring you here? Is it? Zhuo Fan squinted. You're alone here? Where is Sir Shui Jing? Chu Qingqing blushed, glaring at him. What did you say? You expect me to live here with another man? No, that's not it at all, Qingqing. I was just asking where Sir Shui Jing was. Not here. He only met me the first time then was gone for months. Chu Qingqing muttered, Zhuofan, let's just leave. This place is strange. I just can't seem to leave no matter where I go. Strange? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow and looked from where he came to find it had changed. Everything looked symmetrical and identical. The stony path he followed was now gone. Illusion? Zhuofan used his left eye, the black thunderflame burning strong and the air twisted. Apocalyptic thunderflame, I could burn even illusions and could make an exit and shed light on what was happening. The first one that will be released is written by the author. Meanwhile, the second one is written by Star Reader cause the ending by the author leaves us unsatisfied. Fan-made ending next chapter. Chapter 1291, First Ending, Showdown. Who black flames spread out and sizzled Zhuofan's surroundings, but nothing changed as he withdrew them. Chu Qingqing panicked, how is it? Can you break the barrier? If there was a barrier? Zhuofan frowned in doubt, this doesn't look like a barrier or illusion. My thunder flame would have destroyed them by now if there was. Chu Qingqing hesitated, this is really strange and absurd. Qingqing, did Sir Shuai-Jing say something to you? Zhuofan asked. Chu Qingqing pondered and nodded. He did vow on Dao heart that there's no barrier or array. He also said that it's my heart keeping me here, not him. Heart trapping oneself? Zhuofan paced around. Humans are plagued with complex desire and could never see their real selves beyond them. You need to remove them and clear your heart to see clearly. Zhuofan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Chu Qingqing cocked her head. Hum was heard and Zhuofan's surroundings had ripples spreading out, each twisted reality, even himself. Chu Qingqing was baffled, but then a hand took her hand and left with her. She cried at the sudden force, stumbling. When she straightened, the surroundings left her speechless. The valley was gone, as was the waterfall and pavilion. They were now before a small courtyard with a building and a side room. Chu Qingqing blinked at a loss. This is the valley you couldn't leave? Zhuofan smirked. It's nothing but a courtyard, stuck running circles in it. No matter where you went, someone kept deceiving your perception. Inability to break the hold kept you here. Chu Qingqing gasped. There's a skill like that? Then how did you? Zhuofan's right eye shone in 3 golden halos. Maybe I have the same skill as the user. Zhuofan smiled as the rings faded, patting her hand. A zither played that drew Chu Qingqing's attention and made her fearful, pulling on Zhuofan. It's him, that Shuai-Jing who trapped me. It's fine. What comes comes. Zhuofan led her to the sounds, arriving behind the building before a youth in his 20s playing the zither. Chu Qingqing was scared, hiding behind Zhuofan who bowed. Greetings, Sir Shuai-Jing. The zither didn't stop, with Shuai-Jing looking up at him. These years have helped you broaden your heart and mind, escaping the hold on your heart so soon. Very good. Shuai-Jing smiled. Zhuofan smiled. You're too kind, sir. I still have a long way to go. I didn't even realize when Sir tampered with my heart. Sir is the true expert. Haha, you're not as cocky as before. You've matured a lot. Shuai-Jing nodded and stopped playing. He waved to a chessboard. It's been ages since our last game. Allow me to see your progress. Zhuofan nodded. With your permission. He sat down with Chu Qingqing next to him, looking at Shuai-Jing's mysterious smile. Pieces fell on the board, each fighting to overcome the other side. An hour later the pieces looked entangled. You're much calmer now and have lost your recklessness. Shuai-Jing placed a white piece. Zhuofan nodded and placed a black one. I am grateful for your lecture. Gains and losses matter not, one needs to see the big picture to succeed. I will never forget that lesson. You not only held it close but built on it. You're an entirely different person. You're too kind, sir. It's all thanks to you. It's a shame the same quirk remains. Shuai-Jing gave him a look and sighed. You like to take risks and employ schemes. That's very dangerous for a big player. The higher you go, the shrewder your opponent will become, just like you if not better. By trying to be clever you're only revealing your weakness to be destroyed. Shuai-Jing placed a piece hard, removing many of Zhuofan's. The outcome was obvious. Zhuofan's face was dark. Yes, sir is right. I started off as a nobody, unable to contend with the big players. But why do you big players still bother with a nobody like me, Heavenly Sovereign? You finally figured it out? Shuai-Jing replied with calm. Only Chu Qingqing gaped. The Heavenly Sovereign? The strongest of the 10 ancient sovereigns? No way. Didn't they all fall? Even the Nether Sovereign could only wander the Nether Sea as a lost soul. How can the Heavenly Sovereign still be alive? Yeah, they have fallen, so how could the Heavenly Sovereign they all fought against still survive? Jing chuckled, always staring at Fan. What makes you so sure? Fan spoke. Ever since I got Sir's divine eye of the void, I felt apprehensive, afraid that one day you'll come after me and ruin me for stealing it. But then I thought to myself, that this was all a stage as the other sovereigns showed themselves to me and taught me. I didn't think myself special for this many big players to value me so much. So I was thinking that maybe all of this is a setup. Yes, you're far stronger and can see the lining. Go on. Jing waved. Fan said, those freaks just now must be from the mortal domain. I could feel the aura of the sacred weapons on them. That moment I felt all was lost, that I would run into Sir and you would butcher me. But when I heard they were your men, all became clearer. Heavenly Sovereign, you don't want to kill me but use me. You wouldn't have helped me otherwise, guiding me on the demonic path. Crack. Jing clapped. Well said, but that's on the basis that I'm the Heavenly Sovereign. And if I'm not him? Moon mirror fades to void, to nothing, which is the void path. Fan laughed. Sir, you've stated who you are a long time ago. It's just that none ever thought of it from that perspective. Who would have thought that the first sovereign would now be toying with people as Jing? The skill you used to trap me and Qingqing in the courtyard was the divine eye of the void third stage Mirage world, right? Fan's right eye shone in 3 halos, but since I'm still weak and ignorant still in the void path, I can only create illusions in a certain area, while Sir is able to implant them in people's minds. I only escape because I know some of the void path. Fan. The Heavenly Sovereign smiled. You've done well going to the mortal domain this time. I'm impressed. Thank you, but there's still something I've yet to understand. When you saved me and led me on the demonic path, it wasn't just a coincidence, was it? I just can't understand why all the big players are interested in little old me. Fan shouted in the lion's den. The Heavenly Sovereign would have flattened him if his use ran its course. The fact he was breathing proved he had value, and it was now his turn to leverage that to find out the truth. Fan had seen many things, and the confusion within him only grew deeper. Now he found the courage to have a showdown with this sovereign. Chapter 1292 First Ending, Cave of Emotions. The Heavenly Sovereign sneered, if you know you're a nobody, a pawn in the big player's game, then you should also know that no choice is yours, you've been guided without even realizing. It's not even a path you chose. My little brother, what do you mean? Fan stared at him deeply, seeming confused. The Heavenly Sovereign shook his head, the past is the past. You don't have to know. But understand this, since I admit to leading you on, you should also play along. What makes you so sure I'll listen? Like I said, you have no choice. The Heavenly Sovereign mocked as he looked in Qingqing's direction. Fan tensed and clenched his fists. The space cracked to reveal a portal reflecting a lush forest. Heavenly Sovereign pointed, this is the Emotion Sovereign's seat of enlightenment. Go and take his sovereign path. The Emotion Sovereign? The most mysterious of the 10? Fan blinked. He's barely been mentioned in the 9 Serenity's secret records, with the world having who sharing any rumors about him. How am I supposed to do that? The Heavenly Sovereign smiled, you will do what others can't. Accepting their path is within their plans, don't worry. They? Fan squinted, you mean the Nether Sovereigns group? They gave me their path and you have also. What the hell are you all up to? Would they still give it to me knowing you had sent me? Fan, you're overthinking it, haha. The Heavenly Sovereign laughed, remember my lesson. The higher you climb, the more useless tricks become. We all fight in the open to control everything. Our dealing has long been anticipated by those guys. That goes both ways as well. Just like this game of chess. We all can see what pieces go and stay, but the outcome is clear. You're in the open and not over, understand? Fan didn't argue, glancing at Qingqing's worried face and reassuring her with a glance before going through the portal. Birds chirped and danced in the air from branch to branch. The place was paradise, without anything evil, heavy, or strange. It was the best place for one to live in seclusion. Though something was odd that caught his eye. Everything here came in pairs, including objects. 2 insects flying side by side, squirrels hopping together, and even weeds growing in pairs, all joined in a bizarre manner. The lone sun above struck a solitary figure in this paradise of emotion. Fan chuckled, then it dawned on him to look across the sky and notice the moon. Just like Emotion Sovereign, to bring even the sun and moon together. Fan walked on with nothing stopping him. Except for some odd sights, the Sovereign's seat of enlightenment had no defenses. It was the complete opposite from the dark and eerie Nether Sea. This forest only knew tranquility and peace. The Heavenly Sovereign is almighty, so why doesn't he come here, insisting that I go instead? Peculiar. Zhuofan was trying to unravel the 10 Sovereigns game and his role in it. It didn't get him anywhere, so he gave up, just focusing on walking until he reached a cave. It had Cave of Emotion written above it. Greetings, Sovereign. Zhuofan gave a deep bow in respect. There was no reply, only silence. Zhuofan cursed. Is he out, or was the Heavenly Sovereign's aim off? He was about to ask again. You're finally here. A faint woman's voice came from within. Yeah. Zhuofan nodded, proving the Heavenly Sovereign's words. His destiny was to be the Sovereign's pawn. All of them were waiting for him. Who let you in? The voice asked. Zhuofan was frank. Sovereign, it was Heavenly Sovereign who brought me to your seat of enlightenment. After all this time, it'd be strange for Heavenly Sovereign not to notice. 9 Serenities was right, the final winner is still up to fate. Zhuofan spoke baffled. Sovereign, I can just go if you want. No, I've waited for you for too long. There's no way you're leaving. After her stern words, a prismatic light flew out of the cave. It entered Zhuofan's body and stayed there. Zhuofan patted himself, making an odd face. Is that it? Yes, you're now free to go. Shouldn't it be like Nether Sovereign's group? Zhuofan scratched his head at how absurdly easy getting something so important was. Don't you need to test me? Or guide me? It's kind of casual. It's yours now and you're dissatisfied? Beat it. Ugh, fine. Zhuofan blinked at the temper and left with a bow. Take care, Sovereign. He went for a few minutes before returning to the portal. He gave one last look back before stepping through. The minute he did, the paradise faded away. The pairs of insects and birds were gone, the sun and moon were no more. Only a dark wind blew below the heavy clouds, over the endless bones roamed by mangy dogs and ravens as they searched for scraps. The paradise had become hell. The voice echoed from the cave, if heaven has love, heaven is also old. Love is the deadliest poison in the world. The Heavenly Sovereign ran amok through the world, yet fell for my bewitching and never again set foot here. Having sent him to take my path, this means he's close to removing it. We are running out of time. Bali Yuyu, are you ready? A lady stood ice cold in the cave. She nodded. A pink glow filled the cave. We're going to act soon, so let me remind you. My soul trace relied on my path to survive for so long. The day I send it away is the day I will be gone from this world. But I'll be able to control it once more through you. However, if you can't withstand a path's might, then you will disintegrate. Will you still accept it? Don't you want to stop the Heavenly Sovereign? Why say this now? Bali Yuyu looked at the cave with a cold gaze. The voice came once more, there's no grudge between us and the Heavenly Sovereign. Blocking him is because of our diverging paths. The mortal world's emotions have no play in this. I'm happy that you'd sacrifice yourself for me, but as the Emotion Sovereign I need to confirm your decision. For emotion is hard as stone. Mastering emotion means you need to feel them at their most intense. The Nether Sovereign sent you here believing you have the capability. I know that your emotions are one-sided. Whether they can reach or not, I know. I won't let him die before me. Bali Yuyu was determined, showing a faint smile. With a boom, the cave shone bright, then entered Bali Yuyu. Bali Yuyu shuddered from pain, but soon her eyes opened to reveal a dreadful gaze. Rumble the mountain crumbled and all in 1,000 miles turned to dust. Bali Yuyu flew away, gone in a blink. 100 miles from Mirror Moon Cottage, as sacred stones entered the earth, a strange array took form. Schwanger took a deep breath and made a sign. Li Jingtian's group was grave. Miss Schwanger, can we actually save Steward Zhuo with this array? Even Steward Zhuo has no confidence in defeating Shui Jing with his mastery of arrays. How can you? It's not to fight Shui Jing but to guide him. Schwanger looked pained. This is my ancestors' mission to our clan, to give Big Brother Zhuo a way out. A prismatic light shone and Schwanger released a frightening aura that left everyone gasping. Chapter 1293, First Ending. Advancement. Sword Heart walked towards the towering cliff, smiling at the setting sun and the cautious Sword Child. Sword Heart spoke to himself. He'll soon get his wish and this world will be at peace. Sword Child just stared. What's your name? Sword Heart asked. Sword Child? Did your master name you? No, he's my father. Sword Child's eyes were hard. Sword Heart shook his head, just like humanity to treat his sword as a son. How does your master see you? Isn't it obvious? His heart. Sword Heart sighed. A sword points where your heart is. I am his sword, moving at his heart's intent. We are one, he and I. Does he see you as a brother then? Not a brother, for they aren't of one mind, while we are. Sword Heart smiled. What he wants to do, I want as well. Not like your master's fancy speech calling you his son. Isn't parenthood a form of slavery? You have to obey and you have to listen. Being humane is so fake, so short-sighted. Humph and Sword Child mocked, your master made you like him, but in the end you're just a copy. You're both working to improve at best, while nothing more than a replica at worst. My father treats us like sons, but he never forces us to follow him. The same with the Luo clan head, the same with Qilin. I am but a sword. So who is the master and who is the servant? Sword Heart looked at the sky. The heavenly Daos have no emotions, in eternal solitude, unmarred by human complexions. That's why the 10 ancient sovereigns were in the end one heaven and 9 people. The 9 shared their paths while the heavenly Daos is only one. The same goes for us. It's not that he made a copy of himself, it's that the heavenly Daos resembles themselves. I'm his sword and he shows me where the heavenly Daos are so we can create a pure world. What's that got to do with my dad? He never bothered you. Of course it's related. He's crucial. Be it for the heavenly Daos or humanity, the world's direction rests on him. Everything is in the hands of one man. Sword Heart smiled. If all goes well, tonight we'll get to see the world's direction change, haha. Sword Child shuddered, unease creeping in. Whoosh, 2 figures bowed before Sword Heart. Sir, it's done? They were 2 of the 8 freaks. Sword Heart waved them away and said to Sword Child, do you know what they are? Once the strongest in the mortal domain, men that sought the pinnacle. But the more they do, the more frustrated they feel when they reach a wall they cannot cross. Having never failed before, they become restless. It was then that I stepped in and promised to fulfill their wishes, so they bowed their heads. And once someone does, he can never raise it again. Humans are weak. These 8 are all cultivators from the mortal domain that learned from the sacred weapons? Yes, the tougher the environment, the stronger the people. After the ancient period, the sacred domain no longer had anyone impressive. Only the mortal domain would bring about someone adequate every million years or so. Sword Heart nodded, then he showed utter disdain, and the result? They're stuck as half-sovereigns, their immense pride turned into cowardice from crushing doubt in their abilities as they begin seeking other ways, ultimately sealing their hope to ever reach sovereignty. That's why they can never be sovereigns. If there is already a sovereign alive for that path, then that seat is occupied, Sword Child shouted. Sword Heart shook his head. Wrong? The 10 paths to heaven hint at being only 10, but that doesn't mean they can't change. It may be hard, but if one found an alternative, another road, they too could become sovereign in the sword. Sword Child, there was once Patriarch Blood Demon who lived a long time ago. He had the bravery to do it, coming the closest to realizing it. Later on, people heard of his attempt and always believed that the 10 paths are undoubtedly occupied, losing their courage. Will you brave it, little one? Sword Child's eyes grew with thirst for battle. Haha, you may never get the chance if your master fails. Sword Heart laughed and patted the little head. Come, let's see your master's last act and maybe for the last time. Sword Heart left and Sword Child followed. The 2 arrived at the Heavenly Sovereign's courtyard, to find him in his chair and looking at the chessboard with intense gaze. Chu Qingqing paced around, looking at the portal with worry now and then. Sword Heart and Sword Child landed. Sword Heart bowed, it's ready? Marvelous. The Heavenly Sovereign gave Sword Child a look, while Chu Qingqing gasped, what are you doing here? It's too dangerous? Where's father? Sword Child asked. Chu Qingqing looked at the portal and sighed. He went to find the Emotion Sovereign. It feels like the 2 sovereigns are mortal enemies. As Zhuofan represents the Heavenly Sovereign, maybe? Chu Qingqing shook her head. Sword Child looked worried as well. Zhuofan casually stepped out of the portal and the 2 welcomed him with smiles. The Heavenly Sovereign gave him a look and mocked. Just like I said, that woman gave it to you. I have it, so what do you want from me now? Zhuofan sighed. The Heavenly Sovereign shrugged, popping another portal open, leading to the sacred mountains, where their disciples and the 6 mountain lords were. Only they were all unconscious. Zhuofan gave the Heavenly Sovereign a quizzical look. The Heavenly Sovereign spoke, as 9 Serenities inheritor, you trained in the demon transformation art to the early saint stage. You're a ways away from reaching the peak. As for your heart and mind, the many sovereign inheritances you have proved its broadness. To reach the sovereign stage, all that is needed is build-up. What? Zhuofan gasped, you want me to suck them dry? Of course, why else would I stop the slaughtering? As Sacred Mountain's disciples practice the most upright methods and have a solid foundation. Using them will lead to best results. Just what's your game, making me a sovereign? Think of it as me helping you out. Heavenly Sovereign snickered, Not just me but other sovereigns wish for it as well. There'd be no point dumping so many paths on you otherwise. But your goals differ. Why do you care? Did you forget your place pawn? You have no power here. The heavenly sovereign mocked as he glanced at Chu Qingqing and Sword Child. I'd have drowned you in materials by now. But for the saying haste makes waste, do you think I wanted to wait for so long? Are you doing it or not? Zhuo Fan's face shook and he looked around with a sigh. He made a sign and black energy leaked out of him. In a blink, a sea of black drowned the crowd. They didn't even twitch as they disintegrated. The black energy returned to Zhuo Fan and filled him with endless strength. The heavenly sovereign smirked. You're holding back because you're afraid that the demon transformation art will eat you alive like your disciple and everyone? Don't worry, the backlash happens only with a weak body, unable to handle all those energies, and with a weak mind that succumbs to the victim's regrets. You've passed them with flying colors. Now cultivate it already. Screw you. Zhuo Fan shook, unleashing a violent wave of black energy that turned all the people to dust in a blink. Chu Qingqing shirked back in fear, with the heavenly sovereign nodding. Let's take this brief moment to comprehend heavenly Daos like old times, brother. The argument before the Great War. The heavenly sovereign's eyes shone. Chapter 1294, First Ending. Seizing? Zhuo Fan was surrounded by black energy, but he was still able to listen. When the universe was in its primordial state, the heavens and the earth were pure and clear, all things were honest and there was a flourishing vitality. The prevalent upright energy made it the clearest time in the entire cosmos. The heavenly sovereign stood and paced. With the coming of humanity, the world's vitality got twisted. With humanity having demons in their hearts, the world's righteousness was challenged by the demonic path, confusing it further. Yes, the demonic path was never a part of the world, it came from people. In other words, the heart is the root of all evil. Doesn't that mean to cleanse the world, one has to purge the source? Zhuo Fan spoke from his cultivation. Isn't this funny, talking about eradicating the demonic path when I'm part of it? It's because you reached its peak that you understand the wretchedness of a human heart. I'm asking you in all honesty. The heavenly sovereign was filled with bloodthirst. The vile humans have only worked to doom their fate with the countless crimes. They should all die, right? Zhuo Fan took a deep breath. Yes, humans are vile, but... No, but... In your journey as a demonic cultivator for so many years, you've been seeking any little reason why humanity shouldn't be purged. And now you became a true demon from a nobody. You see the good and bad in their hearts and know that humanity must die. Then you should be supporting me this time, right? When have I gone against you? Can I even do that? This is absurd. Zhuo Fan was confused. Chu Qingqing scrounged up her courage to dispute. Humanity is evil, but also good and honorable. You can't condemn it just because there's some bad in them. You may be a sovereign, but aren't you human first and foremost? Yeah, I was once a human, but ever since I attained my void path to become the heavenly sovereign, I no longer saw myself as such. I'm cultivating the heavenly Daos, emptiness. All my human characteristics are now void. I'm the heavenly Daos envoy, enacting judgment in its stead to remove any filth poisoning it. It's my duty. The heavenly sovereign sneered. It's because I was once human that I understand how deep this poison runs. Reap the world once so that it may be pure again. As for that honor and good you spout about, Zhuo Fan shuddered and his strength exploded before subsiding. The heavenly sovereign patted his shoulder. Well done. Demon transformation art is truly incredible, as the fastest cultivation method in the world. You're already at mid-saint stage. There's just something I can't fathom. Why is your cultivation regressing to the 5th layer of foundation establishment stage? It's really baffling, haha. This is the true self-art, having learned it from an elder in the mortal domain. At the peak of your path you return to your origins. Isn't this something that big players like you strive for? No, since I never heard any among us 10 speak of such a clever cultivation method. Every sovereign drew their cultivation method from their paths. Seize the moon and sun, block the stars, ruin the world, all of these are incredible. This true self-art looks odd but so plain, made for nobodies. The heavenly sovereign shrugged. Keep going. The demon transformation art takes everything in creation. The mortal cultivation method won't affect it, haha. Zhuo Fan closed his eyes, ignoring his mocking. Humph smiled and said, right, Miss Chu said something about honor and good. Humph, hypocrite, that honor and good you speak of are nothing but covers to hide twisted and vile hearts. It has no relation to true righteousness. Humans only care about themselves, their wants, even beguiling others to stop them from targeting them. So they need a good excuse to take the main role on the stage. What purging evil and vanquishing demons? They're nothing but excuses to invade and remove all their threats. Who'd act otherwise? You're sort of a righteous cultivator. Think of all the times when righteousness was invoked. Wasn't it to steal or cheat or kill some threat? Was there any time they fought for another? Chu Qingqing was shaken up and the heavenly sovereign let her be, turning instead to Zhuofan. You know this better than most, Zhuofan. In dealing with the 8 emperors and sacred mountains, you used the moral high ground, didn't you? It was the only way to avoid others from surrounding you when you attacked, giving them a common cause. That's why I said you've done right by going to the mortal domain, turning into a full-fledged demon by understanding the other's demons and using them. However, I have to admit that some, the very rare kind, truly are kind like a flower. Zhuofan shuddered and his power surged once more. He was at late saint stage in power and his cultivation regressed to the 3rd layer of foundation establishment stage. The heavenly sovereign gave him a long look. I never denied the world not having true kind people. Human minds get twisted. Once this kindness gets swallowed by the filth of the world, it gets spat out as demonic, vile and abhorred. By seeing their evil you understand this better than anyone. The human heart is the least reliable concept in the world. An angel can become a demon overnight, sullying the world. The kindness of humans is nothing more than the incubation period of demons. They all turn with time. Thousands of saints were now dust, with but a few still alive. Zhuofan's power grew to the peak saint stage. The heavenly sovereign looked to be winning, his right eye shone in 10 golden halos. Little brother, just like before, you have no way of convincing me. So just the same, lend me a hand and help me reach the supreme stage, to become the ultimate being so that I may destroy the world and rebirth it. Boom. The sky changed as a huge eye appeared above everyone. 10 golden rings shone in its center. Zhuofan shook and felt crushed, unable to breathe. His bones felt like they might give. Heavenly Sovereign, what are you doing? Zhuofan cried out. The Heavenly Sovereign smirked, taking out the sovereign paths those guys gave you. Divine Eye of the Void 10th Stage Void Cave. Whoosh, the 10 golden rings in the sky shone brighter and Zhuofan felt his strength boiling. His skin turned red and blood seeped out. His strength drifted outward like something was being pulled from his being. Ah! Zhuofan heard a shriek, forcing his head to look with gritted teeth. Chu Qingqing suffered the same, getting in pain and crying out from the torment as something was being pulled away. Heavenly Sovereign, you had me do it, so let me. Leave her alone. My word is my bond. Miss Chu will be free, but I need to take something first. Heavenly Sovereign smiled, his eyes shining golden. A prismatic glow came out of Chu Qingqing and flew in the sky, vanishing inside the huge eye. That's, yes, the 9 serenities path you left on her. Heavenly Sovereign explained. Chu Qingqing fell limp on the ground, pale and weak. Zhuofan was worried and Heavenly Sovereign mollified. Worry not, I only want the path not to hurt her. She just needs some rest. Though after I rebirth the world, I can't promise she'd survive, haha. Heavenly Sovereign, isn't the path for the owner to decide. That's for common people. I am Heavenly Sovereign and my divine eye of the Void 10th Stage Void Cave can take anything, even a sovereign path. Heavenly Sovereign chuckled at his confusion. Of course, if she had a sovereign strength, it might have been harder. But this is all she amounts to. Next up is you, my little brother, ha. Chapter 1295, First Ending, Bleak Outlook. With a crazed smile, the Heavenly Sovereign's 10 golden halos in his eyes shined brightly. Zhuofan felt the pain of having something pulled out of him. Ah! He cried out as a prismatic glow flew out, vanishing in the huge eye. Tyrant Emperor path, check. The Heavenly Sovereign smirked triumphantly as Zhuofan roared in constant agony as prismatic glows flew out of him. Chu Qingqing panted and witnessed his torture with worry. She felt the scene familiar, making his shouting far more painful than what she went through. Chu Qingqing sobbed and crawled at a painfully slow pace, far too weak. Zhuofan, Sword Child, was frantic, wanting to help, but Divine Eye of the Void's power was too great, pressing him down into the ground. Father? The prismatic glows entered the huge eye and Zhuofan bled from every inch of skin. As the last glow left him, Zhuofan had no strength to even shout. The final path, the Emotion Sovereigns. Ah! The Heavenly Sovereign laughed. I'm the winner in the end. The Heavenly Daos will be rid of humanity and become pure. Sword Child roared. You got what you wanted, now let my father go. So young and yet to already have awareness. You're quite filial for a demonic cultivator like Zhuofan. Heavenly Sovereign mocked. Too bad you're wrong in assuming that I got everything. He can't go yet. What more do you want? The peak of the human path. Zhuofan's demon transformation art trained to the peak. The golden rings in his eyes shined even brighter. Ah! Zhuofan felt like he was flayed alive by thousands of knives and pokers. His eyes bulged as blood flowed out of him. He howled at the top of his lungs as the black energy seeped out of him and vanished in the huge eye in the sky. Zhuofan's roars didn't stop. Following his strength being robbed, his very soul came out as well, stripped of everything. Zhuofan quieted, looking near dead. Sword Child roared in anger, "You took everything from him and still want more? His soul will be destroyed and die. It's the path he chose. He lost, and like our agreement, he will now help with my path." The heavenly sovereign smiled at the frail soul. "Little brother, I won in the end and you lost. Without you I couldn't have won. You're my stepping stone and I won't forget you, destroying you for good. Farewell, father." Zhuofan. Sword Child and Chu Qingqing shouted, but Zhuofan was silent. He was still in a haze. What the hell is going on? Who did I mess with to have the sovereign toy with me? I'm dying and still don't know why. No one is more wrong than me in the world. Bam. A sudden shudder passes through the world and sky, causing the huge eye to quake and the golden rings to dim. Zhuofan's frail soul relaxed, feeling strength again, enough to exist. Sword Child finally stood up and looked at the sky. The pressure's gone? Who's there? The heavenly sovereign's right eye shone in 12 golden halos, while his left flickered with purple lightning, glaring at the empty sky. Sword Heart was grave. Who can barge into the heavenly sovereign's world? Whoosh, a familiar figure appeared before them, her cold eyes glaring at the heavenly sovereign. "Yuyu? Miss Yuyu?" Zhuofan cried. Chu Qingqing rejoiced at newfound hope. But why was she so strong? How did she just enter the heavenly sovereign's domain? Bali Yuyu looked at the weak soul. "I'm not Bali Yuyu, I'm the emotion sovereign. I'm using Bali Yuyu's body to save them." "Save them? You dare talk big using a trace of your soul to take over a mortal body? You're nowhere near strong enough." The heavenly sovereign mocked, "This is my world and not yours. What can you possibly do? You don't even have your path, you're only a half-sovereign at best." The emotion sovereign smirked and looked at the huge eye. "Who said I don't? There it is. You call the path I stole with my void path still yours? All the more reason why you'll lose it." The emotion sovereign gave a taunting look. "Heavenly sovereign, remember your fall? Heaven has emotion and will pierce everything. You fell for my bewitching and spent all the following ages in this abode without stepping a foot outside. You were afraid of the world's energy infecting yours and ruining the heartless heavenly Daos you hold dear." The heavenly sovereign raged, "That was a cheap blow you did when I was weakened from fighting the others. If not for my unworthy little brother's help from the shadows, you'd never have succeeded. Moreover, I reduced you to a mere trace, only hanging on with the help of your path. Once my little brother is back, you'll have nothing to be smug about. It's no boasting but a fact. My emotion path is the bane of your heartless heavenly Daos. Once a void path has emotion, it can no longer be empty. You worked hard in removing all human emotions to cultivate the void path, and when emotion seeps back in, demise is nigh. This time I have the demon transformation art to remove your emotion and the bewitching you placed on me. Emotion sovereign, you lost. We'll see. The crux is if you can remove them." The heavenly sovereign's face grew dark. The emotion sovereign smirked as she made a sign. A pink glow spread throughout the sky. The huge eye shuddered and its aura grew weaker. "Heavenly sovereign, you have taken my path but have yet to absorb it. I can still control it. I will have emotion reach its peak and infect your void path and ruin your heartless heavenly Daos cultivation." "Think again?" The heavenly sovereign shouted, making a sign to have the huge eye shone brighter. "My void path is the righteous way of the world. It can't be infected. You're just a trace relying on a puny human to steal a sovereign path. How long do you think you can hold on for? In a minute you'll die along with that trace." "Die?" Zhuofan looked in shock at Bali Yuyu. Is she the emotion sovereign's vessel, or more than enough? The emotion sovereign turned to Zhuofan. "I'll stall him for a minute." "Run." "Run?" He was too weak to even move. The heavenly sovereign sneered, "Your minute will be wasted." Whoosh, a shadow flashed as Sword Child reached Zhuofan to hold his soul. "No, it won't. Thank you, Senior, I and Dad won't forget you. Though we can never repay you." Whoosh, Sword Heart blocked Sword Child. Sword Child looked grave. He had no confidence he could win against this incredible enemy. They were going to fail. The enemy had 2 experts. Even with the sovereign being stalled, they couldn't do anything about the second. The outlook was bleak. Chapter 1296, First Ending, Star Path. Sword Heart, why do you work for him? You know he's heartless, so what do you gain from it? The Emotion Sovereign asked. That's why I was feeling threatened. He can't be beaten because he's the pinnacle of the sword path. It was like fighting your own father, impossible to fight. Sword Child predicted this, but the news still came as a shock. Now everything is ruined, curses. Emotion Sovereign, we're only sovereigns, not human. I am the Heavenly Sovereign Sword and he is Zhuofan's creation. We can't betray our masters. You don't betray, but did he ever trust you? What about your path? Why are you a half-sovereign? Who took your crown? The Emotion Sovereign saw him silent and sneered. Heavenly Sovereign was scared you'd turn, so he took it to destroy you the moment you have a change of heart. Yet you still help him? Weren't you on good terms with Cao? Why choose Heavenly Sovereign in the end? Because Heavenly Sovereign is right. People's hearts change and I become tainted. I might proclaim my loyalty, but I can't even guarantee that I won't change. It was the right thing to give Heavenly Sovereign my path. That's what I believe. Coward. Emotion Sovereign spat. The Heavenly Sovereign sneered. Sword Heart has been with me for so long, my only friend. We both believe in the Heavenly Daos, that humans aren't reliable with their unpredicted nature. It doesn't mean anything even if I have his path. It's better for him to follow the Tao than let his heart decide. Once the heart changes, it will cause a great disaster. This is why humanity must be purged for the Heavenly Daos to live on. Humph, you haven't won yet. What? The Heavenly Sovereign smirked, but then another boom echoed in the sky. Stars fell, breaking this domain's limit and striking Sword Heart. Sword Heart felt the immense pressure and took out a sword and slashed at the sky to crush the incoming attacks. But the star's power made his arm numb. Sovereign Yun Starfall? Sword Heart gasped, with the Heavenly Sovereign muttering, impossible. Sovereign Yun died ages ago. Even if there's a trace left, he still can't unleash such a strong sovereign power. Is it? The Emotion Sovereign smiled and made a sign. Heavenly Sovereign, you'll regret it now in not letting Sword Heart keep his sovereign path. He can't contend with Sovereign Yun's star power. With his path in the eye above, he can't block the Sovereign Yun's path as a mere half-sovereign. The two turned to Sword Heart to see him pushed back. For every one of the 10 sovereign paths, one needs a certain mindset to use it. Taking over somebody won't work. The emotion path needs the pinnacle of emotion, true and pure emotion. That's the only way for you to last this minute and control the emotion path like back then. The Heavenly Sovereign spoke, so that means the body you're using has deep emotion for Zhuofan, willing to die for him? The Emotion Sovereign nodded. The Heavenly Sovereign then turned to the stars. This is Sovereign Yun's path. His mindset is for the people of the world. It must be a direct descendant to be in tune with his Tao heart. But only if they would sacrifice themselves for Zhuofan could they unleash so much of its power at Yun Sovereign's level. But why does this kid have so many willing to die for him? Heavenly Sovereign, this is the human path's strength. You can never know its might, you who control the Heavenly Daos. Also, the Emotion Sovereign glanced at Zhuofan. You know very well your little brother's grace. He's nothing like you, ha. That's why he diverged on his journey to Heavenly Daos, pulled towards your human paths. Heavenly Sovereign sneered, just a few seconds. You don't have the time to escape my world. You've lost. The Heavenly Sovereign's eyes shone in bright gold and made a sign. The Emotion Sovereign shook and staggered back, looking pale and red as blood seeped out just like it happened to Zhuofan. The Emotion Sovereign was on the brink. Kid, don't just stand there. Leave with Zhuofan. Ah yes. Sword Child blinked awake from the impressive starfall and rushed away with Zhuofan while Sword Heart was stuck dealing with the stars. The Heavenly Sovereign didn't mind, flaring his power once more and striking the Emotion Sovereign's chest, causing her to cough blood. Ha, it's over and you lost. I'll be taking my pawn back. It's the end of humanity's sovereigns. The Emotion Sovereign looked at the huge eye in worry. Whoosh, a blinding white light shone out of nowhere, breaking through the barriers of this world and landing on the courtyard. This? The Heavenly Sovereign was startled, with the Emotion Sovereign roaring at Sword Child. Kid, get Zhuofan's soul inside the light. Hurry. Sword Child threw Zhuofan's soul inside. Zhuofan's soul took human form in the light. Chu Qingqing's eyes glimmered with hope, reaching out. Zhuofan did the same, but as they were about to touch, he was turning into motes of light. Chu Qingqing was worried, thinking something happened to him. The Emotion Sovereign consoled, don't worry, this is Sovereign Yun's star path. The soul inside will turn into a star and be sent elsewhere. Not even a sovereign can hope to chase after it. The emotion sovereign looked at Heavenly Sovereign's dark face. So you still want to gamble? Not gamble but survive along with the rest of the people. Fine, I'll let you take that faint hope away. But you will lose in the end. I have what I need. A wounded soul won't make a difference. Oh? We'll just have to wait and see, haha. The emotion sovereign smiled as she collapsed, turning into fading motes of red light. Zhuofan gasped, Senior, is this your wish or you use? This girl isn't a fool to pay so much for another's man. I bewitched her to control her body. It's despicable but it's all for the greater good. Farewell, Zhuofan. Bali Yuyu's dead expression vanished as well, gone into red motes. Zhuofan turned into starlight and flew through the curtain of white light. The Heavenly Sovereign, Sword Heart, Sword Child, and Chu Qingqing were left alone. The four looked conflicted at the two's disappearance. Whoosh, Sword Child held Chu Qingqing and flew away, using this chance to break out of the Heavenly Sovereign's world through the gap. Sword Heart sighed, should I stop them? No, I said I'll let them go and I will. I'm a man of my word. The Heavenly Sovereign shook his head. Did the Emotion Sovereign's last trace die with the girl's last words? Yeah, but she didn't leave any good parting words, sounding just like the Emotion Sovereign. Nothing good comes from humanity. A pity for the ignorant. The Heavenly Sovereign sighed, this only proves that the Heavenly Daos have to destroy humanity in their path. Sword Heart, start the last step. Once I remove the bewitching, we will go to Heavenly Rebirth Lake and break the last barrier to bring back the Daos. We'll succeed in recreating the world. Sword Heart nodded, understood. Chapter 1297, First Ending, Mortal Domains Collapse. Whoosh. Through lightning, fire and ash, Sword Child raced with Chu Qingqing to safety, sometimes looking back with confusion. Despite no pursuit, he never let up. The enemy had an overwhelming strength, giving them not even a glimmer of chance to survive. They trumped the father and son in brawn and brains many times over, a crushing defeat. It was an absolute miracle they even got out alive from those monsters. He now knew the meaning of avoiding at all cost. What are they doing here? Sword Child noticed Dan Qingxin's group and rushed over. Why are you guys here? Run quickly or you're going to die. The others sighed. Sword Child asked, what's wrong with you? Miss Schwanger had set up an array and perished within it, soul and all. Dan Qingxin pointed at the sacred stones on the ground. Sword Child started, she perished? What? She said she'd save Steward Zhua. She turned into bright motes of light inside the array, forming the curtain of light in the sky. Everyone sighed as he pointed at the light path above. Sword Child shuddered, the path that saved Father's soul was because of her. What a save. But this is not the time for lamentation. All of you must come with me. If the Heavenly Sovereign comes after us, we're all finished. The Heavenly Sovereign? He's alive? Why else do you think I've been fleeing for my life? What about Steward Zhua? It's a long story. Let's just get to safety first. Sword Child said, we need to survive to fight. We'll think of something later. Sword Child fled first with the weakened Chu Qingqing. Dan Qingxin's group followed. The strange array shone behind, along with the white stream above, mesmerizing and beautiful. Big Brother Zhua? A familiar voice reached Zhuofan among the stars. He opened his eyes to find light everywhere. He then noticed a figure smiling back in a white dress. Shuanga, Zhuofan stood up and looked pained at her translucent image. Was it Sovereign Yun's plan? Shuanga nodded with a bright smile. Zhuofan sighed, why did you do it? He was your ancestor, but this is between ancient experts. They have their eyes on me and I can't escape, so why must you become their pawn too? No, I wanted this. You wanted it? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow, then he nodded. Oh, the Yun clan always put the people first. The Heavenly Sovereign just told me he wants to remake the world. Shuanga, you'd never allow all those people to suffer for it. But was it worth it, sacrificing yourself to save a man for the good of the world? Once the world is gone, won't I go as well? It's not the same. No matter the outcome, you always want to sacrifice yourself. What difference would that be to you when you won't see the world again in both cases? There is. At least I know someone will watch over it in my stead. Shuanga gave a sweet smile. Zhuofan patted her head, nodding. Shuanga, you're still the same after all this time. I promised you back in Tianyu's war that I will do all I can. I won't let your sacrifice be in vain. Zhuofan brushed past her with a bitter smile. He formed a sign and then let it go. He knew that Shuanga was now but a trace bound to fade. This was their final meeting. He would never see her again. Big Brother Zhua? Zhuo Fan went through the starry path when Schwanger spoke again. This is as far as I can take you. Look after the world, this beautiful place. Zhuo Fan's heart shook. She hadn't done it solely out of Sovereign Yun's wish to save the people, but for him as well. He was the one that helped her see the world, not the people. She sacrificed herself for me? Schwanger? Zhuo Fan shouted, but he sped up and vanished in the distance with the star path. Behind him, a holy figure floated with a faint smile. I thought I had a big heart, only caring about the safety of the world, and I still thought the same up until the moment I carried out Ancestor Yun's mission. Only to now realize that I was selfish, my heart unable to hold more than one single person. Schwanger faded as she watched Zhuo Fan go. Sister Chu Chu was right. We're all frail, unable to see the world, only one man. Goodbye, big brother Zhuo. Whoosh, the holy light burst and a prismatic light rose up high above, mystical and majestic. Sword Heart shot out of nowhere and seized it in his hand. Sword Heart looked at the bright stars with a nod. We now have Sovereign Yun's path. Zhuo Fan, just how many aces do you have? The outcome is already decided. Sword Heart vanished. In a study on the mortal domain, Wu Randong leaned back in his chair with a big grin. Ever since Sword Star Empire fell, he had been free of struggles, only needing to handle some business matters. His only mission remaining was to wait for Zhuo Fan's signal. A sudden explosion startled him and turned around. A hung jade plaque broke into 5 pieces and fell. The book fell from his hands and Wu Randong roared, "Guard? What is it, master? What are your orders?" The guard bowed, baffled. Wu Randong took a deep breath to calm down. Let all the land's array grandmasters assemble to start the array. Yes. The guard left and Wu Randong went to the 5 pieces to trace them with worry. Palace Lord said to start the large array when the soul plaque broke. He must have been in big trouble to use this last move. Palace Lord, may you be safe. Wu Randong's hand tightened. 3 days later, in Sword Star Empire's X-Thunder Pavilion, 24 array grandmasters gathered, all 11th grade and up. Wu Randong rushed over, seeing Wu Qingqiu having come with Shangguan Qingyan and the other big names of the mortal domain. Sir Wu, did something happen to Zhuo Fan? Is Devil Palace on the move? Wu Qingqiu asked, with Shangguan Qingyan nodding. Zhuo Fan and Dad are in the sacred domain. Did something bad happen? I don't know either. Wu Randong shook his head. The Palace Lord only left a soul plaque behind with a trace of his soul. He said that the moment he made it break, the matter was dire. We need to activate the recoil array at once. We will know what exactly happened after we activate it. We'll ask the Palace Lord himself. Shangguan Qingyan and the others nodded, filled with worry. Wu Randong looked at the sky and roared, "It's noon, time to activate the array." The 24 array grandmasters made their signs and correlated with the other array masters at the whirlwind tunnels around the domain to activate the arrays. A huge ripple flashed before a beam shot from the Thunder Pavilion into the heavens. The other 7 whirlwind tunnels shot their own beams as well. Chapter 1298, First Ending, Sacred Beasts Escape. Rumble. Everything was shaking, with the huge pillars of light acting as weapons as they broke the heavens. In the Mirror Moon Cottage, the Heavenly Sovereign was meditating in peace when he shook awake. Sword Heart asked, "What is it?" "The mortal domain is stirring. This is bad." "The mortal domain?" Sword Heart asked, "Are those 3 beasts itching? A pity the 5 sacred weapons are in the sacred domain, or I would have gone back to set them straight." The Heavenly Sovereign shook his head. "It's not them. They'd never act without knowing my true situation. Just like before, an array has been activated." "Someone's coming to sacred domain again?" "No." Heavenly Sovereign smiled in disdain. Zhuo Fan must have done something. He didn't trust those beasts when he came to sacred domain. So now he knows the truth and needs support. For that, he will get the help of those beasts. Sword Heart nodded. "Should I stop them? The ruination of the mortal domain means destroying the source of your power." "No, with the emotion path with me, the bewitching doesn't need the mortal domain's power to be suppressed. I need to absorb the emotion path to get rid of it. The mortal domain has outlived its use and, the Heavenly Sovereign's eyes shone, by going to the mortal domain, those 3 beasts will notice I'm in trouble and will come killing. What matters is that I absorb the paths and can't be disturbed. Just watch over me. They won't stir up any trouble anytime soon." Sword Heart nodded and bowed. The Heavenly Sovereign closed his eyes again. Boom. As the shaking grew stronger, black cracks spread across the sky. Shangguan Qingyan was shaking in worry. "What kind of array did Zhuo Fan tell you to activate? Why does it look different from the one he used? It's hundreds of times stronger." The world is about to be destroyed. I don't know either. The palace lord only told me how to activate it. Wu Randong was clueless but determined. Don't worry, palace lord won't harm us. Once the array finishes we can just look for him. Shengguan Qingyan nodded. Despite the huge changes they still went with it because they trusted Zhuofan. He always did something for a reason. The three sacred beasts noticed the sudden changes. In the All-Beast Mountain range, Kunping looked at the 8 pillars of light. He met Heavenly Sovereign and all the suspicion he had on us was removed, needing our help. After years of planning we're about to act. It all comes down who the final winner is, haha. Spiritual beasts of All-Beast Mountain range, I vaulting Kunping, am leaving to fight for the world's survival. Kunping spread his arms and roared. The shivering spiritual beasts lowered their heads before him. In the Ultimate Clarity sect, Decimating Dragon Ancestor looked excited as well. Is the mortal domain finally breaking? But then he recalled Zhuofan's last trick and slumped back, humph, getting thrilled for nothing. Those humans are nothing but ungrateful bastards, caring only about themselves and leaving me here in misery. I won't fall for it a second time and get disappointed. Maybe I should raise another human to activate this array completely? But after all these years, not one human I found is useful. Zhuofan read him like a book and told Wu Qingxiu to make this place forbidden. He would not see even a ghost waltzing about. When he took Yilin he at least had a choice, but that was now gone as well. If he'd known he'd have slapped Zhuofan to death. I'm here using all I have to help you and you're burying me instead? What gives? Is this a game to you? Zhuofan wasn't to blame though, since they weren't kin. He needed to know the savage beast's intentions first. What would he do if the beast would have run amok the minute they got out? In the North Sea, heaven-sealing Cao sent huge waves as he came out to look at the sky. Cao's lone eye blinked, sneering. Another human wants to go to sacred domain? The kid had to go either way or he'd be just waiting for the big guys to come take his life. As for the others, they must be bored to death. The sacred domain has many powers. You're a lord here but an ant up there. Ah, so go and die to your heart's content. Cao sunk back beneath the icy waters. Boom. The heavens shifted as the 8 pillars grew stronger with the array grandmasters shifting their gestures. The other 7 world wind tunnels turned into 7 meteors and converged on Thunder Pavilion. The power of the pillars united and the pillar from the Thunder Pavilion exploded in size and power. The heavens couldn't take the pressure and broke apart, revealing a large pitch-black abyss, with cracks extending in all directions as pieces crumbled. All of the heavens were peeled away like an egg. The pillar kept expanding, forcing Shengguan Qingyan's group back. The pillar grew so fast it enveloped them and the sky boomed once more. Once everything settled, the people looked up in shock. The sky was now all black, an abyss without survival. What have we done? The sky is gone. Shengguan Qingyan gasped. Wu Randong was just as shocked. Why is it like this? Just what was that array of the palace lord? Look there. The sky is back. They all looked to see the sky healing and become its usual blue self. Cao was dumbstruck, with his lone eye flashing in immense joy. The mortal domain barrier is gone at last. The heavenly sovereign's realm is broken. I can see the real sky, the sacred domains, ha ha ha. With a boom, Cao slapped with his claws and shot into the sky, breaking the North Sea's barrier and reaching. His huge body shifted and became a pudgy old man flying around like a child. The recoil array broke the heavenly sovereign's barrier and made a space tunnel. But due to the world's laws it will heal. Once it does, the mortal domain and sacred domain will be one. This place is no longer the mortal domain, haha. Vaulting Kunping shot up as well. Decimating Dragon Ancestor was stumped then exploded in joy as he turned into a golden fiery dragon that circled the area before withdrawing all the flames to turn into a middle-aged man in golden robes. I'm out at last. Rotten brat, I'll get you for toying with me, mark my words. Humph. Whoosh, Dragon Ancestor vanished. The 3 sacred beasts were freed from their prison, now looking for Zhuofan. The people of the mortal domain were baffled by the changed sky, but then they noticed the thick spiritual energy flooding everywhere. They sucked in without qualms and their Yuan Qi soared to new heights. What's happening? I'm advancing. So am I. Me too. With the broken barrier, the people of the mortal domain grew excited, tasting the thick spiritual energy of the sacred domain. In just a few moments, all of the mortal domain's cultivators advanced again and again. The fresh, radiant cultivators of yesterday were now in the ethereal stage, making it feel like it was all a dream. They didn't realize that this was what they should have had, for they had been restricted for ages. Chapter 1299, First Ending, He's Dead? Who the thick spiritual energy flooded the surroundings of the mortal domain cultivators, making them sit down on the spot to cultivate at this incredible opportunity. A month later, Wu Qingqiu and the others ignored everything as they cultivated at the Thunder Pavilion. They opened their eyes to find themselves stronger than the invincible sort of before. What did the array do? Everyone looked around with joy, Wu Qingqiu crying, "This doesn't feel like our home, like our entire world changed." Zhuo Fan had been obsessed with it for a century, but what did it do? It's incredible. Wu Randong stood up looking grave. The palace lord said that this array will connect two worlds, that they would combine at its activation. All this incredible spiritual energy we're enjoying comes from the other side. The place with the Devil Mountain Zhuo Fan mentioned? Yes. Wu Randong was grave. Wu Qingqiu nodded with an excited look. This is why Devil Mountain's disciples were all powerful. They had the best conditions. It's all thanks to Zhuo Fan that we get to enjoy the same treatment when he combines the two worlds. Wu Randong wasn't happy at all. I don't know for certain, but there has to be a good reason why the palace lord had us wait for the very last moment until he gave us the signal to activate the array. The two worlds might be one now, but we better go find the palace lord to help him out. Right, we first got to find him. But, Wu Qingqiu frowned, where do we start? Where do we go? Wu Randong considered, I had the disciples of the five lands spread out. With the worlds combining, there have to be common points that should show us the way. I hope so. Wu Qingqiu sighed, by the time we find the limit of that world, Brother Zhuo might be gone. A blue figure flew high in the sky, going at incredible speed. An angry shout came, damn coot traitor, stop right there. Whoosh, a golden flame startled the man in blue. Looking back, he threw an azure fire at the golden flame. Boom. The clash resulted in a grand explosion of flames. The mighty power shook the heavens and broke the earth. The sky sported black holes for thousands of miles. Even peak saints weren't capable of such destruction. Whoosh, the two separated from the clash. What are you doing, you crazy old man? Kunping cursed Dragon Ancestor. I've yet to pay you back from before. What did I do to you? Pay me what? For treason? Dragon Ancestor gnashed his teeth. If not for you selling Thunder Phoenix out, we wouldn't have been stuck in the mortal domain for so long. With all our powers, Humph, combine our strengths? You think that's enough against the Heavenly Sovereign? Kunping cut him off with a sneer. Ignorant fool, you have no idea how bad things were last time. You're only standing here whining, you big worm, because of Thunder Phoenix and my faking weakness trick. Dragon Ancestor blinked. Trick? What? That is what Thunder Phoenix did willingly. I never sold anyone out. Dragon Ancestor shook, baffled. What? Is he insane? Giving himself over to the Heavenly Sovereign? He wasn't insane but upright. To save everyone, his sacrifice was worth it. What the hell do you know? Kunping glared and sighed. Dragon Ancestor was utterly confused, his rage gone. A cold aura came over that snuffed out the remaining flames around. The two cried out, Cao, you're out? Haha, I am. I got tired of wandering the same North Sea. Now that the Heavenly Sovereign's barrier is gone, I'm free to stretch my legs. Don't mind me, duke it out, The space warped and a one-eyed old man appeared with a grin. Kunping sighed, Old dragon, Cao, allow me to explain what happened while we go find Zhuo Fan. He had the mortal domain removed because he believed us. He must have met with the Heavenly Sovereign. We must save him before the Heavenly Sovereign kills him, and all our suffering will be for naught. Kunping flew away. TCH, what suffering? Hiding on a mountain while we were stuck in our prison. Dragon Ancestor huffed, but still chose to follow. They had a common enemy and he took precedence over any betrayal. Cao shrugged as he joined them. They flew for 3 days and arrived at the limit of the mortal domain with the sacred domain. They entered the new world and Kunping shrieked while Dragon Ancestor roared. Whoosh, birds flew over and dragons growled as they came in joy. Greetings, Sir Kunping. Greetings, Dragon Ancestor. What about me? Cao felt sour being left out. Kunping snickered, Cao, don't mind it. This isn't the sea, so they aren't your people. Right, then let's go to the sea. Would Zhuo Fan go there though? Decimating Dragon Ancestor glanced at the spiritual beasts and dragons. Listen up, we're looking for a human called Zhuo Fan. Find him. One dragon hesitated. Ancestor, is he the same Zhuo Fan the Luo clan have as steward? He was a steward of a tiny clan in mortal domain. He looked to enjoy his spot too. Kunping nodded. Do you know where he is? The dragon bowed. Ancestor, Sirs, Steward Jua said he's your representative and worked with us to attack the sacred mountains. Oh, the punk knew to steal authority. First he let us rot, then he used our name? Preposterous. Dragon Ancestor raged. Where is that punk? I'll string him up and chop him to pieces. As the dragon started, he isn't Ancestor's representative? Curses, he played us. He had 2 sacred beasts and one calling himself Ancestor's inheritor, so we believed him. We even let them go to Dragonizing Pool. We'll go right away and execute those liars. What liars? You can't tell sacred beasts' aura from fakes? That inheritor is also an old dragon's disciple. Kunping glanced at Dragon Ancestor. Dragon Ancestor nodded. It must be Yi Lin. They are indeed under me. I was just being angry, but that doesn't mean you can just go wild on them. Try to keep your heads on your shoulders. Right, the dragon flinched and tensed. I never knew Ancestor likes to joke around. He almost scared me. Thank God I didn't try anything with them. You still haven't said where Zhuofan is. Take us there. Yes, just, the dragon hesitated. What now? I can only take you to the Luo clan, because we can't find Steward Zhua. Why? Because he's dead. What? The sacred beast cried out, with Kunping slumping. It's all over. Our efforts are for nothing. Chapter 1300, First Ending. Uncrowned Sovereign. Father. Elder brother. The Luo clan's leadership gathered in the main hall of their city and discussed. The sudden shouts had them looking towards the doors, now burst open by Gu Santong, Qiaoer and Yi Lin. Their auras clearly placed them at the saint stage. Ouyang Chongqing lit up. Yi Lin, you've been enjoying yourself with the dragons by the looks of it. I ought to take a trip to the Dragonizing Pool as well. Get back. Yi Lin pushed him away, rushing to Luo Yunhai. Clanhead, where is my elder brother? Why do all the dragons say that he's dead? Luo Yunhai sighed and patted his shoulder. Big brother Zhua has a glimmer of hope, but Shuanger and Miss Yu, they passed on to save Dad. Sword Child stepped up with a grave look. They leaned on a sovereign's path for a power boost and wrested Dad's weak soul from the heavenly sovereign. They, however, couldn't withstand a sovereign path's power and crumbled, soul and all. Yi Lin shook and sighed. Qiaoer cried, recalling the good times she had with Bali Yuyu. The closest to her were Bailey Jingtian and Bailey Yulei. The 3 had gone with Zhuofan to the sacred domain once their clan fell, but now one of them was no more. Bali Yulei saw her as his little sister, while Bailey Jingtian felt the pain of losing his relative. They had no hatred among the sadness, for this was Bali Yuyu's choice. Thunder Sword King, our revenge for Zhuofan is no longer important. Bailey Jingtian said, Frigid Rain Sword King is gone and I feel a piece of me missing. We need to live in the moment and have no regrets. Bailey Yulei nodded heavily. I don't know if Zhuofan's sovereign path had something to do with it when he entered the Emperor stage, but my eyes have opened up. I had spent a century obsessed with killing him, but forgetting all the people around me, my father, you. My hatred didn't change even as the Empire fell. Now that Frigid Rain Sword King is gone, I have come to see that while hatred blinded me those 100 years, I failed to realize how many things I lost. Thunder Sword King, let's go home. I want to live my life in peace along with my father. His Majesty is at Drifting Flower City. Bailey Yulei said, we will find him there. Bailey Jingtian started, how do you know? Zhuofan told me. Bailey Yulei muttered, he knew your desire, but since you helped him, he looked after your family regardless of your intentions. His Majesty hasn't become a prisoner, but is living safely in Tianyu. It was there where Zhuofan lived his quietest moments. He hoped that the past emperor would find peace as well. Bailey Jingtian felt ashamed. He did all this while I almost left father to be forgotten. That's why Zhuofan thinks of everything. He has his own path that brings people together, which makes up his power. Bailey Yulei smiled. Let's wait for Steward Zhua's return. We'll help him in this fight and then go see his Majesty. What do you say? Bailey Jingtian closed his eyes and nodded through tears. Get lost. Yi Lin was furious as he stormed outside. Who's shouting in the Luo clan? I am what of it? A middle-aged man in golden robes stood tall and majestic alongside 2 others. Gu Santong and Qiaoer knew them on the spot. Yi Lin was human and didn't know of Dragon Ancestor's human form, cursing instead, you got some nerve. Who are you to run wild in the Luo clan? Oh, you got to spread your wings, brat, and now you're teaching me? Dragon Ancestor started, smiling at his disciple. Gu Santong and Qiaoer pulled Yi Lin back. Are you mental? To dare to go after the 3 monsters? Kunping didn't care, looking around. The most pressing matter was to find Zhuofan. The dragon saints came as well and immediately kneeled. Ancestor, you're all right. We couldn't be more gratified to find you once more with us. Why, your master? Yilin cried out. Dragon ancestor glared. Brat, I'll deal with you later. Where's Zhuofan? Come out already. You can't be dead. Ancestor, a few days ago the dragon sovereign was butchered by 8 people. You have to set this right and get revenge for him. The old dragons lamented. Dragon ancestor waved their whining away. Since he's dead, that's that. Just go pick other dragons with some talent. Zhuofan is more important right now. Is he dead or not? The dragon saints were stumped. They rushed here the minute they heard their ancestor was back, hoping to get support. Only the ancestor cared not for them, wanting to know more about some human's life instead. Zhuofan must be ancestor's aide for sure. So they changed tactics. Ancestor taking revenge for the dragon sovereign or Steward Zhua is the same, because the same man killed them both. He's really dead? Dragon ancestor turned to Kunpeng. What now? The kid is dead and the sky will fall. Kunpeng shouted, listen well, the fate of the world rests on Zhuofan. Tell me exactly if he is dead or not. Did you see it happen? Seniors, this is what happened. Sword Child came forward and retold the events. The 3 seniors eased up. I see, that's why there's a glimmer of hope. How fortunate. Old man, he's but a ruined soul now with his strength robbed. It can't get worse than this. What hope are you talking about? Dragon ancestor asked. You all right there? What can a cripple do? Cripple? Humph, you'd never say that if you knew who he is. Him? Dragon ancestor raised an eyebrow. Isn't he a pawn in your schemes? Or is he some sovereign's reincarnation? Kunpeng said, pretty much. Old dragon, remember the uncrowned sovereign? Him? Dragon ancestor gasped. The heavenly sovereign's younger brother, the one who with the heavenly sovereign was called heavenly Daos exalted? That's Zhuofan? Why is he on the demonic path? Isn't the goal of all sovereigns the supreme stage? Kunpeng's eyes shone. Heaven sealing Cao and dragon ancestor thought. The union of 10 paths, the supreme stage. Was such a legend true? Senior, could you? The trio chatted back and forth when Luo Yunhai finally came forward with a smile and a bow. Kunpeng said, we're 3 sacred beasts, vaulting Kunpeng, decimating dragon ancestor and heaven sealing Cao. We guided Zhuofan once and came to see what happened to him. Sacred beasts? The same ones that can fight sovereigns? Luo Yunhai and everyone cheered. With sirs we can beat the 2 enemies. Kunpeng's face twitched. Win? One of them is the heavenly sovereign who fought all the others by himself. Us 3 are nothing. Stop dreaming. Our only hope rests with Zhuofan. But Zhuofan is only a broken soul, how can he? Dragon ancestor shook his head. Kunpeng sneered, didn't Sovereign Yun take the same ruined soul with his star path? By my reckoning he must be at the heavenly rebirth lake. There he will regain everything, including the ancient power closest to the heavenly sovereign. Chapter 1301 Heavenly Rebirth Lake. Whoosh. On a clear night, a falling star crossed the skies and fell in a bush. Once the light faded, it revealed a hazy human shape. Where? Zhuofan looked around at the vegetation and quiet scenery. It felt like paradise, with not a trace of dirt marring its beauty. In the center of the meadow was a clear lake. The perfect surface instilled peace in him. Zhuofan crouched and touched the water. A ripple spread through the clear lake and 2 people were reflected back. One of them was a young master in white robes, eminent and elegant. The other was cruel in his features. As they played chess, they all had calm gazes, having already known how this game would end. He knew who this was, the heavenly sovereign. Zhuofan gasped, what is this place? The lake can monitor the heavenly sovereign? And he can't sense it? What is going on? The sovereigns have sharp senses. They're connected to the world and will sense anyone looking at them. Little brother, you lose again. The heavenly sovereign's reflection placed one last piece and declared to the other, this is your 99th round without a single win. Isn't this enough? Younger brother? Did the heavenly sovereign have a younger brother? Didn't he call me like that as well? How come there's another? Or does he indulge in calling everyone that? You call yourself a brother when you're killing the other with your bare hands? Zhuofan watched on. The man in white smirked, shaking his hand. I accept my meager skill and defeat. What meager? Reaching my stage and playing chess is a matter of skill? The heavenly sovereign stood up. I play for the world, for the cosmos, enacting my path. We both comprehend the heavenly Taos and I have reached the sovereign stage with it. Another 8 have achieved their path as well. As the heavenly Taos sovereign, I'll be honest. I can feel the world's laws and there can only be 10 sovereigns. When will you achieve your path and take the last spot? The man in white said, when it comes, it comes. Humph, when it comes. Your path is corrupted from all the emotions and will never succeed. To achieve your path, you need to be like me and cast out all interferences. Oh, elder brother, you're too dogmatic. The man in white stood with a smile. 9 serenities and the others have achieved their path despite all emotions, haven't they? The sovereign stage has nothing to do with your emotions, ha. Enough of your fake smiles. The heavenly sovereign glared and held his head high. Heaven is supreme while the earth is below. The heavenly Taos are ultimate. We comprehend the heavenly Taos and must be heartless. All the others comprehended human paths. Humans live on the ground, beneath the heavenly Taos. The difficulty is like heaven and earth. We are chosen by the world to grasp the heavenly Taos. Don't talk to me about those lowly sovereigns. The man in white was solemn. Elder brother's void path is mighty, but you mustn't deny the others' paths. If the world were heartless, why would it contain all in creation? This proves it's the people that do not understand the world's love and emotions. The heavenly Taos are not heartless, for that wouldn't be the heavenly Taos. Humph, contain all creation? In your dreams. The heavenly sovereign mocked. First comes the world and then everything else. The world is everlasting while everything else isn't. That means the world will always be here, operating by its own laws, while the beings within are merely props on stage. All beings depend on the world while it is independent. The world is heartless, so stop trying to mingle the heavenly Taos with humanity. This is why you're stuck in reaching your path. The man in white stiffened. And what if heaven has emotion? Impossible. I'm saying if. Heaven with emotion means degeneracy. A world with emotions makes it no different from everything mundane and secular, unable to last forever. The heavenly sovereign spoke with conviction. One last reminder, there's only one sovereign spot left. Better hurry up. The heavenly sovereign left in a huff. The man in white hesitated. Zhuofan frowned. The heavenly sovereign is my nemesis, but he has a point. The world is heartless. Choosing the heavenly Taos yet still sticking to emotions will only drag you down. But there's someone with the hope of becoming sovereign still around? To be regarded by the heavenly sovereign too. Speaking of, is the little brother kin or is he a stepbrother? It has to be kin. If he started saying younger brother left and right like he did with me, he'd have been sucked dry by now. Zhuofan shook his head. What were they hinting at? What a strange way of talking. What do you mean one spot left? Haven't all the spots been taken? You also believed the heavenly sovereign's words? An aged voice came from behind. Zhuofan flinched and saw a man covered in black with a gray beard approaching. Zhuofan bowed at once, figuring the guy had to be some mighty expert coming in this mystery place. The old man patted his shoulder to stop him, crouching by his side. Youngster, there's no need for that. We're all mere soul remnants that could vanish any day now. What does courtesy do for us at this point? Let's just see what the heavenly sovereign is up to, since that's the only thing we can do, ha. Senior, you have a broad perspective, ha. Zhuofan's face twitched, sitting by the lake and watching on while his mind was abuzz. Who is this guy? He's quite chatty too. He'd rather watch someone else's drama than look after his vanishing soul. I guess all dying people are chatty. Oh, where am I anyway? Why can I see the heavenly sovereign's matters? Zhuofan cupped his hands. Senior, what is this place? Why is the heavenly sovereign's family drama conveyed? You don't know? The man blinked. Zhuofan shrugged. I just got here without knowing. A friend brought me. Oh, I see. You must have some great fortune. This is not a place where anyone can just waltz in. Just by coming here you have a high chance of being reborn so long as you let go of one thing. What? Your memories, emotions, and everything else. The old man's eyes shone. This is the heavenly rebirth lake, offering hope for all broken souls that they might be reborn. Any and all that succeeded left behind everything so that they could go on, broken souls included. The heavenly rebirth lake? Zhuofan looked around the quiet place, shouting, the rebirth sovereign's seat of enlightenment? Are you him, senior? Haha, wrong. I'm just another broken soul. The old man smiled. The rebirth sovereign doesn't usually come here. All broken souls with deep feelings can leave the past and everything behind to be reborn. No sovereign intervention required. It is our fortune. Zhuofan turned to the giddy old man staring at the lake. Since that's all it takes, what are you still doing here? You also mentioned vanishing. Can't you be reborn? Did you not hear me? Rebirthing comes with a condition, to leave everything behind. Some things are more important than my life and I would rather vanish than be reborn. Zhuofan gave him a long look. Zhuofan's heart stirred, cupping his hands. People would rather be destroyed from this world than ever let go of some memories. Few were those that held something else more precious than their lives. Fewer still those he met, worthy of respect. Zhuofan rose from his gesture and the old man showed a nasty grin. Besides, getting to see people's drama is quite fun, better than the mundane world. Plop. Zhuofan almost fell in the lake, his face twitching. Curses, it's all because he's dying for gossip. Here I was thinking you're worthy of respect. Ugh, my poor heart. Chapter 1302 Previous Life. Look, something's coming up. Don't miss it. The old man waved in excitement, looking like some perv peeking at the girls' showers with his wretched grin. Zhuofan rolled his eyes, though he paid attention. Knowledge was power. Regardless of how he would face this powerful enemy, the more he learned, the better. Zhuofan's eyes widened as he stared at the lake. That man in white again? Are these his memories? The old man nodded. As the heavenly sovereign's younger brother who formed a sovereign path, he should be a half-sovereign. Even he would choose to be reborn? Just how cruel was that ancient war? He could imagine why this great younger brother died. A situation in which not even the heavenly sovereign could protect him had to be the Great War. Zhuofan watched the man in white in a cave having lonely eyes. A familiar voice was heard. Must you do this? That voice? Zhuofan shuddered. The Nether Sovereign? He's involved? The old man grinned. In the water, the man in white hesitated but his voice was firm. I can't refute elder brother's words. He might be right. The heavenly Daos are heartless while mine is too emotional, preventing me from reaching the sovereign stage. While both of you comprehended the heavenly Daos, he did it through the heartless void path. As for you, the emotional heavenly Daos. Talking of previous and current heaven is the same, regardless of right and wrong, the comprehension is of different aspects. If you must insist on separating them, his heavenly Daos were before humanity, while yours is after it. From how I see it, your heavenly Daos is more fitting with humanity to reach the supreme Dao stage above the sovereign stage. The Nether Sovereign spoke. The man in white sighed. Why mention that when I can't even reach the sovereign stage? Nether Sovereign, did you do what I asked? I did. The Nether Sovereign sighed, and with a wave, a black sculpture of a woman appeared. This is made of the Nether Sea's crystal formed for 10,000 years for millions of lost souls' grievances. As your emotions are tied to the heavenly Daos, these grievances are too few to seal it. The man in white nodded. Thank you. He made a sign. Wait. The Nether Sovereign spoke up, drawing the man in white's attention. The heavenly sovereign is your elder brother, and ever since he reached the sovereign stage with the void path, we all know his character. By sealing all your emotions in this sculpture, won't that ascertain our stance with each other? The man in white sighed. Time will tell. He made the sign again and the space shook. A multicolored light flew out of him and into the sculpture. 5 colors? Zhuofan gasped. Brothers indeed, with the sovereign path having 7 colors, he reached 5 already. He's not just a half-sovereign but a mere step from the sovereign stage. But why didn't he become the 10th sovereign in the end? He forsook all emotions from the heavenly Daos. The old man shook his head. The man in white turned stiff and cold after that, looking at the Nether Sovereign with icy eyes. Thanks? So our friendship ends here. The Nether Sovereign sighed and left. The man in white was now void of any emotion, removing all semblance of his humanity, so that he could now cultivate the heartless heavenly Daos. 3 months later he still couldn't reach the sovereign stage. He had great talent, yet he still couldn't do it. In his greatest confusion, his heart stirred, restless for him to do something. So he followed his heart and left cultivation, returning to where he sealed his emotions in that cave. You're back. A soft voice reached him as an incredible woman stood at the entrance of the cave with a big smile. The man in white shuddered. Zhuofan gasped. Isn't that the sealed sculpture? Why is it a human? The man in white thought the same, his heart frantic. What trick did the Nether Sovereign pull? Didn't he say that the woman's sculpture is a vessel? Why is it human? Was it made after her? The woman walked over and explained everything, while he had no intention of pushing her away. This sculpture was filled with regrets and sorrows, but when he poured all his heavenly Daos cultivation inside, it nurtured true emotion. The seal couldn't contain it either, resolving all the negative emotions and turning them into pure emotions. But what was this item with emotion? Human or demon? She could speak and had the white man's emotions as her foundation. He was the first to sense her life, while the woman kept staying by his side. He couldn't tolerate this as he cultivated the heartless heavenly Daos now, breaking away from all emotions. However, the emotions that the woman had came from him. He couldn't find it in himself to drive the woman away. It was like they were always connected. One thing led to another and the man in white got used to her as the days passed, becoming her master. Due to his cultivation residing within her, she was fast in cultivating. But she was not human, just a spirit formed from emotions. After a few years she reached saint stage. The man's heartless heavenly Daos were now tainted with feelings of love for the woman. The woman also loved him beyond measure. They were a match made in heaven, leading to the re-establishment his old friendship with the Nether Sovereign and the others as well. The Nether Sovereign showed a bright smile. The Nether Sovereign is so vile. Zhuofan clicked his tongue. Did he plan for the woman to stir his heart? Wasn't she but a sealed vessel from the start? Why not just make a box? The old man smirked. Isn't it great the young man recovered? Recovered? He was supposed to reach the sovereign stage, but didn't the Nether Sovereign delay him? Zhuofan sneered. Now I know why he was never among the 10 sovereigns, ha. The old man shook his head. He didn't reach it because his path had regret, not because his path was wrong. After cutting himself of all emotions, wasn't he stuck all the same? Kid, don't you have anyone you love? I do. What will you pick, her or the sovereign stage? Zhuofan smiled. Her? Why? I go where my heart is. Zhuofan nodded at the man in white in the reflection. By clashing with your heart, you're blocking any chance at reaching the sovereign stage. The heavenly sovereign's younger brother only strayed further when he abandoned all emotion. The old man nodded. You do understand. Yeah, and I seem to be in the same situation as him, ha. Forget her. A cold tone had Zhuofan jumping in fright. He looked back to see the heavenly sovereign's icy face staring at the man in white. I thought you'd be a sovereign when I came out of seclusion, but not only do you still have emotion, you even have a woman. How can you grasp the heavenly Daos? The man in white rebutted. It doesn't matter. With elder brother shocking the world is enough. I don't need to be a sovereign as well. I don't care about you or the glory of my clan. I am me, the heavenly sovereign, wielder of the void path. The heavenly sovereign's tone was ever cold. I urged you to be a sovereign out of instinct. Just like rearing a pet. Humans say animals have feelings, but are they as complex? Everything follows the heavenly Daos, reproducing. I am the same. As my younger brother, I hoped we'd grasp the heavenly Daos together and grow beyond human condition instead of making me take pity on you. The man in white raised an eyebrow. Pity? Elder brother, I thought you're heartless. Yes, pity is speaking too highly. What I mean is not to make me despise you like every other bug. The heavenly sovereign's eyes shone with bloodthirst. If you don't want to cut them off, I'll kill that woman for you. Chapter 1303 Decaying Heavenly Tao. The quiet lake reflected the ancient heavenly sovereign's cold gaze. Zhuofan sighed. The heavenly sovereign must be a bachelor, unable to accept others getting together. He's even butting in his younger brother's happiness. And he calls himself heartless. This is jealousy at play and it's obvious. That's not heartless but bitter. You're wrong there. The heavenly sovereign has the void path, a heart that can never be infected by anything. He's only following his Tao heart of heaven being supreme and earth below. He believes that his younger brother should follow his footsteps. Any deviation from this is seen as an obstacle that needs to be removed. The old man smirked. Let's leave the chatter and keep watching. Zhuofan nodded and returned to the lake. The man in white was in the same cave. He sealed his emotions along with 2 people. The mood was heavy. The man in white looked at the woman with coldness. We are through, finished? Why? The woman's eyes shook. The man in white said, I want to reach the sovereign stage and you're in the way. The heavenly Daos are heartless and I don't want to have anything to do with you. You think it's that easy? I'm born of your true feelings. I can sense what your heart is feeling. I know you do, that's why I came to cut it off in person. The man in white took a deep breath. Before her shocked eyes, he shook and a 5-colored glow flew out. Zhuofan cried out, an incomplete sovereign path? The glow exploded and scattered, leaving behind a faint mist. The man in white spewed blood, his face pale. His eyes grew dim like a walking corpse. He then left the woman behind, taking on an aura of death and solitude that decayed the forest he was around. The grass and trees, birds and insects all died. There was no life around. The woman teared up, her lips trembling. How ruthless. Teardrops traced down as she clenched her fists. You went as far as removing the core of your emotions just to get rid of me. But didn't you say it's for forming a sovereign path? By removing the core of your emotions you're no longer human. How can you attain sovereignty now? The man in white dragged his weary figure out of the cave, never sparing her a glance. Zhuofan's heart was filled with sadness. Senior, what's this core of emotions? Why can't you attain your path by cutting it out? Every human is born with it, a part of them. The old man looked despondent. Humans have 3 relationships: loyalty, filial piety, and siblinghood. Then also 5 virtues: benevolence, wisdom, courtesy, honesty, and trust. These stand at the core of the human condition. They serve as a foundation for cultivators to gain enlightenment, the basics of their humanity, the human path. But those aren't important, for humans have emotions at their core. It's something no other creature, not even spiritual beasts, possesses. Regardless of good and evil, human cultivators can't ever escape their emotions. Even demonic cultivators, they learn through the hate, regret, jealousy, and envy. While the heavenly sovereign, he became empty, removing his emotional center to become heartless. When one removes even that, they can't even be called heartless or emotionless. But he just ripped it out of himself, just like a eunuch without his bits. It's impossible for him to achieve his path. For achieving a path means understanding it to perfection. How can he do that when he is incomplete? The heavenly sovereign would have long done this if that was all it took to do it too. Zhuofan nodded, looking at the lone and proud figure with a sigh. He knew it was hard to remove his love completely, so he came to this cruel solution in removing his emotion center, just so the heavenly sovereign wouldn't touch her. It's clearly out of supreme emotion that he chose to be dead inside. This makes it even more emotional. Why does this feel familiar? It feels like I've gone through this before? Oh really? Then I'll wait for you to reincarnate to put your memories in here so I can have my boredom alleviated, even if for a couple of days. Haha. The old man grinned. Zhuofan rolled his eyes, watching on. The woman watched him go, heartbroken. She went back into the cave with a stiff face and empty eyes. She just sat there for months. A bird's chirp was heard in this dead land as it landed on a wilted branch where another bird lay. The woman's heart shook and held the dead bird. In a flash of pink, the dead bird was revived. The 2 birds once again flew together. The woman closed her eyes in realization. A month passed and a prismatic glow covered the skies as a pink aura shone around the cave and its surroundings, filling the dead lands with warmth. Life sprouted anew, with birds singing and insects buzzing. The woman walked out of the cave and smiled as a lonely tear fell on her hand. This is the last time I shed tears for you. From now on I will rule over the world's emotions. I hope that one day your emotion center can be recovered. She waved and the teardrop vanished in the sky. Zhuofan said, she's the emotion sovereign? Was that her seat of enlightenment, the cave of emotion? Yes, the man used his emotions as a base to create the emotion sovereign without realizing it, but she was born out of the emotions of all living things. When she became a sovereign, she had already gotten over their little love. Her last tears signified the supreme emotion the man left in her. But now she had no use for it. The old man nodded with a heavy look. The tear could have helped the man regain his emotion center, but Zhuofan shuddered, seeing as the tear arrived at a wide courtyard, entering a room. There sat the man in white, but now he was enveloped in black energy, eerie and deadly. The tear was unaware of the danger, wanting to restore his emotions as it went for him. Alas, the black energy lashed out and shattered it into pink mist, vanishing in the wind. What was that? The heavenly sovereign happened to arrive before the room just as the pink mist flew into the heavens. Feeling confused, younger brother has been in there for months yet still couldn't achieve his path while the woman earned the last spot. Humph, what a disgrace. Sword Heart, go in there and see why he's still in seclusion. Yes. Sword Heart stepped in and blew the door away, but then the black energy flooded through the gap. Sword Heart waved his sleeves, sending 2 sword waves at it, but they just dissipated like nothing on contact. How is this possible? Sword Heart gasped, with the heavenly sovereign also looking startled. Calm him down. I want to know what's going on. Yes. Sword Heart shouted again and used his path. A prismatic glow shined, pressing back the black energy for a while. In the end, the black energy dissolved the glow, inch by inch, eating it away. The 2 stared in confusion, but Zhuofan cried, that's like my apocalyptic thunder flame. Of course, because it's almost on the same level. The old man sighed, it's just that not a single being can wield these powers, not even the Heavenly Sovereign? Chapter 1304 'Cause the dreadful black energy was like a raging beast of gluttony, that not even a sovereign path could stop as it forced Sword Heart back. The Heavenly Sovereign was amazed. A huge eye appeared in the sky, shining golden rings in its pupil. It released a ripple and the room was encased in a sealed space, blocking the black energy from reaching out. Divine Eye of the void domain. The Heavenly Sovereign walked closer with a panicked Sword Heart, observing through the barrier the roaming black energy. The man in white sat there and meditated still, with a face warped from pain. Above him, the black energy glowed in an eerie way. Sword Heart gasped, "What on earth is happening? The 10 sovereigns have been set, yet he can still achieve his path? What of it? When a sovereign is born, another must fall. Anyway, I came here to say that I'll help him kill one and empty a spot for him. But it doesn't look like I'm needed." The Heavenly Sovereign had a sinister smirk as he nodded in appreciation of his younger brother's condition. Sword Heart was filled with fear. Yeah, this power alone is enough to even push me back despite being below a sovereign. Just what path did he discover? What indeed? The Heavenly Sovereign was curious. His emotion center is gone? It is? How did he form his path then? That's very strange. He formed a sovereign path in his broken state, what he couldn't do when he was fine. The Heavenly Sovereign's heart was filled with questions. Bang! The space shook hard as the black energy grew wilder and wilder like a savage beast. The Heavenly Sovereign shook, his face twitching. "You're kidding me? Not even my void path can stop it? Oh, what? He has so much power to fight my path, one that no other sovereign can? Maybe, what? He isn't forming a sovereign path." The Heavenly Sovereign's voice shook, looking excited. Sword Heart was puzzled. What else could it be then? Isn't he a half-sovereign? The Heavenly Sovereign grinned. "Sword Heart, I told you of my recent enlightenment, of the realm beyond the sovereign stage, the supreme stage. I can feel its existence but can't reach it, while my younger brother? Impossible. Reach supreme while bypassing the sovereign stage? Why not? Each of us has a different situation that makes everything possible." The Heavenly Sovereign's red eyes shook with glee. Younger brother's cultivation was an emotional heavenly Daos, hard to perfect. But now he broke his emotion center. His whole is filled with the heavenly Daos, reaching above the sovereign stage, achieving the supreme stage. This is called a blessing in disguise. This is his situation because we don't have the emotional heavenly Daos and won't reach his insights by breaking our emotion center. Extreme Yin brings about extreme Yang. This is his path apart from ours. Sword Heart nodded. Extreme Yin brings extreme Yang so that the worlds may regain balance. So when the emotional heavenly Daos has its emotions broken, it goes beyond the sovereign path. Then now we will have a supreme, someone beyond the 10 sovereigns? 10 sovereigns? The Heavenly Sovereign sneered. The sovereign stage is nothing before the supreme stage. Let me tell you from my insight, that the sovereign stage means grasping the world's paths and using the world laws. While a supreme can grasp the world, destroy or create it. Sovereigns are bugs to them, killed with but a thought. Sword Heart gasped, his heart sinking. It was said supreme gods were nothing but a vague concept in humanity, but now they might be true. Sword Heart turned to the man in white, hesitating. Bam! Divine Eye of the Void's barrier shook once more against the black energy and broke apart. The black energy surged, shooting for the two to swallow them. They fell back at once, with the Heavenly Sovereign smiling in excitement. Since even the world can't stand humanity's disruption, destroying the world is all within its will. We'll follow the path of destruction and reach the supreme path. Sword Heart nodded. How do we destroy it and remove humanity? Did you see the power he scattered? Yes, very shocking. That's a budding supreme's power. Heavenly Sovereign paced. No one has that kind of power in this world and no one knows how to achieve it. Even younger brother is a mere dabbler. They are the only ones who can match a sovereign stage's power. Who? The 5 great sacred beasts. Them? They were born from an ancient world and carry with them ancient world powers, equal to sovereigns while also engendering an opposite. With them engendering the other, they can be combined. Just think, what could such a fusion of 5 sovereign powers create? Supreme stage power? Yes, Sword Heart, go gather those beasts' powers, but don't let them find out. I want to see if I can truly create such a destructive power. The Heavenly Sovereign's eyes twinkled, his smile icy. Chapter 1305, Ancient Great War. The calm lake surface rippled, whisking away the Heavenly Sovereign's evil grin. Zhuofan nodded. That's why the Heavenly Sovereign is so obsessed with destroying the world. His younger brother gave him that idea. The supreme path is a path of destruction. You can say that, but maybe it's only because of the Heavenly Sovereign's belief. Belief? He is a firm belief that the Heavenly Daos are ultimate. He looks down on the human path just like a lofty emperor does with his subjects. The old man nodded. Even so, he never entertained the thought of destroying the world until now. No matter how much you loathe someone, would you just kill him over nothing? The Heavenly Sovereign isn't a lunatic, but ever since he saw his younger brother, it was like he was given instruction to flourish the Heavenly Daos by destroying humanity. This idea, neither good nor evil, got implanted so deep in his mind that it led to the following disaster. Zhuofan gave him a long look. Neither good nor evil? Senior, you believe destroying the world is a good thing? I'm unsure. All I know is that its end would come sooner or later, just that it wouldn't be the Heavenly Sovereign but someone or something else. Why else would there be a path of destruction in this world? Zhuofan, you find destruction evil, due to your humanity or from being alive, but as a great path cultivator putting aside your human origins, do you believe this world would be tainted by humans? The old man stared at Zhuofan with a deep gaze. Zhuofan shuddered, lowering his head in thought. As a human demonic cultivator, and I know how black humanity can become as I delve deeper in the matters of the heart. Destruction might be the just way for the world. Maybe the Heavenly Sovereign is heaven's envoy and the sovereigns stopping him are defying heaven's will. The old man had a grim look, struggling with his own matters. Senior. Zhuofan turned to him. I want to keep looking how the Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother chooses. The old man nodded, as you should, for this is what you came for. The old man waved and the lake reflected a new image. The old man said, ever since the younger brother gave up on forming the apocalyptic path, his heart was in a bind. He ventured out to train and look for answers. This trek took him 50 years, a time in which his feet carried him throughout sacred domain. Despite not being a sovereign, as he touched upon the power of the supreme stage, he wasn't any weaker than one. He was in fact superior to child sovereign, which is why he earned the name the uncrowned sovereign, with the people calling the brothers the Heavenly Daos dignitaries. Elder brother, where are you? The young brother returned home to find the Heavenly Sovereign missing. He sensed something at the back of the mountain and went there to break its barrier with a mere tap. He witnessed flames everywhere unleashing incredible power. The Heavenly Sovereign glanced over. It's far from the supreme path, but he retained the trait of destroying everything. Sword Heart's peak sword barrier was blown away like nothing. It would have been so much better if you formed your path. What are you doing here? The man in white stared coldly at the familiar power. Thunder Phoenix's berserk purple lightning, Kunping's chaos flame. Why are the 5 great sacred beasts' powers here? The Heavenly Sovereign smiled, only focusing on the wild energy. Sword Heart had no time to pay attention, weaving through gestures as he stared at the 5-colored swirling energy in the center to refine it. A black flame lashed out from them, with a dreadful aura that made the Heavenly Sovereign and his brother pale. Apocalyptic thunder flame? Zhuofan's eyes shook and the elder shouted, the power of destruction? The Heavenly Sovereign looked on with excitement. I knew the 5 powers could unleash the same destructive force. By refining them, I can understand the path of destruction. Then I can purge the filth from this world and remake it anew. Ha! Bam! A sudden explosion echoed out and the black flames scattered. The 5 powers broke apart and entered the nearby mountain. Sword Heart grimaced and coughed blood. When dust settled, before them were 5 6th-grade sacred weapons of dazzling colors. They're the 5 divine swords that quelled the mortal domain. Zhuofan sighed. They were actually failures made by the Heavenly Sovereign trying to combine the 5 powers. The Heavenly Sovereign looked hard. Sword Heart apologized. Heavenly Sovereign, I've given my all but the powers are hard to fuse. No, they did fuse but they are too opposite to stabilize. There has to be a way to enhance their engendering traits. The Heavenly Sovereign sighed and looked in the distance. The man in white said, you want the destructive power? Yes, didn't you say to find it ourselves? The Heavenly Sovereign said, as the Heavenly Daos emissary, I pass its judgment. You don't want to destroy the world and assume your duty as a Heavenly Daos cultivator, but I do. Sword Heart, you've grown close to the 5 great sacred beasts over the years to get their powers. Now who among them can be used? Heaven Sealing Cao is simple. He helped me collect the powers of the other 4. No, simple people won't do this. I don't want just one of their powers but all of them. You want to take their powers? Sword Heart gasped. The Heaven Sovereign nodded. These powers come from the sacred beasts. You used your sword to fuse them, but it's not right, for it's just an object. So I will take their powers into myself to refine it? You mustn't. It will backfire and eat you alive. It matters not. Everything is for the heavenly Taos. Besides, I'm not so reckless as to take them all at once. The Heavenly Sovereign grinned and asked, Sword Heart, any other candidates besides Cao? Sword Heart nodded. Qilin is violent and Dragon Ancestor's heart burns hot. Only vaulting Kunping had been affected by humanity and grew shrewd. Him. Be it 9 serenities comprehending the demonic path or my void path, we all understand that the simpler the people, the more in tune to heavenly Taos they are and harder to create a disaster. The old fowl thinks of himself as mighty clever, making him the perfect target. He'll have the 5 great sacred beasts clash among each other. With an evil grin, the Heavenly Sovereign turned to his younger brother. You won't make it harder for us, will you? The man in white left. I told you. What you do is not my problem. His emotion center is broken indeed, not caring about grudges. The past him would've gone against us, not because of his emotional heavenly Taos, but his human side. He wouldn't let the world be destroyed. Alas, without his emotion center he's no longer human, ignoring all that happens in the end. Haha. The Heavenly Sovereign grinned. It's for the best, not butting in. I can trust him as well. Sword Heart, go ask for Kunping to come see me. Sword Heart left. The Heavenly Sovereign agreed to help Kunping become a divine beast, and the latter would help with picking off the sacred beasts one by one. Kunping followed his instructions like he was possessed. The first to fall was the clueless Sundering Thunder Phoenix. He fooled her to come to a valley where the 2 sovereigns and sacred beast killed her. The deadly purple lightning became the Heavenly Sovereign's eye power. Kunping planned on continuing, but his betrayal leaked and he had to face off against the 3 remaining sacred beasts. The Heavenly Sovereign found Kunping useless and planned on silencing him, but first came to take his power. However, he didn't make it as the Emotion Sovereign and the other sovereigns came to thwart him. Kunping had no choice but to expose the Heavenly Sovereign's plan to them all, that of destroying the world. Humanity and Heavenly Taos conflict degenerated into the ancient Great War. The Heavenly Sovereign wanted it done in secret, but with his plan in the open, he went all out to fight against the 8 sovereigns. As for the 4 sacred beasts, due to the world being at stake, they joined with the 8 sovereigns to stop the Heavenly Sovereign. Kunping, as the traitor, was not trusted, but because of the common enemy, the Nether Sovereign and Emotion Sovereign vouched for him, allowing him to join. Chapter 1306, Mortal Domain's Creation. Bam. The Heavenly Sovereign kicked the door open and stormed inside where his little brother meditated. The latter noticed who it was and spoke. Why have you barged into my cultivation chambers? Didn't your emotion center recover? The Heavenly Sovereign squinted. The man in white said, You're the Heavenly Sovereign, elder brother. You know very well it's a grueling task to restore an emotion center. True. The Heavenly Sovereign didn't drop it. Did you leak my plan? The man in white gave a taunting look. It's not my problem what you do. Now if that's all, leave. I want to meditate. The younger brother closed his eyes. Heavenly Sovereign, your brother cares nothing about anything. It couldn't be him meddling. Sword Heart spoke as he watched the man in white. The Heavenly Sovereign nodded after a pause, but his doubts never left. Hardly anyone knew about this. If he didn't leak it, then who did? Is it? The Heavenly Sovereign squinted at Sword Heart. Sword Heart, you're my most trusted aide. You've worked hard these decades to get the 5 powers. I also heard you're close to Cao. Heavenly Sovereign, what are you implying? You can't be doubting me? Ha, of course not. I could never suspect you. The leak must have come from Kunping, the most conniving of the beasts. As king of spiritual beasts, he must have a few loose tongues working under him. The Heavenly Sovereign patted his shoulder with a grin, but his eyes were cold. It's nothing much either way, just a few beasts and some human sovereigns. Only, there's one beast I'm wary of and I want you to bring me his head, just in case. Sword Heart's heart shook. Who? Heaven sealing Cao? What, why him? He did seal my divine eye of the void once. If that happens while I'm at odds with the other experts, it will lead to serious consequences. Sword Heart rushed to explain. Heavenly Sovereign, you're too modest. That was 1,000 years ago when you were a half-sovereign. Now that you're aware of the sovereign stage. He's nothing, Sword Heart, just in case. The Heavenly Sovereign glanced at him, his tone firm. The Heavenly Taos sanctity is at stake. It can never fall in the hands of those human fools. You've never questioned my orders. So why now? Is that hesitation or unwillingness? Swordheart's brow shook and he nodded in the end. I'll go. The Heavenly Sovereign grinned and the man in white sighed. Swordheart has been by your side for so long, why must you be hard on him? I'm not, just making him break all ties with the beasts. On the eve of war, I won't stand for any unknowns on my side. It's hard to hide from a sneak attack, especially those sly human sovereigns. Heaven knows what they might pull. Yeah, elder brother is strong, but you can't take on everyone. With enough numbers and a good plan, even you might lose. Ah, so you'll help me? No, I don't care about anything happening beyond these doors, including what happens to you. The man in white closed his eyes. In the off chance that the heavenly Taoists do decay, the void path will be lost. Not that it matters, since heavenly Tao cultivators like us don't care about our weakling relatives. The heavenly sovereign squinted as he left. Yeah, a weakling younger brother with no emotion center is not reliable at all. But I do not need to rely on anyone, for I am the heavenly sovereign. The heavenly sovereign huffed and vanished, leaving the man in white with an eerie grin. A month later, Swordheart was back, bloodied and missing his left arm. The spiritual beast spread news that heaven-sealing Cao's left eye was wounded by Swordheart. This only worked to further the animosity between the heavenly sovereign and the spiritual beasts. Heavenly sovereign, I couldn't kill him, only ruin an eye. His sealing can't recover and won't be a threat to you. Swordheart panted hard, looking pale. The heavenly sovereign beamed. Ah, well done. Though it didn't matter if you couldn't either, for he can't do anything to me. Get better, for in 3 months we go to war. The heavenly sovereign patted his shoulder and felt like he was on top of the world. Zhuofan sighed. Swordheart is so loyal, knowing it was only the heavenly sovereign's test, yet still fought until he lost an arm. I finally know why Cao lost his eye, all because of the heavenly sovereign's suspicion of Swordheart. Swordheart has the sword path. The sword is the king of weapons in the hands of rulers who value loyalty above all. The old man explained, of humanity's 3 bonds, loyalty, filial piety and siblinghood, Swordheart's sword path holds them at the highest regard. Zhuofan nodded. So he's human? Half. Why half? Because the sword path is part of humanity while a sword is not. It was the only reason the heavenly sovereign accepted him and trusted him. The old man pointed at the lake. Keep watching. Zhuofan turned to the lake and saw the heavenly sovereign and Swordheart go to war 3 months later. They didn't get far, hearing explosions behind, with his clan's grounds leveled as his kin perished. He turned back to find no one remaining, not even his younger brother. Even the imparting stone in his room was gone. The heavenly sovereign gnashed his teeth. Damn bastard, he knew I had a secret imparting stone and fled with it when I wasn't around. Heavenly sovereign, what happened? Sword sovereign asked. The heavenly sovereign's lip shook, his eyes red. The records for divine eye of the void and purple lightning gold eye I left behind in case of my fall so that someone would pick up the work of heavenly Taoists are gone. To think, heavenly sovereign, why did you think you'd lose? Aren't you confident in this war? It's not like you. It's because, the heavenly sovereign was about to answer when he exclaimed, I was played. That damn brat should have no emotions, no loyalty, and couldn't care less of the world, so why did he scheme against me? Heavenly sovereign, you mean your younger brother? Yes, he started spouting crap that day and I got fooled into leaving an exit. He did it on purpose. The heavenly sovereign squinted and gnashed his teeth. Did his emotional heavenly Taoist recover, and does he want me to fail in destroying the world? What do we do now? We can't let them get their hands on the imparting stone. They will learn my ultimate skill and make winning impossible. The heavenly sovereign clenched his fists, his eyes glowing golden. A huge eye appeared in the sky, scouring the earth. 3 fleeing sacred beasts entered its vision. Found you. The heavenly sovereign pulled Swordheart and crossed thousands of miles in an instant, reaching Qilin and blocking him. Damn beast, where do you think you're running? Void paths blink? Qilin gasped and fled in another direction, just as Swordheart waved and sent a scarlet sword wave. Feeling terror, Qilin shouted, What sword is this? Soaring sword. Swordheart's eyes glinted. It's the sword made with your power against it. You can't take it. Whooshed ah. Blood flowed as Qilin's hard hide couldn't block the sharp sword wave, cutting off his leg and making him stagger to the ground. The heavenly sovereign smirked, using the divine eye of the void and purple lightning gold eye. A purple cover fell and boomed as it covered the land for thousands of miles and made it vanish. Humph, hand over the imparting stone or die here. The heavenly sovereign pulled Sword Heart and vanished to block the dragon ancestor this time. Dragon ancestor unleashed his decimating golden flame, but the decimating sword sucked the flames and dragon ancestor fell wounded. With another purple flash, another part of the land was carved. When the heavenly sovereign went after Kunpeng, "Where is that fool? Where's he hiding? Heavenly sovereign, that oversized bird is too fast and we lost him. No one can escape my heavenly Daos eye." The heavenly sovereign's right eye shone in 12 golden halos, vaulting Kunpeng. "You can run but you can't hide. You can't escape my heavenly eye. Divine eye of the void 12th stage true world." A huge golden eye shone in the sky and glinted as it sent powerful fluctuations in every direction for miles, thousands of miles, billions in fact. With one final push, a large chunk of the sacred domain up and vanished. With the fall of the barrier, the mortal domain was born. Vaulting Kunpeng, hiding in All Beast Mountain range, felt the pressure above and sighed, "This is the heavenly sovereign's power." His younger brother knew him best. There was no chance of us beating him even together. Chapter 1307 Path is one. Heavenly Sovereign, he's now trapped behind the barrier. He won't escape. Ignore him. So long as he's trapped, he can't be a threat to me. The Heavenly Sovereign looked heavily at Sword Heart. "We'll now go to war with the old fools of the human path. Let's deal with them and then find that heartless younger brother of mine, Humph." The Heavenly Sovereign vanished and Sword Heart went after him. An hour later, on a flat expanse with no man in sight for miles and miles, 10 figures waited. The Heavenly Sovereign arrived, ignoring all but the man in white. "Younger brother, I thought your emotion center was broken and you don't care about anything. How come you still side with humanity? Emotions might be gone, but the heart remains, the senses remain." The man in white took a deep breath. "I am now blocked from feeling the true love of the world, but having once walked the path of emotional heavenly Daos, I could never forsake the world." "Is this why you never formed the destructive path?" "It can be so." The man in white nodded. The heavenly sovereign smirked. "What a blunder. I always took you for being dead inside, not minding anything or anyone, but not once did you give up the world. What's even more surprising is to find you so shrewd, fooling me without the slightest tell. When I heard of your plan, I was about to advise against it, but then this idea hit me. I know you too well to try to change your mind when you're dead set on something. So before I reveal my stance, I thought of playing a little useful trick. You leaked my plan to those fools and hinted that I'd leave a record of my void path behind, colluding with the beasts to steal it. It was to find a weakness, wasn't it?" The heavenly sovereign's lip shook in anger. "Too bad, but the 3 beasts are trapped. You won't get the chance to find anything about my power. Once I'm through with you, I'll take my time finding the right way to the destruction path." The sovereign's heart sank. The heavenly sovereign's power was beyond anything they imagined, sealing the 3 sacred beasts like nothing. Only a one-eyed man stepped forward, shouting, "Heavenly Sovereign, you're too full of yourself. Your divine eye of the void lost to me once already." "Well, if it isn't heaven sealing CAO. You didn't go to steal with the others, helping these guys instead? Do you plan on sealing my eyes again?" The heavenly sovereign mocked. "Time changes everything, especially if it is as long as 1,000 years. As you are now, without your eyes, you still plan on sealing mine?" CAO raged, giving a glare to Sword Heart. "Tai Jinshin, our friendship for decades was for nothing. I helped you train your sword by gathering what you needed. Why did you turn your sword on me?" Sword Heart lowered his head. Bam! A huge sound echoed and heaven sealing CAO shuddered. His body shook hard as purple lighting flared in his direction and made him spew blood. The heavenly sovereign's right eye shone in 2 golden rings while his left eye pulsed purple. He smirked. "The berserk purple lightning sure is amazing, complementing my divine eye of the void. Haha, berserk void annihilation." The purple lightning wreaked havoc on CAO's body as he struggled to fight it. Lightning field true world. The heavenly sovereign's right eye shined with 12 halos. A boom shook the skies and purple flickered, resulting in CAO vanishing. The others gasped in shock, with an old man in black crying, "Heavenly Sovereign, what did you do to CAO?" Zhuofan's eyes shook as he turned to the old man. He was one and the same with the one in the image. The heavenly sovereign shocked Zhuofan with his next action. 9 serenities, I only sent him where he belongs. I'll deal with those beasts once I'm through with you bastards. The heavenly sovereign chuckled in disdain. Did losing your pet get you all shy? So human sovereigns need dogs to be threatening. They all were grave and furious, while their hearts sank in despair. In a blink, They were unable to even react as the Heavenly Sovereign got rid of Heaven's sealing CAO. The Heavenly Daos is stronger than the human path. With morale at an all-time low, the man in white stepped forward. We're standing here today not because of the strength of the Heavenly Sovereign, but the path within our hearts that we will never betray. 9 serenities and the others grew determined. We're human path cultivators and we're not about to stand and watch it die. It matters not the strength of the enemy. It was something they had to do. Is this why you're going against me? The Heavenly Sovereign stared at his younger brother. Even without your emotion center, you still walk the path of emotional Heavenly Daos and refuse to form the supreme destructive path. The man in white nodded. The world chose me to carry the destructive path, but I believe in choosing my own path, the one in my heart, not destruction. Just how the emotion sovereign cut out romantic love, and opened herself to the world's peak emotion, I broke my emotion center and the world felt dead to me without love or any emotion. It was also why my emotion is noble and I decided to go against heaven and have humanity stay on top. Since you've decided, there's nothing more to talk about. Our paths are different. There's nothing to discuss about conflicting paths even as brothers. The Heavenly Sovereign sighed inside and charged, as heavens will wish the world's end, I shall carry its duty in destroying the human path's sovereigns. This world doesn't want you. Whoosh, the other side flew to meet him, determined to go through with this. No matter what you think is the purported heaven's will, the human path will survive. Heavenly Sovereign, you'll have to go through us to remake the world. Boom, explosions echoed all around, shaking the sky and crumbling the earth. The 10 sovereigns met with such force that the space warped and broke apart to reveal black holes. It lasted 3 months and killed every creature in the radius of millions of miles. Once the world stopped shaking, there were no stars, moon or sun, only endless darkness. The space law couldn't keep up with their relentless onslaught. Sword Heart and the human sovereigns were wounded and tired, panting hard and bleeding. Only the Heavenly Sovereign's eyes were just as hard, despite the slight soreness. It seems heaven wins in the end. The human path falls, ha. The Heavenly Sovereign's eye shined in 11 golden halos. Cleanse? Hum, a huge golden eye appeared in the black sky, unleashing a deadly aura. The others looked bleak, with Child Sovereign saying, we couldn't beat him, we lost. A ripple spread through them and they just crumbled, gone from this world. All that remained were prismatic motes, their souls, sighing at the end of the world. Who a sudden wind picked up that pulled the souls to the side, shielding them behind the man in white so that Cleanse wouldn't hurt them. Even Sword Heart's path flew to his side. What's happening? The Heavenly Sovereign looked oddly at Sword Heart, who was just as baffled. I don't know. My path is out of my control. Elder brother? The man in white smiled. We both touched upon the sovereign stage, but I have no sovereign path weaker than you. But luckily I comprehended 2 things when I felt the destructive path. Firstly, before the world turns to hell, there's destruction and cleansing. Secondly, that the holder of this path can offer themselves so that the world gets another chance. I have always believed the world that nurtured all creation wouldn't be so heartless. The man in white released black energy that wrapped around him and ate him alive. While the 9 sovereign paths fused, becoming a huge prismatic palm and shooting at the huge eye in the sky. Chapter 1308, Heart's Choice. Bam. The prismatic palm crushed the heavenly eye. The Heavenly Sovereign jerked and coughed blood. As he looked up again, he watched the figure eaten away by the black energy, sacrificing yourself for a moment of sovereign stage power. Humph. Well played, younger brother. But it's still your loss. We two are the only ones who have touched upon the supreme stage. You used that power to give me a heavy wound at the price of your life, but how will you stop me when I heal? You've only delayed the inevitable. I'll be the last one standing in the end. Think again? A soft voice reached him and in a prismatic glow, a pink arrow shot the Heavenly Sovereign. The Heavenly Sovereign sneered, Emotion Sovereign, I am wounded, but not enough for your cheap trick to work. Divine Eye of the Void, Void Barrier. Whoosh, 12 barriers formed before the Heavenly Sovereign, blocking the arrow. The Heavenly Sovereign gave a triumphant smirk. Clap, the Heavenly Sovereign's left eye flashed with lightning and the barriers were destroyed. The pink arrow struck true, striking him and making his eyes go pink. Ha, Heavenly Sovereign, weren't you on the heartless path, the empty void? My bewitching is nothing on others but deadly on you. Your very path is at risk of crumbling and you want to ruin the world? Humph. I am possible. His neck went red and the Heavenly Sovereign spat. Why did purple lightning gold eye flared up? You got the drop on me knowing this would happen. Oh. An image appeared of Emotion Sovereign's soul. Did you think yourself the winner? Long before you approached Kunping, she had approached him. Your destruction plan had won you no allies, while your divine eye of the void grew their fears. So she sacrificed herself in a plan with Kunping, leaving a trace of her soul behind in the purple lightning to strike at the right moment and help me plant the bewitching. Now you understand, Heavenly Sovereign, the best in the world. Younger brother, to think that it's you who won in the end. The Heavenly Sovereign clenched his fists as he made a bitter face at the fading image of his younger brother. Well done. I've always been above you all our lives, but you won this time. But now those sovereigns only have their path protecting them, weak. While I'm bewitched, even with a thread of hope, I will be back. Time is on my side. I will take back this win. He went back to Sword Heart's side. The weakened sovereigns couldn't stop him. The fading younger brother showed a faint smile. Elder brother, I'll stop you even in the next life. Fine. The Heavenly Sovereign shouted back with a nod. We shall see. I'll be waiting. The Heavenly Sovereign left with Sword Heart. As the black energy burned the younger brother fully, his figure vanished from the lake, making Zhuofan sigh. The war of sovereigns and the brothers' feud is only because of diverging paths, not out of a grudge. That's why the Heavenly Sovereign said true big players fight in the open, because tricks and schemes don't work on them. Despite the Heavenly Sovereign losing to his younger brother's ploy, well? Zhuofan flinched, turning to the old man with a bow. Senior, forgive my ignorance of not knowing that you were the Nine Serenities' demonic sovereign. Nine Serenities waved him off. Let formalities not constrict us. How do you feel after watching the ancient drama? Feel? Zhuofan pondered. I now know why you could write down the Nine Serenities' secret records. Oh? The hero of the story wasn't me, yet you could see my experience? Of course, and not through just the lake but from talking with Senior. I realized that Senior loves gossip, but it's because of this that you could learn so many secrets and arts of the sacred domain to compile the incredible Nine Serenities' secret records. I am in awe. I can never look at those nagging biddies the same way Ahem. Nine Serenities felt awkward. You know that I walk the demonic path, that demons are born within our hearts. To remove demons, you need to inquire into people's hearts all the time. It's part of the job description. Let me ask you this, what do you feel about the Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother? Zhuofan fell silent for a while. I walk the demonic path, a selfish path. Even sacrifice, it will only come for someone, not for the world. I lack that kind of great compassion and love. The Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother did it for all creation, even forsaking the supreme path. I could never escape its allure, that of becoming a god and having the world at your fingertips. Despite having no emotion center, yet still willing to follow the path inside his heart to dedicate himself to the world, is worthy of respect. He's far better than I could ever be. It's reasonable for you to say that Nine Serenities looked up, but would you believe me if I say he is you? Zhuofan shuddered. He is me? A more apt description is that he is a past you. An aged and familiar voice sounded this time, making Zhuofan look over. You're that old man from the Nether Sea. How? Let me introduce you. He is the master here, the Rebirth Sovereign, in charge of the past and present lives. Nine Serenities smiled. The old man nodded. You met my regrets in the Nether Sea, but the Heavenly Sovereign has now destroyed it. I guided you to the Heavenly Rebirth Lake to see you and check if you inherited the Supreme Path from your past. The Supreme Path? Zhuofan was confused. What is going on here? The Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother was the past me? Didn't he sacrifice himself? Without a sovereign path, a broken soul would fade away. Did he reincarnate here? No way. He was burned down to nothing. The two laughed, with Nine Serenities speaking. Even destroyed, how was it that you got reborn, Zhuofan? Wasn't it through your Nine Serenities' secret records, through desire? Could anyone be reborn by relying on another's soul through desire? Rather, your soul wasn't obliterated in the detonation, leaving but a fraction behind. Not even you could damage it. Why then was this sliver protected? Zhuofan exclaimed. Sovereign path? Yes, my path has been shielding your soul from total destruction. Nine Serenities nodded. When the Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother died, I used my path to protect his sliver of soul and reincarnate. As for me, I reincarnated too but lived a mortal life. Zhuofan gasped. Then the you here, a shadow's memories, the Rebirth Sovereign explained, a sliver of obsession. You know that to reincarnate at the Heavenly Rebirth Lake, one must leave behind memories, feelings, everything. 9 serenities left behind his thought of reincarnation in order to see with his own eyes your return according to the plan to inherit that heavenly Daos of before. Only then can he find peace. Zhuo Fan was conflicted. Shadow? It can't even be called a soul, only a shadow of a thought. After seeing you, it will fade. 9 serenities smiled and patted his shoudler. You now have a choice. Inherit the emotional heavenly Daos and grasp the precious power, fulfilling the promise and blocking the heavenly sovereign from destroying the world. Or do nothing and wait for death. The heavenly sovereign will be coming here soon to steal the rebirth path. Zhuo Fan cried, You call that a choice? No one wants to die. Of course it is a choice of the heart. 9 serenities was solemn. You said it yourself, you're a selfish demonic cultivator, but you were once on the emotional heavenly Daos path. Your hearts differ and thus makes inheriting that power impossible. Even though you're one and the same, Zhuo Fan hung his head, everything can be fake in the world, but only my heart is ever true. I could never just give up all these years spent on the demonic path at the drop of a hat. And for a path of love? Why did I even choose demonic path in the first place? Because you had my sovereign demonic path. So no matter what life you'd have, all would choose the demonic path, even if you were the son of a righteous leader. Why do I get the feeling you played me? Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched. In that case, why not just give me a righteous sovereign path? They didn't want to? Was only Master 9 Serenities willing to sacrifice himself for me? Is that a way to treat the guy who sacrificed himself for the world? Chapter 1309 Acceptance. The two chuckled. 9 Serenities was the one to continue the explanation. You're wrong to blame them. All of us were moved by your self-sacrifice to save every being, and would be willing to give up everything to save you. But for you to train in the 9 Serenities secret records, only I could have guided you. 9 Serenities secret records? As you've seen yourself, the moment you were the closest to the supreme stage power was when you fused 9 paths. You used that power to wrest the wounded sword heart's path and take it for yourself. 9 Serenities' eyes gleamed. I am confident your emotional heavenly Daos is the pathway to reach the supreme stage through uniting the 9 human sovereign paths. Nothing is hopeless in this world no matter how bad it looks. Even with the destruction path appearing, there will be another path to stop it. This path is your emotional heavenly Daos. When you couldn't form your sovereign path, maybe it just needed the right timing for the 10 Daos to unite. The void path and the 9 human paths will help you form the supreme path and become lord over heaven and earth. In other words, the younger brother chose to get the 10 paths instead of forming the sovereign path. Heaven's will didn't wish for destruction, only leading to this path due to his broken emotion center. That's how it is. But heaven's will is hard to read, and we are only able to judge it with our own views. Who can say the real truth of the Tao? Even the heavenly sovereign can't declare he represents the world. Only a supreme, or maybe not even it. 9 Serenities shook himself from that line of thought. Anyway, they're out of our grasp and all we can do is follow our path in helping every being pass this crisis. You have what it takes to do it and I happen to make the art to help you integrate all paths. When you become supreme, it will be like how the world can only have 10 sovereigns, but you will be the sole person, blocking the destruction of the supreme stage from appearing. Even if it does appear, you have what it takes to fight it. Zhuo Fan nodded. To stop the heavenly sovereign from getting to the destruction path, you want to take over the world first. But won't the heavenly sovereign try to stop me? The sovereign path shields your fate. Only my path guided you to seek the demonic path. But letting demons take you is easy while overcoming them is hard. The hardest part of the demonic path is drifting from desire to desire before you can break free of your demons and reach the end of the path, seeing the hearts and minds of the world without desire. It's easier said than done. There are countless righteous cultivators who couldn't escape their demons and sank further into their grasp. Zhuo Fan nodded. Master 9 Serenities, I've been a no-good demon once, shambling around without aim and witnessing all kinds of demons. Some are cloaked in righteousness, making escape all the harder. I had the fortune to be sharp enough and perceptive enough to be here today instead of living my meager existence as a petty criminal. Alas, guess I did have a knack for the demonic path, ha. Knack my ass. 9 Serenities' face twitched. Do you have any idea how long I've waited here for you? Right about 5,000 years? Zhuo Fan counted. I spent a few centuries cultivating in sacred domain, then got reborn 5,000 years later and cultivated about 100 years more, quite quickly I might say. 9 Serenities rolled his eyes and Rebirth Sovereign laughed. That's your current life. What's that supposed to mean? How many lives did I have? Since the fall of the ancient era, 32 lives in total. In most of them you were unable to get your hands on the 9 Serenity's secret records, wasting even more time. What, 32? That many? Zhuofan gasped in disbelief. 9 Serenities said, the demon transformation art blends all the paths, which is why each life must be a clean slate. In other words, all previous paths had to be purged. So each reincarnation removes your memories. There were only around 5 times you got the 9 Serenities secret records. It's lucky you made it all the way here this time around. The other times, once you were too scared to train in it, the other time ending like your disciple, not willing to let go of your cultivation and dying from the backlash. The same petty demons you're denouncing were you in a few lifetimes. Now ain't that talent? How can this be? Zhuofan blinked, but I got the 9 Serenities secret records from your tomb. Someone found it already who put it back. The two replied at the same time, the Heavenly Sovereign. What? Wipe that dumb look already. For 32 lives, the Heavenly Sovereign had been on us like a hawk as well as sacred domain. You think he wouldn't be cautious of the 9 Serenities secret records appearing? He knew everything? Of course. Why didn't he stop it? Why? 9 Serenities shrugged. After he found the 9 Serenities secret records, you had already reincarnated a few times, and his sharp mind must have connected the dots. But our plan helped him as well. He couldn't remove the bewitching placed on him by himself, nor could he force the emotion sovereign to do it. So he was looking forward to having your emotional sovereign path do it instead. Bewitched, his void path was damaged broken heart, so reaching the supreme stage was impossible. Why wouldn't he be happy to have all 10 paths gathered? Doesn't that also further his plan? Besides, the void path can hold anything, even sovereign paths. But to fuse them is beyond him. Seeing my demon transformation art, he had to have been laughing so hard the first time he found our plan. There's no way he'd stop us. You never noticed how you've been led all this time? Zhuofan frowned. Couldn't he have just taken the demon transformation art if he wanted it so much? Why wait for me to get it? What was demon transformation art's first warning? To remove your previous cultivation. In the case of the Heavenly Sovereign, he'd have to let go of his sovereign stage cultivation and even his sovereign path. 9 Serenities raised his eyebrows. The strongest sovereign wasn't ready to risk his chance at the supreme stage or his void path over some sketchy art. The ungodly risk aside, it might have been a trap. What would you do in his shoes? Zhuofan nodded with a sigh. Yeah, great experts would never want to start from scratch again. Despite the journey being longer in this case, the risk wasn't worth it. Even a sovereign would falter. He didn't have the nerve to do it, nor is he hopeful of others with their poor talents. Only you, his younger brother, are the best candidate. Just that 32 reincarnations proved your lack of talent in the demonic path. He could no longer take the weight and took action this time, guiding you. It did the trick and you got the gist on the spot, thanks to an awesome master. Zhuofan's face twitched. Why don't I feel the slightest difference between you and the Heavenly Sovereign? It's like you're in it together to mess with me. Right you are. When masters fight they do it in the open. You're the pawn of all of us. Despite the different purposes, interests aligned for a while. Then you also were ready to guide me? Of course, we laid the groundwork throughout the world to guide you the minute you trained in the demon transformation art. 9 Serenities nodded. The sacred domain was under the Nether Sovereign and the others' care, leaving their remnant images in different realms. Sovereign Yun chose to bring his path to the mortal domain through a whirlwind tunnel and tell Kunping our plan. All that remained was for you to arrive. A cultivator is an adventurer first and foremost, and most of them in the mortal domain would visit the Allbeast mountain range at some point, including you. And if I haven't? Since the first plan to guide you would be a bust, Plan B would be in effect. Plan B? Yeah, being willing to give up your sovereign path. 9 Serenities smiled. Demonic path is as selfish as it gets. If you could have relinquished it, that meant you rose above all the desires and demons, finishing the demonic path through the demon transformation art. At that point your fate will be readable in the heavens and Sovereign Yun would send someone to lure you to receive our inheritances to reach the same conclusion. So that's why. Zhuofan sighed. These players had my life's track in the palm of their hands, taking another stage the minute I passed the previous one. If no plan worked, the lives will be spent in mediocrity until the moment they could use me again. You used me like a toy? No, toys are at someone's mercy, while we merely guided you and didn't dictate your every choice. 9 Serenities spoke hard. Just like now, we have no control on what your heart wants. Your choice is yours. You hold everything, including our hopes and the lives of everyone in the world. Zhuofan looked at the two then nodded. Let's begin then. I accept my previous life's inheritance. Chapter 13:10 Showdown. Oh, I see. In the Luo clan's hall, the three sacred beasts sat around and finished their tale. Dragon ancestor sighed. The heavenly sovereign and Zhuofan were destined to meet. They shared the same heavenly daos, but took opposite directions, brothers turning on each other. Kunping nodded, with Zhuofan and the heavenly sovereign refining the 10 paths. One got the results while the other experienced them. Whomever reaches the supreme path first decides the fate of us all. Cao muttered, then what we can do now is mess with the heavenly sovereign's focus and buy Zhuofan time. Kunping was solemn, we need many experts. Qilin and Xiaowa, you're with me and Old Dragon. We will unite all humanity and help you become mature sacred beasts. The two nodded. Cao glanced at Sword Child, you're coming with me. The place where Sword Heart reached his path will be of help to you. As Zhuofan's demonic sword, your opponent will be Heavenly Sovereign's sword. Right? Sword Child clenched his fists, ready for battle. They were the only ones who could actually be of help. The three sacred beasts wasted no time, leaving with them, and the Luo clan was left without a plan. Luo Yunhai pondered and shouted, everyone, whoever is willing to die with me is welcome to come. Yunhai? Luo Yunchang cried. She knew what he was up to. Luo Yunhai took a deep breath. With everything at stake, no one will be safe. The destruction of the world is an end to us all. We are weak, but just like how we surrounded the invincible sword, we will prevail. We can't threaten a sovereign, but stalling even for a moment is good. Luo Yunhai stormed out of the hall with the rest ready to die alongside him. Luo Yunchang didn't stop him, closing her eyes and hoping for Zhuofan to make it in time to save Yunhai. 3 days later, Luo Yunhai led the entire Emperor lands to war on Mirror Moon Cottage. They stared at the boundary and Li Jingtian and the others led the forces into the small building. They had barely rushed inside when they splattered on the ground in pieces from a mere strong wind. Hundreds fell at that moment alone. The men were shaken, with some experts from the 8 Emperors' lands turning to the Luo clan having never experienced such a massacre. The Luo clan, however, was unfazed. With the military as the core of their conduct, they knew the risks of going to war. First it was to protect the people of a third-rate empire, now it was to protect the world, for it held the people they loved. For them, they would jump into hell even knowing it would have no effect at all. This was the only thing they could do for their people. Waves of experts from Sacred Domain led by the Luo clan's higher-ups rushed at the boundary to break it with their own flesh and blood. Thousands, then millions, all exploded in a shower of blood. Such a sacrifice was nothing before the Heavenly Sovereign's barrier. But maybe the incessant shouting and clamor did have some effect, for the 8 half-sovereigns came out. Whoosh sword energy flared everywhere and took tens of thousands of men down with them. A red-haired man shouted, if you're in such a rush to die, go die hanging from a tree like the bugs you are instead of buzzing in our ears. You're disturbing Master's cleansing. Great. That's why we're here. Luo Yunhai smiled, if we can harass him then our deaths are worth it. The red-haired man's eye twitched, is it worth losing so many lives? Absolutely. Luo Yunhai signaled and Qiu Yanhai and his wife led another charge against the 8 with their imperial marks. Boom. The 8 swiped with their fingers and they all turned to ashes, even the initial elders of the Luo clan. Luo Yunhai didn't even blink, his mind set as his hand fell again, sending heaven and earth sages this time, who obeyed without fault. The red-haired man squinted with puzzlement. Do they all want to die for nothing? Humph, then taking their head will change their minds. The man flashed before Luo Yunhai and clutched his neck, take the head and the body will follow, your death will make them all scatter. You're nothing but weak bugs hardly worth our time. Go ahead then. Luo Yunhai mocked without fear, I may die but they won't retreat because we all understand one fundamental truth. Retreating means the end of the world, them included. Living one more day is worth it. Wrong. You think we're doing it for us? You're not? Luo Yunhai shook his head, sneering, I heard about the Heavenly Sovereign's matters, that you've been around him for so long that you've forgotten humanity's strength. In different situations we'd be afraid of half-sovereigns but not this time. For behind us are the people we must protect. Luo Yunhai's voice was carried through the sky, echoing in the hearts of all men. The 8 Emperor's lands experts faltered in their retreat, growing furious and charging as well. Bam! Luo Yunhai was sent flying and coughing blood, dead. The red-haired man sneered then froze. he found that the death of the leader did nothing to dissuade the rest from throwing their lives. Just like Luo Yunhai said, they all held little care for themselves. Ignorant fools. The 8 half-sovereigns mocked them as they slaughtered them. The sky took a red tint from the flood of blood. What was strange was that none cried in misery. Sword Heart stood before the courtyard and watched the spectacle in silence before turning to the Heavenly Sovereign's room. The Heavenly Sovereign asked, "Is the disturbance still around?" "Heavenly Sovereign, they came to harass your cleansing. They won't leave." "Humph, a bunch of fools think they can disturb my meditation with some noise?" "They are indeed fools, oblivious to how useless it all is. But I don't believe they'll stop." Sword Heart gave a sigh. "I've never seen ants pick up a fight with a half-sovereign, let alone multiple. Do they hope to beat them with numbers?" The Heavenly Sovereign was silent and Sword Heart left. The clamor outside went on still for 3 whole months. The blood dyed the earth red, covered in corpses for miles. The 8 half-sovereigns watched in awe as they still charged over the wall of corpses. They had wandered the world and seen many aspects of humanity, but never like this. Is it the final push before dying? No, they had seen that madness plenty of times. This was different. Every man here became a hero of legends, a fearless warrior. But such an ideal did not exist. Until now. I'd have let you go any other time. Whoosh! A huge image appeared as the red-haired man released his sacred body and unleashed a scarlet wave. But come just one more time and I have no choice to be cruel. The men didn't even flinch. He nodded. Fine, then allow me to deliver you from life. Whoosh! A sword wave came down like death, yet their eyes never wavered. Bam! A small figure appeared and broke the attack, Sword Heart, who a violent explosion shook the skies and the 8 half-sovereigns withdrew in shock. The actual Sword Heart in the courtyard shook and gasped, the aura of a sovereign. That kid found his path. Chapter 13:11 Heavenly Sovereign appears. Bang! The 5 sacred beasts appeared as well with their mighty auras, making the sacred bodies crumble. The 8 fell back in shock. They had no chance against the might of the beasts at the level of sovereigns. Half-sovereigns were the closest to the sovereign stage but far beneath them. Yunhai, Elder Chiu, Gu Santong noticed the familiar faces among the bodies with clenched fists. Kuanping sighed, how foolish. Why could you do something so pointless? I shouldn't have said so much, telling you to just wait instead. This is humanity, the human path. Cao's only eye shook and roared, Sword Sovereign, get out here right now. Look at all the dead people, they are the humanity you yearned for. Sword Sovereign looked outside and turned heavy. Heavenly Sovereign spoke, Sword Heart, the old man is calling you. Go and break it, the once humane sword path. Whoosh! A prismatic glow entered Sword Sovereign. He shook and gasped, Heavenly Sovereign, you're giving me my path? You're my heavenly sword. Yours is mine. As I refine the 10 paths, they include yours as well. Now that the enemy has come, I'm at a critical moment and can only rely on you. Go lead the 8 fools and block those beasts. Whoosh! Prismatic glows flew out of Heavenly Sovereign's room and into the half-sovereigns. The 8 shuddered, their powers surging like a flood and making the world tremble. This is the power of the sovereign stage. The red-haired man cackled, Heavenly Sovereign didn't lie to us. When he stole the others' paths, he will grant them upon us, helping us break through and fulfilling our life's wish. The others were laughing out of joy. Only the 5 sacred beasts stared coldly. Whoosh! Sword Sovereign appeared before them, holding a white sword and pointing it at the 6. Cao's lone eye glared with hatred. Tai Jinshin, you're finally here. I considered you a friend. Why did you attack me? Loyalty stands above. I can only say sorry. Humph! When you trained your path with me, you said it was a human sword path while leaving heavenly sword path behind. So I found someone for you, one that achieved the path you trained in that cave. Patting Sword Child's shoulder, Cao taunted, heavenly sword path against human sword path, which is stronger, which is weaker. You must be eager to know the result. Go ahead, give it a try. Is the sword path your heart created stronger, or the sword path you learned by Heavenly Sovereign's side? Flick. Sword Child held a pitch-black long sword pointing it forward. I am a demonic sword, you a heavenly sword. Before the showdown between Dad and Sword Sovereign, we will settle our fight. Haha, there can only be one who can wield the sword path. Since we're both sword path sovereigns, we must fight. Sword Sovereign shot for Sword Child. Sword Child flew forward as well and the 2 swords met thousands of times in a blink. Whoosh! The 2 pulled back and explosions cracked the sky, leaving black holes. Even the stars and sun were gone. The people gasped with the Emperor Land's forces falling back. Not out of fear but knowing help has come. Stopping Heavenly Sovereign depended on them. A leaf floated between the two, swirling in the breeze. As it barely touched the ground, the two jumped into action. Clanging sounded all over the place, the only sign the two were even fighting. The 5 sacred beasts and the 8 half-sovereigns were the only ones able to see their sword energy clash. The half-sovereigns grew excited, shouting at the sacred beasts, "They say your strength is that of a sovereign. Now that we're at the same stage, I ask for your guidance." "You?" Kunping raised an eyebrow. "You're not even close." Red-haired man sneered, "We'll just see about that." Bam. The red-haired man shot for Kunping, while the others moved as well. The 5 sacred beasts shared a look. The two sides clashed, unleashing a wild shockwave. The audience only saw it as one clash, resulting in the 8 half-sovereigns spurting blood and being flung to the ground. How can this be?" They were stunned. "We're sovereigns, so why did you beat us?" Kunping spat with disdain. "You call that a sovereign? More like a faker. You think it's that easy to be one? A true sovereign takes years upon years understanding their path to become the sole master of it. You all walk the sword path and are using other sovereigns' paths. They don't fit you and you expect to use it to its full ability? Heavenly Sovereign said that as long as we have a sovereign path, we can be one." "How?" He lied. "How else did you think he could earn your undying devotion, bewitched and trapped in his domain? Weren't you all the peak of the mortal domain in your time? How could you fall for such a cheap trick? Greed must have blinded you, huh?" The Kunping laughed at them and they were left utterly confused. Another boom echoed and revealed the upright Sword Child and Sword Sovereign's lone arm bleeding. Sword Sovereign smiled. "You won. You are now the Sword Sovereign." "No, you let me win." Sword Child looked confused. "Why? You could have beaten me if you went all out." Sword Sovereign looked at Cao. "Sword Heart." A cold voice echoed and a golden eye appeared in the sky. "You still chose the human path." Kunping fell back in shock. "Heavenly Sovereign?" "Heavenly Sovereign, I owed it to Cao from then. I didn't betray you. I lost to the human sword path I understood before. I just knew your sword path wasn't a pure heavenly sword, or else he couldn't have controlled your sovereign path all those years ago. That's why I didn't let you guide this garbage even with your almighty sword path. I made the right choice." "Garbage?" The half-sovereigns shouted. "Heavenly Sovereign, is that all we amount to you? What else are you? Though you've done well compared to bugs. Now you can't help me and the paths you have are a waste. I'll be taking those back." They shuddered and the 8 got flung into the sky, making them cry out as they vanished in the eye. Sword Sovereign was dragged as well. Cao reached him in time, holding his hand. "Tai Jinshin, tell me the truth. What do you mean by returning the favor?" "I am Heavenly Sovereign's heavenly sword. I can never betray him. All I could ever do was pass my path. It's up to heaven if he can combine the 10 paths." He sent a sword energy from his finger and pushed Cao back. Sword Sovereign was absorbed in the huge eye as he smiled. "Brother Cao, goodbye. I hope you won't be destroyed with the world, Tai Jinshin." Cao roared, his eyes shaking. Sword Sovereign was swallowed with his path. Whoosh! Mirror Moon Cottage erupted and a white figure flew out and stepped on a mountain. He looked down on them all with disdain. "Beasts, you've caused enough havoc. Now you'll deal with me." Chapter 13:12 Half Supreme. Heavenly Sovereign. Kunping winced as he turned to the familiar figure. "You left Mirror Moon Cottage. Did you remove the bewitching?" Heavenly Sovereign smirked. "With Emotion Sovereign's path and my ability, I can now remove her bewitching. But you've been buzzing in my ear for long enough to bother me from refining the paths. Your persistent social call left me with no choice but to get rid of you first. The question is, will you come at once or one at a time?" Heavenly Sovereign mocked. Kunping's beard shook. "Facing Heavenly Sovereign alone is disgracing Sovereign's honor. Hypocrite." Heavenly Sovereign laughed. "Old man, you haven't changed a bit. No, you're actually more humane now. Stop throwing excuses and just come, all of you." Whoosh! Heavenly Sovereign flashed among the 5 beasts. They started and struck as one. Golden flames, azure flame, Qilin strength, all were unleashed upon Heavenly Sovereign. Heavenly Sovereign turned into a shadow and vanished, appearing above young Sanzi. "So you're Qilin's son. Ah, sorry, but I killed your dad. And I'm more sorry for what happens next, killing you as well." Bam! He poked Gu Santong's back. The incredible power slammed him into the ground, with the earth around crumbling like a deck of cards. Gu Santong coughed blood, looking pale. That's Shadow Sovereign's art and Tyrant Emperor's endless power. Kunpeng gasped. He refined 2 paths already and can use their strength. Even without Divine Eye of the Void, I'll still crush you with raw power. Heavenly Sovereign cackled. Whoosh, a black sword wave shot for his head. Heavenly Sovereign pointed with 2 fingers and destroyed it with his attack. A sword wave reached Sword Child, sending him hurtling into the ground. Blood gushed out of his shoulder. The hardest Sovereign weapon was hurt just like that. Estes Kunpeng gasped, that's not Sword Sovereign's path. His sword path doesn't have that much power. He can't have Sword Child so wounded in one strike. Ha, it is and isn't. I have taken Zhuo Fan's demon transformation art, including the apocalyptic sword. Demon transformation art's greatest asset is combining all paths. Sword Sovereign's path combined with Zhuo Fan's sword path, as in Heavenly Sword and Demonic Sword, added to the mix my power, will become the strongest sword. I hardly need to do anything just to kill you all. Ha, the Kunpeng was grave. Heavenly Sovereign was far more dangerous now. He had been toying with them so far, yet that proved the sheer gap between them. Kunpeng took a deep breath and roared, into your main form, Sacred Beast, the World Reversal Formation. Kunpeng turned into the vaulting Kunpeng, a creature 500 meters big that blotted the sky. Cao and the rest turned to their beast form as well. Gu Santong struggled to stand, turning into a Qilin. The sacred beasts howled, shuddering the skies and quaking the earth. The Emperor Land's cultivators ran away from this incredible fight. Only Heavenly Sovereign looked on with disdain. Whoosh, the 5 sacred beasts had Heavenly Sovereign surrounded, spinning around him and unleashing tremendous power as a vortex formed. Heavenly Sovereign kept watching with scorn. Crack, multicolored powers whistled at Heavenly Sovereign, turning into a deadly black energy right before they reached him. Yes, the destruction power you crave. We'll send you off to hell. Kunpeng shouted. The other 4 beasts stared at him with hope that it was enough to combine the powers into the supreme strength and wound him. Heavenly Sovereign begged to differ. Destruction power, haha. I might be excited if it were ages ago, but now you are useless to me. Apocalyptic Thunderflame Eye. Heavenly Sovereign's left eye flashed with black thunder flames, while his right eye shone in 4 golden halos. Thunderflame Space Crusher. Boom, crushing explosions rumbled all around as the power of annihilation faced the 5 sacred beasts' combined power. The tremendous shockwave flung the 5 sacred beasts back, with the black power flashing for thousands of miles and erasing everything. The slower Emperor Land's cultivators were gone from this world in a blink. The place was devoid of life for thousands of miles. Kunpeng bled from the mouth, his voice weak. That's Zhuo Fan's apocalyptic thunderflame eye. Why, I told you I've taken everything you have. Heavenly Sovereign smirked. This younger brother of mine finally did something for me, bringing back this type of destructive power. My patience in keeping this pawn around has borne fruits at long last. This power is part of yours as well. By sending you off with the same strength you have is quite poetic, ha! Heavenly Sovereign shouted, his eyes sinister. Starting with you, sly Kunpeng. Thunderflame Void Annihilation. Whoosh, the terrifying thunderflame turned into a huge beam of blackness, shooting straight for Kunpeng. Kunpeng was horrified and his heart sank. I'm done for, dying at Heavenly Sovereign's hand. Bam. The beam scattered right before impact, vanishing into nothing. Heavenly Sovereign paused and looked at the familiar figure. A man in white held an outstretched palm, thwarting Heavenly Sovereign's attack and revealing identical eyes. Father. Gu Santong and Shower shouted in joy. Kunpeng shouted, Zhuo Fan, you're back at last. No, he isn't Zhuo Fan. Heavenly Sovereign sized him up and mocked. Younger brother, you relied on the reincarnation path and Zhuo Fan's broken soul to return. Which path do you have now, I wonder, the emotional heavenly Tao or the destruction path? Zhuo Fan looked calm, his smile faint. Heavenly Sovereign, you've got it all wrong. I am Zhuo Fan, not your brother. I walk the demonic path, not the heavenly Tao. You didn't use my younger brother's emotional heavenly Tao's power? Heavenly Sovereign's brow shook. All the lives you walked may be related, but you're never the same. When one returns, the other must vanish. My foolish brother said he'd come to stop me, so how could he be the one to fade away? And this power, how is it that you wield it? Zhuo Fan smiled, wrong again. He vanished and I returned, only because he believed I'm better fit to stop you. Even if you're at the supreme stage, I'm the only one who can fight you, not him. What's that supposed to mean? Sovereign stage is tantamount to gods of legend. But with demons and gods at odds, only a demon can fell a god. Fan smirked. A god destroys the world to cleanse it, but a demon rises from humanity and will not let you succeed. Demons and gods have always been at odds. This is heaven's will. Master Nine Serenity said he gave his path to your brother, but I believe his dying wish has been to stop your destruction and fall into the demonic path, becoming what you see now today. Humph, how can you ever stop me? A worthless demonic path can't reach the supreme stage. Well, Fan smirked, I can't say for sure, though I felt something else. A threshold that none has felt since the beginning of time, not you, not your brother, ha. Heavenly Sovereign gave him a long look. Another threshold? Humph, enough stalling. You're barely a half supreme right now and you spout about something higher? Fan, I don't know if your path is from my younger brother or not, but Heavenly Tao is heartless, its power set. When I become supreme, the world's end is nigh. Now that you've brought the path of reincarnation, you're only helping me. As his words fell, a huge eye appeared in the sky. Give me the last path, Fan. Chapter 13:13 Void Eye? Boom. A terrible pressure befell the world and anyone in it. The people felt their knees shiver. The earth cracked in more and more places, the mountains crumbled as the impossible weight crushed everything. Then a pulling force like no other sucked all the pieces into the huge eye. Fan and the 5 sacred beasts were pulled as well, unable to stop. Blotting the heaven. Fan held his hands together, releasing a colorful and soothing aura. Whoosh, it spread once it reached the heavens, expanding until it blocked the heavenly eye and its power. The rubble and the sacred beasts fell on the ground, shocked by Fan's power and how easy it was for him to stop divine eye of the void. The 10 paths mingling within his body brought about a huge change, one that would make him victorious. Bam! Their hopes were dashed with the sudden explosion as a tornado swept everything. They finally righted their huge bodies and witnessed Heavenly Sovereign and Fan in the eye of the storm clashing fists. Tyrant Sovereign's fists, Kunping gasped, what ungodly power, and it comes from both of them using it. With both at the half-supreme stage, not even Tyrant Sovereign could have unleashed so much power. Just the aftershock sent us flying. The others nodded, with Gu Santong looking tense and worried. Can Father win against Heavenly Sovereign? It's hard to tell, Kunping sighed, watching the two duke it out with sweat trickling down. The 2 fists boomed with every clash. Fan and Heavenly Sovereign gazed into each other's eyes. Then a black wisp leaked from Heavenly Sovereign and sent Fan flying. As Kunping gasped and cried, they both hold to the 10 paths to heaven, yet Fan lost the exchange. Humph, of course, since their essence lies in the sovereign paths. As I have them, not even the inheritances he got from those fools can match. Bam. Heavenly Sovereign shot straight for Fan, laughing, beasts, did you think getting 10 sovereigns' inheritances would be enough against me? You're only helping fulfill my goals. Whoosh, he flashed in Fan's face and clawed his chest, hand over the last rebirth path. Fulfill your role as a pawn. Whoosh. Fan faded like a shadow. Shadow Sovereign's shadow escape? Heavenly Sovereign smirked, stop stalling. I know the path's tricks better than you ever could. Whoosh, Heavenly Sovereign became a shadow as well, and the two flitted across the skies with none able to track them. Sometimes they clashed, sometimes they hid, everything going way too fast. Fan had roamed all over the place, unable to get rid of Heavenly Sovereign, frowning as the latter closed in. He chose to stop hiding, and just as Heavenly Sovereign's shadow got close, he popped 1,000 miles away. Heavenly Sovereign showed himself as well, using the same move to give chase. Humph, Child Sovereign's Heavenly Cloud Step? Are we playing now? A shame the skills you got from them are mastered by me now. There's no escape. You only mastered their paths while ignorant of their mindsets and hearts when walking those paths. You will never understand the essence of those skills. And I'll reach the supreme stage so long I have the 10 paths. I don't need to understand some pathetic human paths. And that's why you will never know the purpose of the human path. How hearts turn from good to unspeakable, or turn over a new leaf to do good in their lives. Just as how they are weak as ants yet still dare throw their lives against the Heavenly Sovereign. The figures slowed down and Fan became calm. You know nothing even with the 10 paths. You've only grasped their strength and not the journeys. Heavenly Sovereign took advantage of this moment to get closer, sinking his claw into Fan's chest with fervor in his eyes. That's all I wanted, without the worthless experiences of some bugs, haha. Whoosh, he ripped his hand out of Fan's body and spilled his blood as a prismatic glow shone in his hand. Damn it, he got the reincarnation path. Kunpeng panicked, despair setting in. With all 10 paths he'll become supreme and destroy the world. It's all over. Kunpeng slumped to the ground, powerless. The other beasts were shocked. The world will end. Zhuofan had a calm gaze. Heavenly Sovereign, you've been ensnared by demons? Demons? Heavenly Sovereign snickered. I follow the void path. No demonic path can touch me. Even if I do have demons, I first need to have a heart. Where else would the heart demons be? Greed becomes a demon, fervor becomes a demon, conceit becomes a demon. You have many of them. Since no one could handle you, I will do it for them. Heavenly Sovereign mocked. You? You're my pawn, your path came from me. The 10 paths you've yearned are now with me, including the reincarnation path. Heavenly Sovereign looked at the prismatic glow in the sky dissipated and the heavenly eye exerted its pressure on the world. Ha, now even the reincarnation veil you set up with the past is gone. The world is mine. What can you possibly do to me? Heavenly Sovereign, demonic path always follows the iron rule that only evil can fight evil. As a demon preys on lesser demons, a bigger demon is needed to defeat him. The appearance of a demon crushing 5 people demands my arrival. For I am all the demons in the world. Zhuofan was solemn. This is my duty and mission. This is my final warning, stop. Heavenly Sovereign mocked. Are you insane? I'm Heavenly Sovereign, moreover the supreme that will destroy the world. And a mere demonic emperor thinks you can stop me? The 10 paths, you can have them, I don't care. You can be supreme, I don't care. For I have lived for 32 lives and I haven't come for that. Zhuofan had a big smirk on his face. In the heavenly rebirth lake, I finally realized what I truly wanted and understood my karma with you. You are not my match. I let you be the ruler of the martial emperor continent, or what? Heavenly Sovereign flung his arm. Arrogant fool, you are weak and still dare preach me? This is what I taught you back then. Don't you dare throw it back at me. I'm this close to the true Tao. No one can stop me from taking the last step. Heavenly Sovereign swallowed the prismatic glow and Zhuofan just watched. The heavenly eye sensed stronger fluctuation, while its golden halo grew brighter. Heavenly Sovereign closed his eyes as an eerie power swirled around him. His hair fluttered as black shone in a creepy light. The huge eye shuddered and vanished. Kunpeng looked taken aback, watching as the blue sky turned white with 13 silver rings shining throughout the world. Divine Eye of the Void, 13th stage, Void Eye. The wild hair fell, turning from black to silver. Heavenly Sovereign opened his eyes, one white and one black. Gone was the purple lightning gold eye and the divine eye of the void. On his forehead, another eye opened, pale and shining in 13 silver rings like the sky. Chapter 13-14 True Self-Origin. Kunpeng crumbled to the ground, his heart shaking. It's all over. His eye covers the entire sky. He holds the world in his palm. This is the supreme path. We can no longer stop him. The others felt crushed by despair. Only Zhuofan stared with an impassive look, making even the now supreme Heavenly Sovereign feel uneasy. You're not afraid? Stop if you still want to be a part of this world. Humph, you're still boasting? Heavenly Sovereign mocked. Younger brother, I call you this for the last time. Do you know what the Supreme Heavenly Eye is? Zhuofan said, Void Eye Genesis. Yes, you sensed it too as someone aware of the Supreme Stage. Heavenly Sovereign smiled in pride. This isn't like the apocalyptic thunder flame or the divine eye of the void. It will erase the whole world and then create a purer one without any filth. There's nothing in this world, not even your apocalyptic thunder flame, that it can't remove, just like this. A silver glow came from the sky and a mountain up and vanished, like it was never part of this world to begin with. Kunpeng was overwhelmed with shock and fear. Zhuofan sighed, the world has yet to run its course. If you choose the path of defiance, it won't end well. It's not for you to decide what will become of this world. Heavenly Sovereign mocked, the fate of the world is now in my hands. Just like the ancient plan, the world will be created anew. I will cleanse it of all filth. Ha! Heavenly Sovereign cackled and the void eye shone in a silver glow. Silver waves washed over the world, the lands, the seas, each removed from existence. Kunpeng's group shrank back to human form, trying to get away. Don't let the glow touch you. It's certain death. As all of creation died out, they would soon have nowhere to hide. They hid in caves only to vanish the next second, then anywhere else they could find. Heavenly Sovereign laughed at their futile attempts to squeeze just a few more moments out of their lives. These are bugs, unable to be the masters of their own fate. Fan looked coldly, fading as well when the silver glow reached him. Heavenly Sovereign smirked, "Younger brother, farewell for good. Since ancient times so long has passed but nothing has changed. No need for that, we'll be seeing each other soon." Fan smirked, shuddering Heavenly Sovereign's heart. Why did he smile? In the Luo clan, with all the fighters gone to stop Heavenly Sovereign, Luo Yunchang and the girls were praying. The sky turned silver and its glow erased everything it touched. The people panicked and Luo Yunchang held her head. "We failed and the end is coming. Qingqing Fan, he'll be fine." Chu Qingqing prayed. She looked at the silver glows with light in her eyes, her memories resurfacing. "Sister Yunchang, I feel like I recall something, the times I spent with you in the mortal domain." "What's the point of recalling it now?" Luo Yunchang sighed. Chu Qingqing smiled. "There is. Be it life or death, love never changes. I've been looking for him for so long in the mortal domain, and he looked for me in the sacred domain even when I wasn't around. Just knowing this, just a brief remembrance is enough." Chu Qingqing smiled, tears of joy trailing down her face. Ding. The tears shone in 7 colors, flying into the sky and vanishing. Not even the silver glow could erase it. Whoosh, flew above Heavenly Sovereign. Heavenly Sovereign shuddered. "What's going on? What's it doing here?" Heavenly Sovereign's eye shone brighter, but no amount of power could erase one lonely tear, even as it destroyed everything else. Heavenly Sovereign started. "What is this?" 10 paths returned, true self-origin, "I live while the world hangs on the edge." Boom. The familiar voice echoed throughout the skies. Heavenly Sovereign gasped, "Fan? Oh, you were destroyed." Why can he speak? Kunping's group started and looked at the strange power coming from a tear. Fan shouted again. "The 10 paths to heaven, the first heavenly path, the void path, encompass the world, cleanses the cosmos and returns." A shudder passed and a prismatic glow appeared around the tear. Heavenly Sovereign gawked in shock. "That's impossible. The void path is with me. Why is another one there? Did he form the same sovereign path?" Fan's shouts continued. "The 10 paths to heaven, second human path, invincible tyrant path, boundless and unstoppable might, return. The 10 paths to heaven, third human path, 9 serenities demonic path, encompassing the lands, encompassing relationships, return. The 10 paths to heaven, fourth human path, iron-blooded sword path, loyalty and righteousness, return. The 10 paths to heaven, fifth human path, the night star path, all connected, all compassionate, return. The 10 paths to heaven, sixth human path, hellish nether path, outside of mortal coil, of its sorrows and struggles, return. The 10 paths to heaven, seventh human path, concealed shadow path, dashing outside of light, return. The 10 paths to heaven, 8 human path, rebirth path, cleansing all the past, return. The 10 paths to heaven, 9th human path, ardent passion path, entwining and touching the heavens, return. The 10 paths to heaven, 10th human path, mortal path, heart's origin, heart's purity, return. With the shouts, sovereign paths gathered around the teardrop. A boom resounded and the paths dispersed, ripping the sky apart and the silver glow. Heavenly Sovereign spewed blood, roaring at the now shining sky. "No, this can't be. I am supreme. How did this happen? Why did the 10 paths to heaven appear? I have refined them all. I told you, you only use their effects, not their essence. Those who fuse them can form them again at any time." Fan spoke again. "Heavenly Sovereign, I gave you fair warning. As you insist on being alone, I can no longer keep you in this world." 10 paths unite, universe palm. The 10 paths formed a spinning circle, then turned into a prismatic palm that pressed down on Heavenly Sovereign. Heavenly Sovereign shook his head in denial. "No, I'm supreme. You can't beat me. Void Eye." Heavenly Sovereign's third eye opened again, sending silver glows, but nothing could stop the prismatic palm's attack. Heavenly Sovereign was reaching despair upon contact, the palm erasing him and vanishing as well soon after. It all felt like a dream, impossible and unbelievable. Kunping crawled to his feet, looking at the clear sky with a smile. "It's over at last. But where's Fan? Father, where are you?" Gu Santong and Sword Child looked for him. A light drizzle fell on the land, but the drops were prismatic in color, sinking into the earth. The ground moved and a hand came out, followed by familiar faces. Gu Santong started. "Luo Yunhai, elderly old Dan, didn't you die?" "Why, we died." They scratched their heads, oblivious. "Where are we? What happened?" Chapter 13-15, Epilogue. Gu Santong said, "Didn't you and Heavenly what? What was I saying?" Gu Santong scratched his head, turning to Chiaoer and Sword Child. "What are we doing?" They looked around, lost, their minds blank as they tried to come up with a name. They forgot soon after, enjoying the other's return. No one paid the empty sky any attention. The sacred beasts were still on good terms with the Luo clan, the former Sword Kings with their venerables, and they were now joking about how they were so mighty yet staying with the Luo clan. They just laughed it out, oblivious to the void inside, the vanishing of one man. The entire world was the same. Zhuo Fan vanished from the world and their memories. Heavenly Sovereign, let's have another round of chess. In a white world, Zhuo Fan sat on a stone stool before a chessboard and smiled at the tense Heavenly Sovereign. Heavenly Sovereign looked around. Where is this place? Your world? Zhuo Fan made the introductions. Didn't you want to remake the world? This is how the world first started, with nothing in it. Feel free to let your creativity explode and doodle to your heart's content. Heavenly Sovereign stared at Zhuo Fan. This isn't what I want. I want to go to Martial Emperor Continent. That's my world. You can't go. I've erased all our traces from it. You never existed there. Not in records and neither in memories. There were only 9 ancient sovereigns. Of course there was no Steward Zhui either. Heavenly Sovereign gasped. You erased a person's mark on the world? Just what stage did you reach? It doesn't matter, let's play. Zhuo Fan gestured at the chessboard. Heavenly Sovereign gave him a strange look, then sat down across from him. Zhuo Fan was calm this time, each piece landing casually with no hidden intent. Heavenly Sovereign could never win regardless, but neither could Zhuo Fan, ending in a draw. This was what made it scary. The highest skill in chess was not winning, but maintaining a balance with the adversary. Heavenly Sovereign's brow shook, the piece in his hand falling as he shook his head. You win? It's only a draw. A draw means you win. Heavenly Sovereign said, may I ask you something? Feel free. What is your path? Heavenly Sovereign looked on with hope. Ever since you appeared, I felt your path was different from my younger brother. It's emotional but different. What is it? Zhuo Fan smiled. His compassion was greater, that of the higher love, while mine was only of minor love. Minor love could form a path and beat me? Aren't the emotions in the world split into minor and major? Zhuo Fan smirked, causing Heavenly Sovereign to shudder. Zhuo Fan stood. Heavenly Sovereign, including the 9 sovereigns, you were all too stubborn. The world moved along its own rules. What major and minor love? Emotion is emotion. It comes from the human heart, simple as that. I recommend a cultivation method made by mortals. It may not look like much to you, but this is exactly what you sovereigns lack. Zhuo Fan sent the information in his mind with a flick. True self-art? Heavenly Sovereign muttered. Return to self, merge with the world, human and heaven becoming one, reaching Tao. Zhuo Fan, you, Heavenly Sovereign cried out, but Zhuo Fan was gone. He looked around the empty space, heaven, earth and man paths united, grasping the world. The world stage, above supreme. Heavenly Sovereign's eyes shone with hope and looked at the white sky. He didn't perceive Zhuo Fan beyond the white cover, holding a white sphere and flinging it into the darkness. Russell, he was surrounded by many spheres, flickering and roaming through the darkness. Some were pure white, others were gray and the last were black. Zhuo Fan watched it all and pointed. Dozens of black spheres vanished. Sorry, it's not that I destroyed you, but that your world is already at its end, turned into hell. I'm only doing heaven's duty in removing it. Zhuo Fan turned to the endless spheres, focusing on a gray one. Martial Emperor Continent has yet to reach its end, but it's getting closer. Zhuo Fan roamed around the darkness, tracing the spheres filled with vitality and popping the black ones. 1,000 years later, Martial Emperor Continent had gone through many changes. Heroes emerged, forming their own force. Even without sacred mountains monopolizing everything, now there was conflict among many parts. The largest was the Luo clan. As it was the closest to sacred beasts and had the mysterious sword sovereign in their home, they were the ultimate force no one touched. The Luo clan had the fortune of maintaining its honor and integrity through the ages, never throwing their weight around and looking out for the people. Even so, in a world of strength, the weak always were persecuted. Stop right there. Hand over the spirit stones. It's our money to buy food. The hell I will. Among the verdant trees of a forest, 2 girls of 9 and 10 years old ran barefoot and with dirty faces. The girls tripped to the ground and the 6 teenagers caught up, showing their depraved grins. Let's see you run now. Don't come any closer or you'll be sorry. The older girl stood up before her sister. I'm at the 8th layer of chi condensation stage. Any closer and you're dead. The guys mocked, haha, I'm so scared. What was our cultivation again? Boss, we're in the bone tempering stage, the weakest being in the 3rd layer. The girls shuddered and the guys laughed harder. Grab them and sell them to a brothel to earn us some dozen spirit stones, ha, right? No? The sisters huddled in fear. But the guys found themselves frozen, unable to move. Their creepy smiles stuck on their faces. Soft footsteps were heard as Zhuofan appeared before the shivering sisters with a smile. Don't be scared. They won't hurt you anymore. The girls looked at Zhuofan's kind face and bowed in thanks. What are your names? Zhuofan asked despite knowing. The older of the two replied, I'm Xiao Yu and this is my younger sister, Xiao Shuang. Yu Shuanger, Zhuofan muttered and reached out. Will you come with me as my disciples? Disciple? Xiao Yu asked, do we get to eat? Sure, and no one will pick on you ever again. Great, we greet master. The two girls were so simple, immediately bowing to Zhuofan. Zhuofan smiled and took their hands, vanishing. The guys could move again and plopped on the ground in confusion. Where are they? Strange. Elsewhere, Chu Qingqing stood before a rundown house with a sweet smile. Two girls nearby whispered nearby, why does senior sister like to stay here at her age? She must have some weird hobby. Isn't it better to cultivate in nature? Who knows? Maybe she's waiting. For who? That would be me. The girls jumped at the man's voice. They stared back at Zhuofan standing behind them. Who are you? When did you get here? Don't be rude and step back. Chu Qingqing shouted. The two flinched and noticed her icy stare. They wanted to complain but they saw the tears and excitement in her eyes. They were sensible to leave. Zhuofan sighed, stepping forward. After 1,000 years, even with erasing everyone's memories, only you remember me. I knew that was your trick back then. Yes, since I can no longer stay with them. It's best to be forgotten. But I didn't forget. Maybe it was your tears that I have within my heart. Zhuofan nodded, maybe it's heaven's will. Everyone believed Heavenly Sovereign's younger brother reincarnated to find his sovereign path and to stop Heavenly Sovereign, when the truth is he was searching to restore his emotion center. You are my emotional center. Then will you take me along? Of course. Chu Qingqing hugged Zhuofan tightly, moved to tears. Where will you take me? Through a life of toil and hardships in the master's home. Master? Qingqing asked, what did you do? Zhuofan showed a mysterious smile, same old, stewarding the entire world. Chapter 1291 Showdown. Black flames spread out, sizzling Zhuofan's surroundings, but nothing changed as he withdrew them. Chu Qingqing panicked, how is it? Can you break the barrier? If only there was a barrier. Zhuofan frowned in doubt, this doesn't look like a barrier or illusion. My thunder flame would have destroyed them by now. Chu Qingqing hesitated, this is really strange and absurd. Qingqing, did Sir Shuijing say something to you? Zhuofan asked. Chu Qingqing pondered and nodded. He vowed on his Tao heart that there's no barrier or array. He also said that it's my heart keeping me here, not him. Heart trapping oneself? Zhuofan paced around. Humans are plagued with complex desires and could never see their true selves beyond them. You need to remove them and clear your heart to see clearly. Zhuofan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Chu Qingqing cocked her head. A hum was heard, and Zhuofan's surroundings had ripples spreading out, each twisting reality, even himself. Chu Qingqing was baffled, but then a hand took hers. She cried at the sudden force, stumbling. When she straightened, the surroundings left her speechless. The valley was gone, as was the waterfall and pavilion. They were now before a small courtyard with a building and a side room. Chu Qingqing blinked at a loss. This is the valley you couldn't leave. Zhuofan smirked. It's nothing but a courtyard stuck running it in circles. No matter where you went, someone would have kept deceiving your perception. Unable to break the hold, you were kept here. Chu Qingqing gasped, there's a skill like that? Then how did you? Zhuofan's right eye shone in 3 golden halos. Maybe I have the same skill as the user. Zhuofan smiled as the rings faded, patting her hand. A zither played that drew Chu Qingqing's attention and made her fearful, pulling on Zhuofan. It's him. It's Shuijing who trapped me. It's fine. What comes comes. Zhuofan led her to the sounds, arriving behind the building before a youth in his 20s playing the zither. Chu Qingqing was scared, hiding behind Zhuofan, who bowed. Greetings, Sir Shui Jing. The zither didn't stop, with Shui Jing looking up at him. The life you lived helped broaden your heart and mind, escaping the hold on your heart so soon. Very good. Shui Jing smiled. Zhuo Fan smiled. You're too kind, sir. I still have a long way to go. I didn't even realize when sir tampered with my heart. Sir is the true expert. Haha, you're not as cocky as before. You've matured a lot. Shui Jing nodded and stopped playing. He waved to a chessboard. It's been ages since our last game. Allow me to see your progress. Zhuo Fan nodded. By your leave. He sat down with Chu Qingqing next to him, looking at Shui Jing's mysterious smile. Pieces fell on the board, each fighting to overcome the other side. An hour later the pieces looked entangled. You're much calmer now and lost your rough edges? Shui Jing placed a white piece. Zhuo Fan placed a black piece. I am grateful for your lecture. Gains and losses mattered not. One needs to see the big picture to succeed. I will never forget that lesson. You not only held it close but built on it. You're an entirely different person. You're too kind, sir. It's all thanks to you. It's a shame the same quirk remains. Shui Jing gave him a look and sighed. You like to take risks and employ schemes. That's very dangerous for a big player. The higher you go, the shrewder your opponent will become, just like you, if not above. By trying to be clever, you're only revealing your weakness to be destroyed. Bah. Shui Jing placed a piece hard, removing many of Zhuo Fan's. The outcome was obvious. Zhuo Fan was dark. Yes, sir is right. I started off as a nobody, unable to contend with the big players. But why do you big players still bother with a nobody like me, Heavenly Sovereign? He followed with a white piece, not yet ready to give up the game in his life, despite being unable to change the outcome. But he believed the chance would present itself. It always had. And if it didn't, he would just make one like the times before. You finally figured it out? Shui Jing replied with calm. Only Chu Qingqing gasped. Heavenly Sovereign? The strongest of the 10 ancient sovereigns? No way. Didn't they all fall? Even Nether Sovereign could only wander the Nether Sea as a lost soul. How can Heavenly Sovereign still be alive? Yeah, they have, so how could the Heavenly Sovereign who all fought against still survive? Shui Jing chuckled, still staring at Zhuo Fan. What makes you so sure? Zhuo Fan spoke. Ever since I got Sir's divine eye of the void, I felt apprehensive, afraid that one day you'll come after me for stealing it. But then I thought to myself, that this was all a stage as other sovereigns showed themselves to me and started guiding me. I didn't have such an overinflated ego to think myself special enough to warrant so many big players' attention. That left only one's conclusion: it was a setup. You're far stronger and wiser now, and you can see the lining. Go on. Shui Jing waved. Zhuo Fan said, those freaks just now are from the mortal domain. I could feel the aura of the sacred weapons on them. At that moment, I knew that I would run into Sir and end up at Sir's whim. But when I heard they were your men, it all became clear. Heavenly Sovereign, you don't want to kill me but use me. You wouldn't have helped me otherwise, guiding me on the demonic path. Shui Jing gave a slow clap. Well said, but that's on the basis that I'm Heavenly Sovereign. What if I'm not? Moon mirror fades to void, to nothing, an obvious reference to the void path. Zhuo Fan laughed. Sir, you've stated who you are since the beginning. It's just that none ever thought of it from that perspective. None would believe the first ever sovereign to be walking among mortals and toying with them under the guise of Shui Jing. The skill you used to trap me and Qingqing in the courtyard was the divine eye of the void third stage Mirage World, right? Zhuo Fan's right eye shone in 3 halos, but since I'm still weak and ignorant, still in the void path, I can only create illusion in a certain area, while Sir is able to implant them in people's minds. I could only escape because I know some of the void path. Heavenly Sovereign smiled. You've done well going to the mortal domain this time. I'm impressed. This time? What about the other times? Do they exist? Am I reading too much into it? You flatter me, but there's still something I've yet to understand. Saving me and guiding me down the demonic path wasn't just a coincidence, was it? I'm still unable to make sense as to why all the big players are interested in little old me. Zhuo Fan shouted in the lion's den. He had no fear in demanding answers from Heavenly Sovereign, knowing fully well his life had yet to outlive its usefulness. He needed him, they all did. So, he found it a good idea to leverage the already bleak situation he was in to gain as much knowledge as he could and formulate a plan. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.